Hello, welcome and good evening ladies and gentlemen to another round of racing in the UKSimRacing community's GT3 League Season 12 as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing, and today marks round 7 of 8 here down under in Australia at the one and only Mount Panorama Racing Circuit. Known more commonly as Bathurst in reference to a local township, this circuit is rather unique compared to most around the globe, with the 23 cores of this circuit being primarily centred on the run over the mountain from which the circuit takes its name. Also known as Mount Panorama, well, this circuit indigenous to the country in terms of the motorsporting history, and it's completely understandable why year in year out this circuit draws so many spectators to it, whether it be the 1,000 kilometres of Bathurst alternative, the 12 hours of Bathurst which has recently taken place, in the fact that all drivers will be absolutely itching and getting ready to go racing today in the absolute thrill ride that is taking on the mountain. But to do well here they'll need to keep it clear of the walls and also manage track position, with the circuit having a very narrow road surface, where it be for its corners, alternatively on the straights that take drivers to and from the mountain, and therefore we expect plenty of battling, but most of it's going to be coming from strategy, alternatively absolutely dramatic lunges from our drivers as they look to find key overtakes at certain places. But as we welcome you all to this live broadcast of the circuit side, you can be tuning in right now via one of two media platforms available from the UKSimRacing media channels, and those do include firstly YouTube. If you go to YouTube and search for UKSR or UKSimRacing, we welcome you guys and girls on YouTube, and alternatively we do have Twitch, of course. If you're more of a Twitch TV person, you can go to twitch.tv/UKSimRacing, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch, including Olympus DC, Thomas Cope tuning in to cheer on his fellow Olympus motorsport driver of none other than what is Connor Craven from the esports team. As we get ready to go racing today, in the content booth you have myself, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Brit the Spit, depending on what media follow me on, and we find ourselves today in our penultimate round of racing. Well, that nicely segues us into our championship calendar, and as we can see, we have now made our way to one round from the very end, for it is Sunday the 25th of February, and it's our final endurance race round of the season. We've had two of them so far, and well, what better to make it a trio, and we're here at the Mount Panorama Circuit. But of course, it's been a long journey so far, and over the course of that journey we have seen the racing start on what's the 7th of January 2024, when endurance race opened at the Daytona International Speedway road course, and what a way to open up the season with an absolute scintillating thriller at the Florida State Circuit as our drivers roared and ravaged their way around the tarmac, and in the end it was a close fight at the front of the field, but it was James Armstrong who would take the five-way fight for victory in the elite and overall category. And then in round number 2 we made our way to the Hockenheimring at Baden-Württemberg, the German state, and indeed the German circuit playing host for its Grand Prix layout, and that was our first sprint race round of the season, the 14th of January, and there we got to see plenty of battling once again, with James Armstrong making it 2 out of 2 at the front of the field, but we also got to see some brilliant battling further down the order, and we got to see in the pro class Ryan Davies starting to move forward at the front of the field. And then we had our first mid-season break week, after which we returned for what was round number 3, and well, we went to Japan for the first time of the season for the Suzuka International Racing Course. There, the Grand Prix layout of the infamous figure of 8 circuit played host on the 28th of January, and in another sprint race round we got to see plenty of drama up and down the field, and we got to see plenty of battling as well in the AM class in particular, with James Connolly leading the way at the front of the field, and we on Matt Edmondson and Jack Barker exchanging blows, albeit Barker not being given the opportunity to show the impressive performance of the Ford GT. But then wind on the clock a week later, and on the 4th of February, the Ford did find its way to victory in the AM class, an absolutely brilliant drive, and meanwhile elsewhere in the field we also got to see a brilliant battle at the front of the field involving the likes of Haroldas Jotautas and James Armstrong, and also further down the field in the Pro-Am class we got to see many of our rivals battling hard, including the UKSimRacing Stewart drivers of Alan Levitt and Rob Selby, as they fought with Chris Constable and Chris Round in the battle of the two Chris's. That was on the 4th of February, and that concluded the first half of the season, but we remained in the United States of America and made our way to the third American venue, and that was in the state of Georgia at the Brazelton Town Circuit of Road Atlanta, or the roller coaster ride of road racing as we like to refer to it, and that was in round number 5. And on the 11th of February we had another endurance race round, and we got to see many drivers succumb to the curves of Road Atlanta, but some brilliant battles to go with it as well. And then in round number 6, last time out, Okayama was our destination, the Mimasaka Circuit playing host, and whilst it's lesser known on the international stage today, well, it wasn't lesser known to our drivers there in our second Japanese visit, and indeed a sprint race to be remembered on the 18th of February GT3, because whilst we will drive battles on circuit for the most part, we got to see plenty of battling on strategy in the pit lane, and we also got to see many a battle in between the classes as our classes drivers tripped over one another. But in the end, the biggest surprise of them all was with the fact that we did get to see was a brilliant drive from Alan Lever to take another, what was that, second place finish of the season, the Pro-Am class, and extend his championship lead. And we're more on that in due course. We give you a recap of the championship standings, but Lever still being denied his first win of the season, the Pro-Am class, and when will it come? As meanwhile it went the way of Marvin Cruz and an absolutely incredible drive to a 5th place overall finish. We're here today at the Mount Panorama Circuit in Australia, and after today we have one round remaining, and it's none other than our Circuit of the Americas finale. It's going to be a sprint race on the 3rd of March, and we invite you to take the Texas two-step as we make our way to the American state to see how it all concludes in round 8 of 8 in a week's time. But we're here today in Australia, and let's talk a little bit about our host venue. It's the Mount Panorama Circuit, located near the town of Bathurst in the county of New South Wales, or the state we should say, of Australia. And as our drivers go around this circuit today, as we can see with the circuit map provided by iRacing.com, thank you to iRacing for the brilliant simulator and also the fantastic track maps that come with it. This 3.86 mile course has been primarily unchanged over the course of its extensive history, and this circuit being run over the course of multiple normal street roads. Indeed, as a resident or indeed as a tourist, you can drive around the Mount Panorama Circuit, albeit you can't go around at excessive speeds. It's subject to some very severe and rather strict speed regulations, but this is a circuit which runs on regular roads. Indeed, a number of houses and businesses operate off the sides of the circuit, but they won't be operated today as our drivers roar their way round, and as they charge away down the start-finish straight in towards Hell Corner at turn number 1, they'll make their way through the 90-degree left-hander and begin their ascent up the mountain. In the roar up the mountain straight, they'll head in towards Griffin's Bend at turn number 2, a heavily cambered right-hander which is all about avoiding the apex curve and getting it right on the exit. But if they carry all the speed, they'll continue to make their way uphill towards the cut in the tricky double left-hander at turns 3 and 4, where it's flat out through turn number 3 as close as possible. Then it's hard on the brakes into turn number 4, where you want to get as tight to the apex wall whilst carrying the speed through the corner. Get it right and return to full throttle, you'll very quickly find yourself going for the double right of Quarry Corner. Turns 5 and 6 will continue to ascend all the way through what is the front of 6 and into the quadruple left hand at turns 7, 8, 9 and 10, with turn number 10 taking the name of Philemy Park. As the drivers make the way through, they'll reach the highest point of the circuit at Skyline at turn number 11, when they'll be looking over the Skyline at a distance, and as they come over the rise, they'll start to descend their way down into the Dipper through turns 12 and 13. The Dipper at turn number 14, a corner we can expect many a driver to perhaps lose it and go into the wall, although hopefully not so. But as they make the way for the infamous corner which can catch out even the best of our drivers, then they make the way for the king of 15, flat out through 16, through 17 and onto the brakes for Forest Elbow at turn number 18. The hairpin corner we can expect plenty of battling if our drivers are running close over the mountain. As they come out of the left hand hairpin, it's going to be the run onto the back straight by the king of 19 and on to the Conrod straight as it's known. Flat out, our drivers will be reaching speeds of in excess of 160 miles an hour in clear air, and in the slipstream they could be hitting 170 miles an hour plus as they head into the chase and into the infamous chicane, the turns 21 and 22. They'll make their way left into right before powering their way down here into Murray's Corner, a turn at number 23, another left hand right angle corner, and as they clear the corner they'll make their way into the start finish line straight to do it all over again, or see that infallible checkered flag. Well, we should point out today as well that for the purposes of the race only, we will be mandating a mandatory tow zone for our drivers, given the fact it's so narrow over the mountain. If a driver is involved in an instant after the cutting at turn at number 3, all the way through to the entry into Forest Elbow at turn number 18, and they see their car pointing sideways or alternatively in the wrong direction, our drivers are mandated to tow to the pits immediately. They have no opportunity to turn the car around, and in doing so, that complies to the most strictest safety in regards to racing over the mountain, because it could very quickly lead to a domino effect if anybody gets it wrong and starts to trigger off a chain reaction. Hence why the rules in effect. Some of you may remember a few seasons ago when we went racing at Long Beach in the US state of California, we had a similar rule around Fountain. We're seeing that rule in effect here today, and that will reduce what is the concerns around safety. But as we go racing today, in terms of our standard rules as well, let's give you a reminder of them. Car setup wise, drivers are not permitted to change their car during the course of the season, and nobody has done so far and tried to break the rule. Car fuel loads are restricted to 70% for all the races, and when we go into qualifying today, it's an endurance round, and that means we have an open qualifying format on our hands as lasting 30 minutes and split into 2 equal halves. The first 15 minutes shall be for the Am and Prime classes, meanwhile the second 15 minutes shall be for the Pro and Elite classes, and drivers may not reset to the pit lane at any point outside of the pit lane. They have to come into the pits if they want to reset to the pit box and go qualifying again, because if they do so outside of it, that will end their qualifying session, and their fastest time up to that point in time will be taken as gospel. Now, with regards to the race rules, In general, the race shall commence via a double rolling start, as is a tradition of the UKSimRacing GT3 League. There are no mandatory pit stop requirements, but we are expecting at least 2 pit stops here today, given the fuel tanks that have been presented to our drivers, and there are no expectations for them to take fuel or alternatively change the tyres of the car. But we're expecting at least fuel to go in the car, but a gamble whether to change the tyres or not is going to be a big question. And each driver has 1 fast repair available should they need it, and all race duties shall be conducted at post-race. And given this is a longer race of 90 minutes, a driver will receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 23 or more instant points. Well, that's enough rules, regulation, everything in between. I know what you're all here for. You're here for the racing, and so are we. And well, as we head back to circuit side, let's take a look at our schedule for tonight. Times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT or Universal Coordinate Time, UTC. And well, in just under 8 minutes time, we'll be going into our qualifying session, our penultimate qualifying session. Our final open qualifying session of the season, 30 minutes in duration with what is 2 15-minute halves, and all the drivers will be making the way on around the Mount Panorama Circuit and looking to go for pole position. And then we'll be going on to our endurance race at 8:30, 90 minutes in duration, 1.5 hours, and who will be crowned kings and queens of the mountain come the end of it in the respective classes. Well, goodness me, it's just making me excited thinking about it right now. I'm sure it is for you guys and girls at home. And with an ambient condition right now, what is 23 degrees centigrade ambient temperature and track temperature 31 degrees centigrade. It's relatively warm, and I believe the circuit is only going to get warmer as time goes on. And well, it's a good thing too, because right now, hot out of the gate as he makes his way up towards turn number 3 is the Brabham Esports driver James Armstrong in 47, and well, championship leader in the elite class right now, and really has been the man to beat all season in terms of outright pace, in terms of tenacity for overtaking. Indeed, if he's found himself towards the back of the field, he'll find his way through. There's no doubt about it. And the number 47 driver, after a difficult time, was Okayama last time out. Well, right now, looking absolutely firmly at the top of the stands on 14 points over Haroldas Jotautas. And, well, can anybody find a way to put a dent into his championship advantage with the aforementioned man, Haroldas Jotautas, the absolute motorsport ace live here, the Lithuanian in the number 56, the Porsche 992. I think feared as though today could be the day where he's able to try and make sure that Armstrong's not allowed to run away with things. And do keep in mind, of course, that this is the final potential drop score round. 1 drop score is available to our drivers all season. The season finale is undroppable. So therefore, when our drivers come out of today, whatever the points gap is, well, they're going to be earning maximum points for the Circuit of the Americas in a week's time. So therefore, the fact that right now James Armstrong has a 14-point advantage, if that gap is contracted at all after today, that's only going to make Haroldas Jotautas and company believe they can close Armstrong down. Indeed, that's why our drivers are in attendance today. We're looking to go for the ultimate result, which is the win here, plus pole position the fastest lap to get the maximum 40 points in their class, because they know every point matters before you get to that season finale. But coming from our elite class, let's talk a little bit about our pro class, and will Ryan Davies continue to lead the way after taking his 3rd win of the season at Okayama last week. He now leads by a staggering 33 points, and I have not made a mistake there. I double checked the maths. I even whipped out a calculator to make sure, but the TK Car Marte driver is dominating in the pro class, and well, with a 33-point advantage over teammate Alex Hill, he could theoretically conclude the championship today in the pro class should results go his way. He'll need a large number of results to swing his way. He'll need to, of course, take the maximum possible point total of 42 points, and he'll need his rivals to have major errors. But if the gap gets to what is 42 points between him and his closest rival going to the season finale, he will be impossible to catch even on result countback if he were to attend at the Circuit of the Americas. So Ryan Davies right now looking extremely strong, but then again, we have got a number of strong drivers in the pro class looking to take him on, and well, this man has definitely been setting time machines alight in the practice session. Nicholas Rice of Destino Motorsports, who in the 32 Ferrari 296 will be looking to try and bring home the win here and looking for his 1st win of the season, and he's looking very fast indeed as he makes his way down the Conrad Straight and in towards the chase. Alex Hill's currently in the pits at the moment, your 2nd place driver in the championship. There he is in the Audi R8 Evo 2 for Tiki Sport Kimi, the 276, and he'll be feeling as though today could be another day to be on the podium, but he would like a win as well. We'll have to wait and see who is going to take the win in the pro class. And meanwhile, in the pro class, well, it is Alan Lever who leads the way for UKSimRacing Stuart in the 657, and would you believe it, the Lamborghini Huracan Evo driver has not taken a win this season. He has taken 2nd place in every race bar 1 where he finished 3rd. He has not finished off of the podium so far this season, and will can the Englishman potentially find a way to take his 1st win of the season today, given the fact his 16-point advantage over his teammate Rob Zelby, really keeping in good stead right now, and it's his consistency that's proven so pivotal. Could he perhaps be our 1st ever championship winner? Indeed, it's something I've never seen in a sim racing league, or indeed it's very rare in a real life motorsport. I know I do believe that 1 or 2 drivers have done it in the past where they've they've won a whole season of racing without taking a single win. If Unlevel were to do it, it would be absolutely sensational. He'd like to take a win, there's no doubt about it. We'll have to wait and see, because he's going to be facing stiff competition, not just from his teammate, but also this man, Marvin Cruz, the German standout in the number 90 Porsche 992 last week at Okayama, who absolutely blitzed his way through the field of the old Daunting Cars Blue Machine and demonstrated that there's still some life in the Porsche. And indeed, he's not out of the equation yet as he makes his way on down Conrod, and we look forward to seeing whether he can make it back-to-back wins today. But as he heads towards his next braking zone, we have Rob Zelby here, the second place driver at the championship, and UKSimRacing Stuart as well, leading the way in the team's championship, and looking very strong there. And well, Zelby a key combination with Lever to that success. And in the 57 Ferrari, he'll be fearing the zone today. Here's another opportunity to try and put a big score on for the team and for himself, and we look forward to seeing what he can do. And then we come to the AM class, and we'll right now from one UKSimRacing driver to another, it's going to be UKSimRacing Bathurst's James Conley, as he makes his way into the king before the chase. On towards the brakes he goes, with the number 46 drive now leading by 14 points ahead of the chasing pack, which continues to be muddled. But the thing that Conley has to keep in mind is the fact that in the AM class, it is the closest class on this grid so far in terms of lap pace. And the championship, it is only what is a grand total, if my maths does serve me correctly. And let's just double check those figures for you. And I do believe in the AM class, it is a margin currently of what is the best part of 31 points that separate the top 6. And well, 31 points sounds like a staggering amount, but when you do keep in mind that the season finale is undroppable and therefore it's a full score, well, James Conley will know that any of his rivals, should he drop the ball today, could close the delta. And the AM class right now is all to play for. And well, the second place driver behind him at this time is none other than Neil Smith. I don't see the attendance currently, so therefore we could be missing Smith today. And if so, well, that's going to be unfortunate. But I wonder if the BMW driver is using this round as his drop score to get himself set and ready to go racing into what will be our season finale in a week's time. Now, to add to the equation here, we also have to keep in the fact that this has been a weekend where we have seen the official iRacing at Bathurst 12-hour event, and therefore a number of drivers may have competed in that, and right now they may be feeling quite weary of the Australian circuit, albeit some of them, I must admit, I think are Bathurst preachers of the fact they love it so much, and it's completely understandable given the cult status this circuit has, and the fact it always leads to absolutely incredible racing, regardless of what class machinery races around it. And all the drivers now getting themselves absolutely set and ready to go, as we're looking there at the top 7 standings in each of the classes. Only 3 elite drivers in the 10th today, unfortunately. We do have a grand total of 9 in the pro class. In the pro class we do have 9, and in the AM class we've got 9, so we do have 3 of our classes absolutely ram-packed. And once our drivers all get set and ready to go, we are only a minute away from going into qualifying. And we do say hello there in the YouTube chat to Kieran Lowe, who's wishing everyone the best of luck. Also to Ryan Walker, who, if you were looking at the thumbnail before we went racing today, indeed you may have appreciated the photo of Marvin Cruz's car, and that's all the handiwork of Ryan Walker Sim Racing Photography. Indeed, if you're looking for some absolutely fantastic photography, he's the official photographer for the UKSimRacing GT3 League and also the Porsche Cup Series. Well, he is your man, new on the scene in the business and very quickly catching at the eyes of many. We're happy to have you here, Ryan. And then we look to the Twitch chat and say hello to Divide Roll, who's saying good evening and good evening to you, Divide Roll, and I hope you're doing well. But as we do see James Conley making his way into the pits, we do look to Guy Liao, I should say, for the wrong stuff, as we always make a complete mishap of his name. And will the Luxembourgish driver heading on through Philippi, and as he does so, will number 17 driver having a difficult last couple of rounds of racing across his UKSimRacing League experience in the Porsche Cup in the week, had a difficult time, and he'll be looking to bounce back today here at Bathurst. And we're right now the 5th fastest in the AM class, and looking again at the AM class standings, and the fact that Robson and Davies in P20, P21 or P2, P3 in the class, separated by less than half a tenth by looks of things. In fact, it's just 0.02 over half a tenth if we get the maths precisely right. But the point being, it is very close. James Conley in the world of his own, but then we do have Barker and what is Kylie out, only separated by half a second. But again, that time could be made or lost over a single lap. Well, speaking of a single lap, it's time for our drivers to demonstrate their mettle over a single lap, because it is time for qualifying. But who exactly is going to be on pole? Let's find out. So as our drivers get ready to make their way out into the circuit, we do point out that it's the Prime and AM qualifying session first and foremost. So we are going to be seeing the 2 lesser classes in terms of outright pace making their way out there, but no lesser in terms of their commitment to delivering absolutely thrilling laps at this Bathurst circuit. And while Steiner Sunny just gradually creeps his way out of his pit box and on the pit limiter in the Racing Lab Esports BMW M4 GT3, well, they're coming on through behind Connor Craven in the Olympus Esports Audi and making his way out of the pit lane now. The big question all of you will be asking is, what can we expect in qualifying? Well, to do well in qualifying at the Bathurst circuit, you need to be fully committed. This is a circuit where you need to have absolutely researched the circuit down to the micrometer with regards to how close you can run to the walls, how much speed you can carry from corner to corner, but also you've got to have confidence around here. Now, it sounds a little bit odd to say confidence as a racing driver, whether on the simulator in real life. You've got to be confident to be hustling the best part of 540 plus horsepower around the circuit in these machines, given the fact they've been restricted down for their more common approximately 700 to 800 horsepower. Well, the point of being around this Bathurst circuit, it is a scary circuit for the uninitiated, with so many elevation changes overlap, indeed a number of blind corners, and when we do ride on board while I drive, you'll see exactly what we're referring to with regards to these blind apexes that hit hard and fast and in quick succession over the mountain. When you put it all together, it is a circuit which can intimidate those who are not ready to do the dance around Bathurst. But once you've got that confidence, you've then got to know exactly where you need to brake and also when you can return to the throttle, because around here it is the finest of margins that are the difference between pole position and second place, and also the difference between you making it a millimetre clear of the wall or you making contact with the wall and seeing your lap in ruins. But as we do see what is Stardust Sunny making its way down to Forest Elbow, in terms of the forms of our machines, well, this circuit a little bit open seas, and the fact we are expecting it to be quite the interesting mix of cars over the course of the grid. We do know the Ferrari 296 very strong around here, based on the current iRacing balance of performance, and indeed having to be quite heavily restricted going to Bathurst 12 hours, having 3% of its engine power taken out of the car. For those such restrictions not here, as I'm to understand it, indeed the Ferrari in its full power, and it could be the car to be over a single lap and potentially in the race. But then again, you can be certain that our drivers in the Porsches, Porsche 902, always a favourite car amongst our drivers, as we do see at Simon Andre Livingston, the Race Lab Esports Ferrari being chased by the Wrong Stuff Sky Kylie out of the Porsche. We're expecting the Porsche to go quite well here over a single lap, but Pratt strong in the race, but Tilly down Conroe, with the Porsche does not have a reputation for being fast in the straights. But we also do have the big question of the BMW M4s, including that of Cy Hartley, as he makes his way on through the left into right here of the chase chicane. In fact, this BMW has been a beast on the straights all season, and can Hartley demonstrate that once again here as he heads in towards the braking zone. We do need to make a special mention with regards to one of our drivers out there on circuit at the moment, and I do believe it's none other than Andrew Skinner, or Andy Skinner as he's known to friends, and as he makes his way on towards the mountain straight in the Porsche 902, you may notice he makes his way past the stationary cameraman, but he does have a new livery on the car today in support of Dementia UK, and well, the reason for that is, as we do take a moment in the fact that Andrew is running a tribute livery in support of Dementia UK. Let's get it in the right order there. Indeed, I'm absolutely speechless before I even talk about his cause. You will understand why very shortly, but he's running a livery in support of Dementia UK in honour of his Nan Olive Moore, who sadly passed away on the 20th of January earlier this year at the age of 90, and dementia playing a big part of her passing. Sadly, indeed, it can affect many a member of the senior society in which we live in, particularly in close family, and well, I do feel for anybody who has a relative suffering from any form of dementia, I can tell you that, and well, Andrew would be able to tell you about that with regards to his cause. And with her funeral, his Nan's funeral will be on the 23rd of February, he's choosing to run the livery in honour of her passing, indeed the funeral only being a couple of days ago. So of course, special thoughts going there to Andrew Skinner as he makes his way on down through the Dipper, and he's racing in memory of his Nan today, and a high cause there, as he always does so. Indeed, a very charitable man and somebody who's very sentimental, and well, we can only respect him evermore for it, and we look forward to what he can do in AM class today. But as he makes his way out to turn 18 into 19, well, meanwhile, we're starting to get our first laps of the board as Jack Barker runs a little bit wide out of the final corner, and well, as he does so, head towards the timeline in the Ford GT. I think that might be an invalidated lap as a result of the run wide, and we do have Noya Sabas putting the first valid lap on the board of what was a 206.350, but Adam Never immediately says I can go 1.7 seconds faster than that, and goes towards the prime pole position, with Conor Craven doing the same, and well, plenty of times still to go as we are starting our Sunny putting an absolute benchmark of lap down there on 204.487. But we do have to keep in mind that our drivers will be trying to get those tyres up to temperature gradually. Indeed, it takes some time to get the tyres up to temperature around here, and well, once those tyres are in the zone, indeed the fuel's quite light in the car, those lap times are going to continue to tumble. We did see in the practice session 203s being the key theme in the faster classes, and well, could we see quite a few 203s for our drivers here in the Prime and AM classes? Perhaps we may expect to see some high 203s in the Prime class if our drivers are on the ball, whereas I think it'll be restricted towards the pros and the elites, but never say never as they make the way on through. And we look to where's John Davis and the Wrong Stuff in the McLaren MP4 12C. the sole McLaren on the grid this season. And what you have to feel for John Davies is the fact this really has been one of those seasons where, despite all the pace he's brought to the table, particularly in the first half of the season, contesting a number of podium finishes, he's also had a lot of bad luck come his way. And even you could perhaps think that in a couple of rounds he could have perhaps even been the race winner in the AM class, given how close it's been. But it's not come his way for the V8 bi-turbo driver, and as he heads in towards the cutting at turns 3 and 4, we'll be looking for more today. Indeed, that McLaren, a very fast car, as it always is, but it is one of those cars who is absolutely sensitive to the touch with regards to the amount of steering input, the throttle input. It's one of those cars, if you drive it on the ragged edge of adhesion and you're managing to keep it there all the way through the race, you are going to come away very strongly. But being able to do so lap after lap. Well, one driver who could tell you all about that was Hekel Gestad, who raced in this series. It was 3 seasons ago, if my memory serves me correctly, in the McLaren for Indian Motorsport, and delivered what was an absolutely brilliant set of results in the McLaren. I think he even went on to take the championship in it, if my memory's not mistaken. Although I think it was the season before he took the championship when he did move to the BMW M4. So in fact, I might be getting ahead of myself there. But the key point being that regardless of whether you're elite or AM, this is a car that is an absolute beast to hustle around the circuit. But as he makes one down, looking absolutely smooth as Davis right now. And meanwhile, we do say hello to Anstis96, also to my guy Sight in the Twitch chat. Hope you guys are both doing well. My guy Sight putting a heart in there in relation to Andrew Skidder's course today for Dementia UK. And we also do say hello to Nick Rice 25 there, who's currently sat in the pit lane. I believe that's Nicholas Rice taking it easy in the Twitch chat and absolutely eager to go in the Ferrari 296 as he waits for the call to make his way out of the circuit. And we also say hello in the YouTube chat there to Martin Tinney, who says the McLaren is an animal. And indeed, I think that's the best way to summarise it in a single word, Martin. You could have put it better. Well, as we see the animal being piloted by Davis make his way towards the timeline. What's it going to be here? He's currently P15. He moves up to P11 overall. And what is P4 in the AM class of the 206.446? But meanwhile, the one who's standing out the most here in the AM class is James Conley, who right now in the Ferrari 296, well, he's half a second down the pole axle that's been set by Marvin Cruz at 204.259. For the point being that Conley right now being the best part of 7.5 tenths here of John Doble. Well, can anybody stop this man from taking another pole position? Well, I think that's going to be a question that could become rhetorical if the gap stays that way. But as he powers his way on through, meanwhile, we do have Joe Duton making his way out of what was the chase and in towards Murray's corner. And as he heads on towards the brakes, well, Joe Duton will be going towards the end of his first flying lap and getting ready to go on to a second one. And well, as he does so, going in towards the left-hander and out of it, what's it going to be here for Duton? It's going to be a 207.394, and I think the Audi driver still getting himself in the zone. Well, as he does so, meanwhile, no, Sabas coming on down. And he wasn't on the grid last week, but it's good to see Sabas making his way out there once again in the Ferrari 296 GT3, the Scudera livery on the car, absolutely shining bright and high as he makes his way across the timeline. Currently P12, and what is 2.1 seconds down on Cruz's pole lap in the Prime class. Not quite improving there and looking to go again. But as he makes his way on around Connor Craven as well in the Olympus Esports Audi R8 Evo 2. Currently P6, P5 in the Prime class, and 8 tenths of a Cruise's at pole time, but I think right now started to feel a little bit more energetic in the car, albeit a bit of a power slide there, making its way out of what was Murray corner, and well, I think they're just pushing it a little bit further than he would like, but I don't get the feeling right now he's just getting himself completely locked in, as meanwhile Lawrence Marsh heads towards the timeline, and what's it going to be for Marsh? He's currently P7, a partial improvement at the midpoint lab, but the Porsche driver not finding any further time out there at the moment. Well, as he makes his way out of the opening corner, I should say, and onwards towards the first stretch, up towards the mountain, going up the mountain straight. Meanwhile, we do look from here back to Andre Livingston as the Ferrari 296 driver here, still, I think, trying to get himself in the right zone to go attack around this circuit. Indeed, you have to be full commitment, and he's deciding to make his way into the pits instead. Perhaps decide to put some more fuel in or change the tyres of the car, or perhaps make a slight tweak to the car's setup. Not happy with something, but indeed, right now, not where he wants to be currently in what is, I do believe, P8 in the Prime qualifying sequence, and I think he'll feel as though there's more out there before he wraps up this qualifying session. But meanwhile, Marvin Cruz making his way around, and as he does so, will steal the pole sitter. And Rob Selby, I think, is going to have something to say about that as we jump aboard with the Ferrari 296 driver for a flying lap from the UKSimRacing Stuart Ferrari. He breaks his way into turn number 1. Through in third gear he goes, and running a bit wide there as he does so. And well, I think Selby with a mistake there. That's going to be an aborted lap, so we may jump off the car of Selby. in fact, he was called down into turn number 1. We picked the worst possible time to jump on board, it would seem. We have a habit of doing that, but I think they'll be right now on a cool-down lap, so we'll have to wait a little bit longer. We do have Cruz and Lever both on out laps, and I think we will be getting on board with Marvin Cruz in due course to be able to get a lap of the circuit for you from a Prime's perspective, and will mean, well, as we do look to Matt Edmondson, the Ferrari 296 driver right now battling inside the top 5 of the AM Championship. Well, he's down in P15 overall, P6 in the AM class, and I think he'll be hoping for a bit more time, albeit a 10th of the guy Kylie Yao, and only what is a 10th ahead of Cy Hartley. And well, it's so close in the AM class. Indeed, you could cut the tension with a knife, but we cut over to Marvin Cruz here as he takes us around for a flying lap of the Bathurst circuit. Making his way in towards turn number 1, looking for his brake marker, braking at about 70 meters from corner apex down to second gear, and immediately stamping on the throttle as he clips the apex over the front left tyre, unsettling the car slightly. You could see the adjustment in the steering wheel as he now powers his way up the mountain straight, keeping the car in the dead centre, but gradually letting it creep over to the left hand side here, making sure to only do very small movements to not lose any straight line speed, holding 5th gear and into the braking zone for Griffiths Bend as he makes his way in towards the right hand, 3rd gear and back on the throttle as soon as he hits the apex. That's going to be very close to the wall, but just misses the wall by an inch as he now heads in towards the cutting, flat out into 3, but braking at the apex there, coming down to second gear, nice tight on the left hand, and now in towards Corey Corder, turn number 5 flat out, let the car right out to left and turn in nice and early for turn 6, avoid the apex curve, not to have the car pushed out towards the wall of 7, and now it's flat out here into turn number 8, and now a small lift into turn number 9, but as he goes on through back on full throttle, heading in towards McPhillory Park, and just clipping the apex curve there, turning on in, holding 5th gear, and now in towards Skyline and beginning to descend. Onto the brakes he goes, trail braking his way down to 3rd gear, now dropping down to 2nd as he heads into the dipper, harsh onto the left-hander he goes, back into flat out to settle the rear down, now heading on through turns 15 to 16, 17, on through the right-hander, but trail braking into the apex to turn number 17 to set up the run into Forest Elbow, 1st gear at the apex, back on the throttle, just missing the exit wall there, absolutely precise as you'd like it, as Cruz makes his way now down Conrod, and it's going to be a flat-out run, letting the flat 6 of the Porsche roar up to its maximum RPM as he makes his way over the crest and down, hitting upwards already of 160 miles an hour, and as he heads in towards the kink before the chase, going through the right-hand straight line as much as possible, braking for 168 miles an hour, 150 metres on the corner, apex to turn 21, 2nd gear back on the throttle, full throttle now through 22, and heading up towards the final corner, down towards Murray's he goes, and as he does so, looks to his right-hand side, we brake it about 100 metres on the corner, apex all the way down to 1st gear in order to get the car to turn. I think they're a bit too much turn in the car, but still a fast lap from Cruz. He went very fast in the middle sector. In fact, he's gone the fastest of everyone again, a 2:04.021 with 2 minutes left on the clock, and Marvin Cruz is absolutely flying for old dudes in cars blue. And well, he may be an old dude in a car, but I can tell you one thing, he's teaching some of the young whippersnappers out there exactly how to drive around Mount Panorama as he makes his way onto another lap. Meanwhile, Steinhardt standing in the BMW M4 for Race Lab Eastwatch jumps up to P2, and as he makes his way around the opening corner, gets it on too much speed, and I get the feeling perhaps a downshift that was a little bit too late, and he kicked the rear of the car loose, and as a result, Sonny taking his way back to the pits, but that's going to be his qualifying completed as he's not allowed to tow off circuit unless it is to retire the car from the qualifying session. So that will be done and dusted for Sonny as he now waits, and will mean, well, we've still got drivers out there, including Jack Barker, who's found P2 in the AM class off camera. We is 7/10 off of Conley's time, and we show you the overall standings as they stand with the AMs and Primes intermingled. And well, right now, James Conley ready the flight in the ointment for all the Primes, putting himself P5 overall, with Barker P9 with Brown just behind, and then John Davis P11. But you can definitely see the split in the two classes being distinguishable. With only a minute left to go, the majority of what is our AMs and Primes are now on their final laps if they were not already. Well, as we do say hello there to Rob Armstrong, who in the YouTube chat saying not feeling well enough to race tonight, but good luck to everyone else. And sorry to hear that, Rob. We do miss seeing the Mercedes AMG Evo out on circuit in your capable hands in the Prime class. Oh, goodness me! And we'll have to cut the fault short there, as that was a nasty knock to the wall for Connor Craven. And, well, immediately towing the car to the pits, and we caught only a whisper of that going through turn number 9, but that was a horrendous shunt on the front right suspension, and we can understand why he's had to tow the car immediately. And well, with that, that'll be his qualifying session over. But meanwhile, as we do look back to the Ford GT as it makes its way down through what is turn number 8 at Forest Elbow, and this is the car that on the straight is going to be impossible to catch, many would reckon, given the speed we've seen for it all season. And I think Barker right now, if he's been sensible, he will spec this car for primary stability over the mountain, as it is quite the beast to handle over what is medium to low speed corners, and he'll have put everything into that straight line dominance this Ford is known for, and well, can he find a way to potentially take a swing at James Conley's advantage? We'll have to wait to see, as he has improved to a personal best in the middle sector over the mountain, particularly beyond Skyline and downwards, and well, as he now makes his way in towards Murray's, as the elites and also the pros have made their way out to the circuit. Here he comes towards the timeline, and what's it going to be for Barker this time around? He's currently P10. He doesn't find any more time, and well, that's going to be the best he qualifies in. As meanwhile, James Conley makes his way on down, and as he does so, can Conley find a little bit more time out there in order to move himself a bit further up inside the overall order? We'll have to wait to see as he heads on through the chase and heading towards his final destination here. He has improved in the opening subsector. He's also improving in his final sector. He's had a better run onto the Conrad Straight, so if you're a betting man right now, Conley could be on for a fast lap. He's on a 2:04.68, which was his previous lap. 6.5 tenths off a cruise overall pole time, and he improves to a 2:04.637, but it's not enough to move him further up the grid, and that's how it's going to be for James Conley as the qualifying session for what is our pros and our pro-ams and AMs is complete, and now wins the elite and pro qualifying session. And we have 19 drivers already qualified. We still do have the best part of 11 drivers yet to put in laps, so we show you the class standings once again, and we're looking at Mark Collicott for DCW Racing as he winds his way on through Quarry Corner, and onwards he goes towards the Philly part now, and while the last driver's out the pit in the second half of the session. As he heads on through the left-hander and up towards what will be McPhillamy Park. We also do say hello there to what is Alexander Hill in the YouTube chat, saying some of these initial qualifying times are pretty good, and well, right now we can cut to Alex Hill as he makes his way on down through the Conrad Straight and in towards the chase, and he's exactly the person you see in the YouTube. Well, he's not going to be typing now. Indeed, the only typing he's going to be doing is in his head with regards to exactly where he can potentially find a bit more time and making some mental notes in that backlog of a mind in order to get himself set up for a better qualifying lap later on. As he comes down in towards Murray's through left-hander in the 276 Audi. We look forward to seeing what he could do in the stalwart of German machinery. And we also do say hello there in the Twitch chat to Connor DM Craven, who's saying it wasn't a fun shunt with regards to the Audi going to the water turn number 9. Indeed, we could feel it through our cameras, I can tell you that. And Jacko Racing saying Alex Hill is going to bottle it as always. We'll have to wait and see. And well, I believe that's Jack Taylor putting in a little bit of a comment there, who we don't see on the grid today. We are missing you, Jack. Hope you're doing well, however. And as Hill makes his way up towards turn number 2, in towards the braking zone, he goes a little bit further on around the circuit. We do have when Sean Edo's making his way down towards the final corner here, and Edo's going onto his first flying lap, delaying his departure from the pit lane. And well, the BMW M4 driver, I suspect, trying to give himself plenty of room out of the circuit, and well, understandably so, in the fact around here, if an incident happens in front of you, remember the tow zone rule is not mandated to our drivers in this qualifying session. You would expect that they'll be sensible. If they end up in the wall, they'll very likely tow the car to the pits because it will most likely be wrecked, and that will be the qualifying session over. But at the same time as well, giving yourself 10 seconds for another car in front can always work to your advantage, because there is a big incident in front. Indeed, many drivers are caught up in it. By the time they've reacted and got themselves off the circuit, you don't want to come careening into the scene of the incident. It could see your qualifying session end up in arrears, much like that of your rivals, and where you could miss out on a golden opportunity to snatch what is a very high position on the grid. Edos makes his way in the clear through turns 3 and 4, making his way out of what is there, the cutting, and now in towards Quarry. We're coming on around there, and well, we say hello to Sir Bottlejob in the Twitch chat, who right now say the question, can we get a fuel sample from Conley in reference to what was his overall pole lap in the AM class? A little bit of a joke there, or banter being made with an 8 tenths delta between Conley and Barker. Well, as Jacko Racing clarifying, he's going to be away from the rig for this round and also the season finale, which we'll definitely miss, no doubt about it. If you're not seeing him on circuit, will mean while we do look to it, Nicholas Rice, he heads on down, currently the fastest of what is our pro drivers in subsector 5, so that's the runner through the chase chicane, and as he makes his way on towards what will be the time in line, first lap's now coming in. James Armstrong sets a 2:02.666 out of the box, and my goodness, Armstrong right now raising the bar. Meanwhile, 2:03s are plenty here in the pro class. Rice were 2:03.652, and well, as he makes way onto his second flying lap, keep in mind that's their first out laps to flying laps that we're seeing, and some drivers absolutely flying out there, no doubt about it. And we've got some even faster drivers coming around here, including Khalid Ramadan, who right now I think is vying to try and take a swipe at Rice's provisional pole time in the pro class. And as he crosses the timeline, goes P2 in the class on a 204.230. And well, in the end, 6/10 off of Rice's pole time. But Ramadan faster in the first half a lap, interestingly, compared to the second half. So it's really from Skyline downwards. It all goes downhill in that battle between the two of them. And well, no pun intended, the fact that Skyline and the rest of the circuit is technically downhill in elevation. But as he makes his way up towards turn at number 2, well, right now Ramadan, the SomSport driver from Somalia, looking to try and do a bit more with 10 minutes to go. And well, will he be able to do it, given that Rice right now seems to be absolutely clocked in. And well, Rice was leading the practice times for some time, but we did see Armstrong and Jotautas respond right at the end of practice. And well, we have yet to see anybody in the GT3, the outside of the top class in the field, take an overall win. Could Rice be going for that today? That's a big question that might be on the lips of some. As meanwhile, it's got very wrong there for one of our DCW Racing drivers, and that was Tom Weston, whose qualifying session comes to an abrupt end after being towed to the pits there. Well, he's leaving the pit lane at the moment, but I get the feeling he's going to get a word from the stewards, which is no, you're going to need to put that car back in the pit lane, as you have had to tow. And well, that's the realism factor of this qualifying session being applied. We'll have to wait to see what the calls are made there. But meanwhile, as we look to sight Anthony of the Porsche 992 for Civic Esports, he makes his way on down the back straight. Mark Collicott into the pits, I think, to have a look at the car. They're not quite happy with how the car's set up at the moment, both driver and team. Was Anthony making his way on down Conrad and in towards the braking zone. Armstrong into the pits, Rice into the pits. So they've all just had enough fuel for one lap and that's it. So all feeling confident they can go all in on that single lap. Nobody opted to put the fuel in for multiple flying laps. Was Anthony makes his way to the timeline, the third and last of our elite drivers here currently today. And we'll peeling into the pits, and as he does so, we're not getting a lap on the board at the moment. We'll have to wait to see what he decides to do. But meanwhile, as he heads on in towards his pit box, we look to Darren Sharples. And the old Daunting Cars blue driver right now looking to carry on from where Marvin Cruz has left off and goes P14 on a 204.845. But to keep in mind that Marvin Cruz's lap, a 204.02, is currently good enough for P5 as Khalid Ramadan pushes him out of P4 and just interrupts our full process. Well, as we do see what is Darren Sharples making his way up towards turn at number 2, once again going into Griffin's Bend. Well, right now I think that he's going to be feeling as though there's a bit more time out there if his teammate can go faster than him in the prime class. And as he does so, we're going to shortly get on board with one of our drivers. I do believe we might be getting on board with one of our Audi drivers, perhaps the former James Armstrong, who's currently on an outlap, but we'll have to wait to see what's available to us on the camera perspective. But meanwhile, Casper Rotno in the old Daunting Cars black Porsche 992 yet to get a lap time on the board in the pro class, and we're out of what is our grand total of 27 drivers as it currently stand. In fact, 28 drivers, I should correct myself, and we do the recalculation now with some late joiners. Well, it does mean that right now all the drivers are still getting themselves set, and knowing this is going to be a very close field. And in fact, we can show you the overall standings on the left-hand side of your screen. And as we do, in fact, we're getting created then out of 31 drives. We had a couple more joiners in between when we last checked the numbers, and we'll sign Anthony and Casper, the only 2 drivers out of our 31 yet to put a lap time on the board as Brotner makes his way on through the double right into left-hander turn 5, 6 and 7, coming in such quick succession. And as he does so through turn number 9 and onwards towards turn number 10, well, he'll be feeling as though he's got to run as close as possible to those walls. That Porsche absolutely screaming its heart out in the capable hands of Brotner. And when he heads on down from Skyline in towards the Dipper, we're looking absolutely composed. He dances the car between the apexes, and we're looking as though he could be on for a good lap here. And where will this put him in the big scheme of things? That's going to be the question we'll get the answer to in approximately what will be 35 seconds time. As he makes his way on out and down to the Conway Straight. Meanwhile, we do look to James Armstrong, who's building up to another flying lap. And as he does so, we're going to get an on board with the Audi driver as he gets himself set, but back it off there to let Khalid Ramadan on through. And now Armstrong, I think, is going to go full send here as he heads on through the opening. Oh my goodness, and almost losing it there. And Armstrong now going for it, and another driver coming on through, and it's gone very wrong for Armstrong. And I think this is going to be a very gradual follow-up warm-up lap, given the fact there will be an interruption to the start of his qualifying lap, and not the way he's wanted it to start at all. And indeed had to take late evasive action there to avoid impeding what was sight Anthony. But meanwhile, what about Casper Rotner as he heads towards the time in line, where it's going to be a valid lap here as we're to understand it. And as he comes on through, in fact, it's not a valid lap from Brotner. He's going to have to go again. And with only 6 minutes left on the qualifying section right now, I think Brotner's going to be feeling as though time is running out. And well, goodness me, bar Armstrong's pole lap of a 202.666, which we should point out is 7.5 tenths faster than this man, the man who has been the closest all season to Armstrong, Haroldas Jotautas for what has been the Ace Lift team as he makes his way on through turns 8 to 9. Well, right now the Porsche 992 driver, known he's only 2 tenths clear of your provisional pro pole sitter. Say that multiple times in quick succession, I dare you with a plosive literacy. And well, right now that will be Nicholas Rice in P3, who's only 2 tenths behind, and it's a 4 tenths of second gap to Khalid Ramadan. But from P4 all the way through to what is P13, that's a grand total of 10 places from what is your second place pro driver to your AM pole sitter James Conley. So for Khalid Ramadan to Conley, it is only a margin there of what is 6 tenths, encapsulating what is the best part of 10 drivers. And well, it is an absolutely tight section, I can tell you, with regards to those lap times, and even the smallest of improvements right now for any of our pros and elite drivers could lead to some rather large gains, particularly in the pro class if Sharples or Collicott were able to find some time out there. But as we do see what Jotautas making his way into left into right here of what is the chase chicane, out of Conrad he goes. Right now, is he improving? No, he's not. In fact, he's not improved in any of the subsectors so far. So if he is going to improve, it's going to be on what will be at the final sector. In fact, this is an outlap here, so saving it all up for one last gasp. And as he makes his way on towards what will be at the new lap, we jump on board with Jotautas for a flying lap. So making his way in towards turn at number 1 here, coming down the gearbox, braking about 65 minutes with corner apex, leaving it as late as possible. But then again, the Porsche is the last of the late breakers as he goes flat out now up the rise in towards what will be Griffiths Bend. Building up the speed here, and No Nation's got to keep the foot absolutely stable to the floor and hope it's going to be enough as he's taken enough rear wing out of the car and such forth. He breaks his way in towards Griffiths Bend and breaking at the 50-metre board there. It's almost impossible to tell when he's braking and when he's picking the throttle back up. You know how quick he's doing so. But from third gear up into fourth now, into the cutting flat hand as he now braking as he just clears the apex corner, and as he makes his way through the left hand out of turn number 4. Flat hand now back onto the throttle through quarry, double right and into the left he goes, leaving it nice and late to turn in there, open up the corner as much as possible, batting with a little bit of oversteer as he now makes his way through 8, lift off the throttle slightly into turn at number 9, but back on the full throttle immediately as he clears the corner into McPhillamy Park, holding 5th gear here, 132 miles an hour at the apex. And now into Skyline, over he goes and down to dip, dropping down to 4th, then to 3rd, down to 2nd, nice and tight to the right and more into left-hander dipper, back on the throttle, full commitment as he straight lines between the apexes and in towards Bobby Forrest elbow. He brakes, braking as late as possible into 17, setting the car up, dropping the first gear, the car dancing there. You may have noticed the way the car was actually starting to lift now. The steering wheel's been turned gradually more and more to the left and having to fight against the steering wheel as he made his way on through Forrest elbow, now flat out here. And Jotautas, the fastest driver in Sector 1 versus Armstrong, has not been the fastest driver, indeed has not improved over the mountain, but as he makes his way now down at the back straight from Conrad into the chase, hitting 168 miles an hour as he goes onto the brakes and will break in about 140 meters corner apex down to 3rd gear, back on the pickup now as he makes way out 21 and 22 and in towards what will be at the break is over 23, goes in towards Murray's corner, onto the brakes, 100 meters from quarter apex down to 2nd gear, out to left hand he goes, Alex Hill improves to P7. What does Jotautas do? Does he improve? Can he take the pole position off of Armstrong? He does not take the pole position, but he does improve. He improves to a 203.216, but it looks as though that 202 is going to be found wanting and waiting, and Armstrong the only driver to put a 202 on the board so far with what is his first and only lap he set as he sits in the pit lane currently. But meanwhile, elsewhere out there, Darren Sharples making his way in towards the final corner, and as he does so, he's improved in the first half of a lap, but his second half of a lap has left a bit on the table. What can Sharples do? He's currently P15, not where he'll want to start in this race, as he'll be in amongst the prime field, and in fact Sharples not improving that time, and in fact not a valid lap to go to his name. Meanwhile, Mark Collicott coming on through the final corner, and what can the DCW Racing Porsche driver do here as he crosses the line with only 1.5 minutes to go? If that, he improves to P11. It's a sizable improvement to a 204.472, but that's it from Collicott. There's no more time out there, so P11 for him, and his teammate Tom West will be starting P23, where dismal day of qualifying after that instant in the early stages, and will mean, well, as we see Khalid Ramadan making his way in towards McPhillamy Park there, that wonderful camera angle showing you the way he's flying up over the crest and then down once again. While camera John Eddowes in at the Tiki Supersport BMW M4 has improved to a 204.313. That puts him P9 overall and in what is P5 in the Pro Class. And Eddowes has always gone quite strongly at Bathurst in history over the course of previous seasons. And he'll be looking to try and hunt Davies and Hill. And interestingly, Davies only P4 today in the Pro Class with a championship leader. With that, won't be getting the bonus point. It may be the championship fight is going to go to the Circuit of the Americas, but you'll know that he'll have a huge advantage in hand as long as he takes the top 5 finish today. And well, as Ramadan makes his way on down, we look to Haroldas Jotautas as he heads towards the end of the run in towards the chase chicane as the clock's 20 seconds away from hitting time. And as he does so, a bit too much power there, running slightly wide, dipping a tyre onto the grass, but that shows you how much commitment there is from the 56 driver as he makes his way through the left-hander and on towards the timeline he goes. Well, he'll improve to P6. What does Jotautas do this time? Well, he does improve, but only by another 2 attempts. It's a 202.967. Well, I don't know if he heard what we said at the commentary booth, but he did find the 202 in the end, but still not enough to dethrone Armstrong. But a brilliant effort nonetheless as Khalid Ramadan parks up there on the exit of turn number 1 on the escape road. His qualifying session is done, and the checker flag is out currently. And well, here is Darren Sharp as he makes his way on through the left-hander, and was he does so looking to try and improve a bit more for P16. It wasn't a good lap previously, and well, does he find a way out the order? He does, but it's not enough to get him into the top 10. It's a 204.643, and it's one of his worst qualifying sessions of the season from the old dudes here at Cars at Blue driver. As meanwhile, Ryan Davies making his way out there. He's the last driver in the qualifying lap right now. He is on a valid lap. And as he makes his way on through turn at number 9 in towards McPhilly at turn number 10, well, he'll be looking to try and find some more time to get in the hunt versus Rice and Ramadan, who are right now going to be on that second row of the grid. And as we show you the class names once again, so you can see who your pole sitters are and where they're going to line up overall. Well, Armstrong is going to be your pole sitter overall in the elite class with that 202.666, 3 tenths faster than Jotautas and Cy Anthony not getting a lap on the board. And we started from the back of the field, P31. And alternatively P30, depending on how it's judged between him and Casper Ron, who didn't get a valid time either. Nicholas Rice at the moment is your provisional pole sitter in the pro class, albeit a second off the overall pole time, but still with 6 tenths faster than Ryan Davies, who we're seeing here in the pro class. P5 on the grid is going to be Marvin Cruz, and well, what a lap from Marvin Cruz, 2 tenths faster than Simon Andre Livingston, who sprung to life late on the pro and qualifying session. And in the AM class, it's going to be James Conley, who by 8 tenths has taken pole in P14. Out of the AMs with Jack Barker was 8 tenths behind P19, but as he makes his way down towards the braking zone here for the final corner from Davies, it has been a very smooth lap. That's normally a sign of a good lap, but what can he do as he powers his way to the line? Can he find a way to leap a bit further up the order? Well, as he crosses the line, it's an improvement to P7. It's a 204.167, but it's still P4 in the pro class, and that is qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. And well, with what has been a fantastic 30-minute qualifying session, Armstrong's an overall elite pole. Rice will be taking P3 in the pro class for pole position, and then it's going to be P5 overall for your pro and pole sitter Marvin Cruz, and in the AM class James Conley will be taking P14 overall, but with it the class pole. And a brilliant pole laps from all 4 of our drivers there, all in a slight class of their own, it must be said. But is that the way it's going to play out in the race? That will be the question on many a mind right now. And well, as our drivers continue to wait to go, we have Cy Anthony for the Civic Esports parked up in the pit lane. Definitely got his work cut out for him starting from the back of the grid, but still he'll know that places can be made or lost in the race, and it only takes a major incident in the open lap, and that could completely turn the field on its head as the stationary Porsche there signals us out from qualifying. But as he does so, we do see it and say hello to Zeros there in the Twitch chat, who's asking, when do the sign-ups for next season usually start? And we'll talk more about what is season 13 of the GT3 League in the broadcast in a week's time. Indeed, the schedule is being finalised at the moment, so sign-ups will be opening in the next couple of weeks. But what's opening right now is the transition to the grid, and this is how our drivers are going to line up for our final endurance race of the season. For round number 7 of the UKSimRacing GT3 League Season 12, James Armstrong takes overall an elite pole position for Brabham Esports. He'll be joined on the front row by fellow elite driver from Absolute Motorsport A-Slave, Haroldas Jotautas. We then have on row number 2 Nicholas Rice for Destino Motorsports, who is your pro pole sitter, and he is joined there by Khalid Ramadan for Som Sport, his fellow pro driver P4. We have Marvin Cruz, your pro and pole sitter, P5 for Old Dudes in Cars Blue, and alongside him will be the pro of Alex Hill for Tiki Simsport Kimi, with Ryan Davies segueing his way into P7 in the end for Tiki Simsport Car Marte, and behind the pro driver starting P8 will be your second place prime on the grid, Racing Lab Esports' Simon Andre Livingston. Your top 10 is completed by the pro John Eddowes for Tiki Simsport Tower and the pro Stein Arsani for Racing Lab Esports. And then we do have Bester SP11, the pro driver of Alan Lever, the championship leader for UKSimRacing Stewart, and he was able to out-qualify Mark Collicott for DCW Racing by only what was 15 thousandths. We then have on row number 7, Rob Selby for UKSimRacing Stewart, and where's your Ampol sitter of James Connolly for UKSimRacing Mansell, and then we'll have Darren Sharples for Old Dudes in Cars Blue, followed up by No Use Sabas, the privateer, who lines up P16 on the 8th row of the grid, with row number 9 going to the prime pair of Connor Craven for Olympus Esports and the privateer of Lawrence Marsh. Your top 20 is completed by the second place AM qualifier of Jack Barker, the privateer, and it will be Chris round alongside him P20 for Leroy Jenkins, and then John Davis starts P3 in the AM class, but P21 overall for the wrong stuff, and he's joined on the 11th row of the grid by none other than John Doble for Tiki Simsport Kimmy. We now have Tom Weston started P23 for DCW Racing in one of his weaker qualifying sessions of the season, but he'll be joined on the 12th row of the grid by Dave Robson for Tiki Simsport Kimmy, and then we'll have on row at number 13 Matt Edmondson for UKSimRacing Stewart and fellow and driver Cy Hartley for Tiki Simsport Car Marte, with Andy Skinner started P27 for Tiki Simsport Corpa, and he'll be joined on the 14th row of the grid by Guy Carniel for the wrong stuff, and then Joel Douton starts P29 for the wrong stuff just behind his teammate ahead of Cy Ant, who didn't get a lap on the board in the end, and the Simon Esports drive will be ahead of Casper Rottner, who starts P31 last but not least for Old Dudes in Cars Black with no lap to his name, and well, with that he's got the hard work to do from the back of the field. But as the field gets set, ladies and gentlemen, and we do look to James Armstrong as he makes his way on through what will be this short formation lap, indeed only a short number of corners. Well, very shortly the safety car is going to peel away, and when it does so, we've got 90 minutes of racing over the mountain to come, but Armstrong is the one to lead us to the green. And it's lights out and away we go as Armstrong leaves it late to go green, but as he makes his way into turn 1, he does exactly what he needs to do. So Jotautas sits behind. Bryce meanwhile going defensive as Khalid Ramadan gets the launch off the line. It's going to be side by side as they drag race their way up the mountain straight immediately. But in the rear of your picture, Orva drives safely on through the opening corner as they make the way up towards turn number 2. And will Rice right now on at the offensive as he makes his way in towards the braking zone, but Ramadan gets ahead, and the Somsport driver going all in for the lead here as they make the way on through Griffiths Bend behind Marvin Cruz, holding P6, losing 1 place overall, but making some progress in terms of keeping Ryan Davies behind as they head in towards the cutting. And meanwhile, further behind, James Connolly still holding P14 after his race start, but there's further progress being made by Tom Weston down the order, down in P23, as he recovers a place of what is Dave Robson, or does he, as they go side by side into the cutting through turn number 3, and it's going to be Weston on the inside, Robson on the outside, but which of the two is going to get ahead on the exit? Was it going to Quarry Corner? It is going to be Robson, who's absolutely brave and bold as they come, and he takes P23 for Tiki Simsport Kimmy. But it's been a great start from all the drivers, no questions asked about that one, as they roar the way through turns 7, 8, 9 and into the Philly at 10. And as they do so, we look to the other DCW racing machine, Mark Collicott, right now under pressure from your AM leader James Connolly as he tries to hold us to P13, and the Briton right now falling a bit further back for Rob Selby as they make the way into the dipper for the first time today. Well, as they does so, with all the drivers all looking good at the moment, it does seem as though we're going to start to see some more battles on the run-down Conrod as everybody itches to try and stay as close as possible to one another, but at the same time as well, it's all going to be about who has got their tyres up to temperature to go on the forward tank, on the run down towards the chicane. Well, as they do so, we can see the lead drivers of the field are starting to space out, but meanwhile Alex Hill a bit further up the road, breaking away in P5 for Tiki Simsport Kimmy, but he is pulling Marvin Cruz along, and then Ryan Davies a little bit further back. But Ramadan and Rice already started to clear off into the distance, and Ramadan start an absolutely sensational start, no doubt about it, and taking the lead off of what was Rice at the start through turn number 1 on the outside no less, and in the drag race up the hill you would imagine that perhaps Ramadan right now set the car up to have a little bit more straight line speed and just give him the track position he needs. But as our drivers come towards the end of lap number 1, it's Armstrong who leads ahead of Jotautas, P2. They're your two leading elite drivers. You then have P3, the pro leader of Khalid Ramadan, Nicholas Rice P4, Alex Hill P5 ahead of Marvin Cruz, your prime leader P6, Ryan Davies P7, Stephen Andre Livingston P8, John Eddowes P9, Steinar Stanley P10, Bester P11 and Lever, and then your AM leader James Connolly intermingling in P14 versus what is pro and prime drivers. But as they power the way up the rise, meanwhile we look a little bit further back, and this is going to be Cy Ante looking to carve his way past Dave Robson here as he powers his way on the outside versus the Ferrari, but the push, once it's had the better exit out of the corner, you can start to see where Anthony right now hitting the upper limit of the top speed of the Porsche. The Ferrari continue to go in towards Griffiths Bend, and Anthony around the outside. In the end, Robson defending, but not able to defend successfully, and Anthony there showing the experience to go around the outside with the greater handling characteristics of the Porsche. But meanwhile now, and defender Robson who tries to cut back on the run in towards the cut-in, but Anthony holding that inside line at 9.2 does not go into one there unless you're willing to completely back out, but he was never going to back out that one given he had the right to the apex. But as he rakes his way out to Corey and onwards towards McPhillamy. Meanwhile, Casper Brotner also making a good start to this race, already 3 places gained as he makes his way on past the wall there of turn number 9 and going close to, in fact, I think that's a pretty great stall. We saw some dust kick up, and as he heads in towards turn number 10, the Danishman right now picking his way through it one by one. We have had an incident on lap number 2 for Joel Jotautas. We'll try and get a replay of that when we can. He has had to be towed to the pits. We're not quite sure what the story is behind Jotautas, but you know it's gone very, very wrong for him. And Neil Brotner here looking for an opportunity versus Cy Hartley. Can he find it though? Into Bryce Elbow. If he's going to try and itch to go for the move, but I think too close to call there. As meanwhile, just in front, that is Cy Anthony making his way past what is Dave Robson. And well, in fact, holding off Dave Robson, it should be said, as Robson has made his way past Matt Edmondson. And well, here comes what is Casper Brotner versus Cy Hartley as they drag race away. But look at the speed of that BMW, and Brotner out to the toe immediately, falling back behind. And that's the problem. As we said in qualifying, this BMW just has so much straight line speed, and that's exactly what is keeping the AM driver of Cy Hartley comfortably in front of the pro of Casper Brotner. But as he makes his way towards the end of the lap, meanwhile, we take a look back at what exactly happened to Joel Jotautas on the second lap of racing. Coming in towards turn number 1 by looks things of the wrong stuff driver, heading down towards the opening corner in the Audi R8 Evo 2, onto the brakes here, and the car just going straight on. I think that's a brake failure there for the 13 driver, and immediately tied to the pit, and well, that's going to have to be investigated, but something's gone very wrong there for Jotautas, and well, I don't think it's anything that he's done wrong. I think it's some sort of technical issue that's blighted him in the early stage of this race. But meanwhile, as we return to your live pitch, the Porsche of Brotner staying behind, with Hartley and Edmondson still as they make the way in towards turn number 2. But as they do so, we look to John Davies here as he holds it to P3 in the AM class. P21 over with John Doe encroaching behind, and the McLaren driver right now having a good start, holding his starting position, not losing or gaining any place, and that's always a good place to start. But certainly when you take P3 in the AM class in qualifying, then he'll want to be back on the podium. There's no doubt about that. As he makes his way on through what is Corey Bend and in towards McPhillamy he goes. Well, the problem is he'd like a little bit more, I'm certain. I think he'd like to try and take the scalp off of Jack Barker in the Ford GT, who is only 1.8 seconds up the road. Speaking of the Ford GT of Barker, where it's under a bit of pressure here from Chris around the prime driver who's P9 in class. When they make the way on down in towards the dipper, we do show you the overall stands on the left-hand side of the screen with our 31 drivers, and Jotautas has had to be retired from the race due to an issue with the brakes of the car, and well, as a result, won't be going racing any further today, so that's our first retirement. But we've also had into Cy Hartley and Casper Brotner that's happened just off camera after we left them, and well, as Barker gets the better exit out of Bryce Elbow, which pulls him nicely clear here of Chris Round. You can see the gap up to 6 tenths, and there's no way Round is going to be closing that gap back down at a rate of knots. Well, Mark Collicott, meanwhile, for DCW Racing in the Porsche, looking vulnerable here from James Conley, the AM leader, taking a peek into the chase, decides against it in the end, knowing there's no need to put on early pressure. He can balance this race, he can save some fuel and use Collicott to pull him along. As they head down towards Murray's, that is only going to put some pressure on the number 5 Porsche driver, and I think send the message through to him that it's going to be a question of when, not if, there's going to be an opportunity for that Ferrari to try and make its way on the inside. But meanwhile, we look here to what is a bit of a battle between Weston and Robson. Robson on the inside and the Ferrari. Weston on the outside here, having to give the space. Bit of a flash of lights from Weston. I think he's not happy with how Cy Anthony's found his way past of some description. We'll try and get a replay of what's happened between them shortly as they make the way in towards turn number 1. Robson taking a bit of a sneak peek there, not quite able to pull it off. And as we ride on board with the dashboard here, Robson, a bit of a slow run on through turn number 1. But I think Robson right now, knowing that he doesn't really need to do anything dramatic here versus Weston, given the fact the natural pace or natural order would say that Weston is the faster driver. So I think the TE6 what Kimi driver perhaps opts in to save some fuel, use the toe, use the straight line speed of the Ferrari to his advantage just to keep himself in arm's reach. He is 1 second clear of Edmondson, fellow Ferrari driving the AM class right now. So for Robson, this P5 in the AM class is looking quite stable at this time. But then again, we do have quite a bit of time in this race, given the fact we've not even reached the 10-minute mark. And let's not sing the praise of anyone too much. They've got a long way to go before that checker flag. As Robson makes his way out of the cutting there, turn number 4, in towards 560 goes. Looking absolutely smooth in the charge around the circuit right now. And the TE6 Kimi driver drives some of his best laps of the season by looks of things as he heads in towards McPhillamy. But as he does so, we now take a look back at what exactly happened to Cy Hartley and Casper. In fact, we're not going to just yet. As it looks over here, poor run from Weston. That's going to be Robson going around the outside into Skyline. And in the end, Robson seizing the opportunity and will almost get it wrong. They almost going too deep before the dipper. And Weston's going to come back in now. I think Weston will poor run from McPhillamy decide to completely lift off and therefore opt instead to just simply let Robson go. But is that going to haunt him now? The fact he have another car in front of him, and it could be a car he just cannot catch, given the straight line speed supremacy of that Ferrari versus the Porsche. We'll have to wait to see. As meanwhile, just up the road, this is Connor Craven for Olympus Esports in the Prime class, battling here with what is John Doble in the AM class, as the BMW driver cuts the inside there into the kink. And as they break the way in to the chase, Doble getting ahead for P21, so Craven losing another place. He's lost 5 overall so far. Difficult start to his race, no doubt about it. And he'll be looking for a little bit more later on, but then again, it could all be part of the strategy here. Our drivers may be going for different strategies. Perhaps we could even see a third pit stop here, given the amount of fuel they'll be using. There's a lot of acceleration zones at Bathurst, and therefore that is going to see a lot of fuel burn out the car from lap to lap. But Craven falling back there after a slight run wide out of Murray, and as he does so, we now take a look back at what exactly happened between Cy Hartley and Casper Brotner on lap number 3. Well, Cy Hartley was leaving the pit lane, then the live pictures. This was into Skyline, and over the rise he went, and some contact there to the rear of Hartley's car from Brotner. I think Brotner carrying a bit too much speed versus what Hartley was carrying, and that's what led to the instant. We take a look back from the onboard perspective of Casper Brotner, and the old dudes in cars black dry. Let's listen in. And I think they're being caught out by the fact he was naturally more confident carrying more speed over the hill versus Hartley, and in the end just not able to stop the car in time, and that's what led to the instant between the two of them. A nasty instant there, and well, that goes to show you the speed of the two different drivers, and in the end, well, Brotner just not ready for where Hartley was braking. But as we do return it to your live pictures, I can tell you that both drivers are back out on circuit. They're both a lap down, however. Brotner now P29, Hartley P30, and they're carrying on their race. And well, as we look to Connor Craven, we look from one Audi driver to another, and we're going to look to your P3 Pro driver, P5 overall, Alex Hill, the TK Kimi driver, as he makes his way in towards what will be at turn number 19. And as he does so, and down the back straight, pounding his way on down here, breaking away from Cruz, but losing time to Rice and Ramadan. And we'll leave Ramadan and Rice separated by a margin of 6.5 tenths currently, and they have left Hill in terms of pace. But then again, we do know that the TK team, they work a lot of strategy into their races, and we know that Hill in particular can do a very strong job of saving the tyres on the car. But meanwhile, one driver's not saving the tyres right now, nor the brakes. It's Dino Sand as he looks up the inside of John Eddowes there, trying to make the move for P9 versus his fellow BMW driver, and will Sani offline as a result, and Alan Lever is closing now as they make the way in towards Murray's, as they head out to left-hander and on to next lap. Well, one attempt to move has come to backfire against Sani, as now he's got growing pressure from Lever behind as they head in towards turn at number 1, but Lever not able to seize on the opportunity and having to wait once again. This is the battle for P3 in the Prime class, it should be pointed out, and as they make the way on the run up the mountain straight, with long line of cars still, and will nobody right now be thinking about strategy for the simple reason, unless you can find a way to pit and come out outside of this long line of cars, you could be losing a number of places in terms of the overall track position, just as simply as you get caught up in a battle that's slower than the battle that you're trying to fight in. So therefore I think all drivers will try and go as long as possible, knowing that the field is not naturally splitting out unless it's the top 5 right now. We're starting to see some notable gaps, but Sani once getting close to Eddowes here, where Eddowes are not quite comfortable on the pace at this time, but I wonder whether John Eddowes is deciding to perhaps take some life out of the car right now in terms of the pace he's delivering, in order to give it a bit more of a longer term strategy approach in terms of tyre life, but also what will be the fuel consumption, as well as Andre Livingston only 2 tenths in front of the poor run, albeit we're looking backwards from Eddowes' car right now, and you can see it boxed in by the Race Lab Esports machines, and Eddowes there having to work what is a very difficult situation. The fact he's got 2 drivers around him, will both be looking to try and get ahead of him. He's ahead of one of them, but not the other, and right now it does look as though Livingston not quite happy over the mountain compared to Eddowes, and we know that this BMW is a very stable car, even on the most unstable of tracks. Oh, goodness me, and a knock to the wall there from Steinar Sani, and that, well, goodness me, it wasn't as hard as we saw from Connor Craven earlier on. I believe Craven has actually had to be towed to the pits for an impact to a wall, what was a couple of laps ago. We'll get a replay of that shortly, but you can definitely feel that one through the camera from Steinar Sani, and I would imagine he'll be grateful for the fact the car went quite flush against the wall, but he won't want to be doing that again in a hurry, for the simple reason that could knock the steering out of alignment, and that could see his race in tears before he's able to get to his first mandated pit stop. But as the drivers make the way out turn 22 and down towards Murray's at 23, well, I don't think we're going to see any signs of Sani pulling into the pits here, but I think definitely a sign of a little bit of pace coming out of the car as he's falling a bit back off of Eddowes, and perhaps just that knock tool has cost him some time. As the drivers make the way onto what is for them now lap number 7, and we get a replay of what exactly happened to Connor Craven only moments ago on lap number 5. So this was the run on for him at Philamy Park. Rear of the car twitching there to the apex, losing the rear and doing well to catch it initially, but in the end the car getting hooked over the apex curb and just not able to stop it from barreling towards the outside wall. A good attempt there from the Olympus Esports driver, but once that Audi goes, it is gone, and unfortunately it's been the tow to the pits as per the rules, and we'll see him back out on circuit. In fact, he is back out in P28, a lap down, but giving it everything he can and still in it to win it to the very checkered flag. And indeed, as we see Zeros in the Twitch chat there saying the rear stopped caring, and indeed a good analysis there in the back. It did look as though the rear had a mind of its own, and well, right now one car that hasn't got a mind of its own is that of Edo's, in the fact that he continues to find himself in the Racing Lab Esports sandwich, albeit Alan Levin, Rob Zelby closed up, and the two UKSimRacing Stuart drivers I think now having to try and work the delta to each other here in order to make sure not to trip over each other. And this is important as well, in the fact you're noticing that a number of drivers are maintaining gaps of always 6 to 7 tenths from each other. Now they could race closer arguably around the mountain, but the thing is, if anybody gets it wrong over the mountain, 6 to 7 tenths provides you a degree of reaction time if a driver starts to lose control, and you can start to ease the brakes on or look to go for that opening that's available if you can't brake in time. But when you're running this close, and goodness me, an exact example there as the commentator's curse strikes John Edoes in terms of giving us a prime example of what happens when you run very close to the driver in front and they get it wrong, and Edoes in the end is turned around from making contact with the rear of what's the car of Stephen Andre Livingston, I do believe, coming out of Forest Elba, and the TG6 Tower driver bringing himself back together now. But goodness, that is an absolute nightmare for him, and well, he's got the speed back in the car here as he keeps with Casper Brotner behind as he heads in towards turn 21. We're going to have to get a replay of that for the simple reason I can imagine that's not going to rub off well in any of the cars involved in that situation, and will particularly for what is Edo's as he makes one down. Does he defect into the pits? No, he does not. He stays out on circuit, no deflection for an early pit stop here, and with the 15 minutes to start this race coming to a close, right now Edo's will be getting his head down and knowing his work is just been made 10 times harder as he heads in towards the left-hander here for turn number 1. And right now with Brotner right behind him, Brotner will be eager to try and find a way through, given the fact he's on a very different strategy and will try to unlap himself as they roar the way up the hill. We look back to the class standings on the left-hand side of your screen, and well, speaking of Simon Andre Livingston here, as he has got Stein Arsani very close behind in the battle for P2 in the Prime class, with Marvin Cruz already 5.5 seconds clear and just running away at the front of the Prime class. I do wonder where Racing Lab Esports are going to look at switching their drivers, because right now Alan Lever is only 3 tenths behind. I think with Edo's out of the equation, the UKSimRacing Stuart team now know they need to go on the offensive as we ride on board and look back from the rear. Always the car of Simon Andre Livingston, and well, that is a base for Stein Arsani and the rather large grille of the BMW M4 from his car. But behind you've got Lever, you've also got Zelby, you've got Mark Collicott and Noye Salas all queuing up here in a long line. Also James Connie now within 7 tenths of the back of this pack, and everybody looking for an opportunity to get involved and find the way into P8. But as they make the way over Skyline and down towards the Dipper, well, right now Sani continuing to just simply follow his teammate here, perhaps saving some fuel as well in the BMW, and perhaps hopefully if he gets close enough in the run out of Forest Elbow, they can simply swap the places round here under what will be the braking into the chase. But as you can see, the difference in lines, Lever much more aggressive in towards the apex of Forest Elbow, and Lever in the Lamborghini, it's almost as if he's just suddenly been told, you know, now's the time to push, and that Lamborghini being made to work harder and harder, and perhaps the golden opportunity, perhaps he feels as though the pace is in the car to make some progress, bring Zelby with him, his teammate is just behind as they make the way on down towards the chase chicane this time around. But as they all do, no signs of anybody looking for a move at this moment. I think everyone just patiently waiting, and again trying to put that mental pressure on. But meanwhile, speaking of potential moves that are coming, as John Doe closing hand over fist, in fact chomping what is the best part of 3 attempts out of John Davis in the run from what's Forest Elbow down in towards the chase. Such is the way that BMW M4 just eats away the gap in the toe as he heads on towards the brakes. We do have John Edoes into the pit lane. I think the damage he's picked up, and he's decided it's now time to come on in. Perhaps he feels as though he can make this work on strategy now, but Doe will get the better run out of the final corner. Davis going defense on the inside. This is a P3 in the AM class as they head on to the brakes. Davis defends hard. Flames spitting out the rear of the McLaren, parks it nicely on apex, but Doe will have a run here. He tucks into the toe immediately, knowing he'll want every mile an hour he can salvage where he powers his way up the hill. We ride on board with the TG6 Kimmy driver, and the overspeed is building little by little, and meanwhile Davis goes defensive on the inside. It's going to be a drag race to look around the outside here as they head in towards Griffiths Bend, and Will Davis in the end backing off not just for what is doable but also for Cy Anstey, and John Davison deciding to let it go. Well, that's a bit unexpected from the wrong stuff driver. I would have thought he would have gone to win unless there was some sort of automated slowdown he needed to serve for track limits that we didn't see at the end of the previous lap. But John Davis there, as he goes very deep into what is the cutting, letting it go, and the 26 driver falling back to P4 in the AM class and also losing a place overall in addition to the ones Hampstead Oval, and that was the site Anthony now down a P21 overall as he carries on his journey over the mountain for the 9th time of asking. Well, as he does so, we take a look back at what exactly happened to John Eddowes and that incident involving himself and what was Simon Andre Livingston only 2 laps to go. And this was coming down into Forest Elbow. Now we're riding on board looking from the perspective of John Eddowes. As he comes to the corner, you can see the contact to the wall there from what was Simon Andre Livingston on the apex of Forest Elbow, and that sent his car out wider to the exit wall of the elbow, and will by at the end, Eddowes was the one to get the elbow in terms of being involved in that incident and being sent round to the inside of the circuit, and the TT Sport tyre driver had no space to react to that point, and giving a live example of exactly what we're referring to. When you run so close to your rolls and one of them gets it wrong in front, it is going to be tears. And well, as those makes his way on down towards what is turn number 21. Well, as he does so, meanwhile we look to Simon Andre Livingston, who continues to lead the long traffic jam of cars here as he comes in towards Murray's corner and out of it. And we're right now, the Norwegian driver, I think, feared as though all he could do is continue to stay one step ahead of his rivals. He heads in towards Hell Quarter once again. And through left-hander on the rise he goes, and well, he does so all the way up towards turn number 2. It's going to be a long line of cars all trying to save fuel for one another here, and I think right now Marvin Cruz just continuing to open up his advantage, now standing an absolutely incredible what is 8 seconds Marvin Cruz to Simon Andre Livingston. I think this is more and more becoming the fight for P2 unless there's an offset strategy here, and perhaps Cruz has got less fuel in the car, and that might be why he's lapping faster, but he did also put in an absolutely phenomenal pole lap, as to be said. And I think Cruz, much like Okayama, has just found some late pace in this season. But as Livingston makes his way on through Corey Bend and up the hill he goes. Well, meanwhile, a little bit further behind James Connolly in this hunt, trying to stay a little bit further back off the rear of No Use Sabas, trying to give himself some premium in the UKSimRacing Mansell Ferrari. But the problem is he can only give himself so much room before he starts to tread on the toes of Darren Sharples behind him. And with Sharples 6 tenths of a second behind and closing, I think Connolly here just trying to give himself some breathing room to have less dirty air over the front end of the car, reduce those front tyre temperatures as well. It may just assist him in the long haul, but the problem is the more and more he backs off the pace, he's only going to push himself closer and closer to Sharples Marsh, and then more importantly, in the AM battle, Jack Barker currently sits what is 3 seconds behind and is gradually closing, it should be pointed out, over the gap of Connolly by what is 2 to 3 tenths a lap on average. So therefore Connolly can't afford to lose too much time, as meanwhile we can see Sharples and Marsh looking at to go battling once again. In fact, that's not Marsh behind him, that's Brotner, we should point out, but Cass Brotner close and looking to try and find his way through in the tow, a lap down. But the problem is as well, with blue flag rules in effect, so he does make his way on past. Brotner's got to try and pick a time to make the overtake on Sharples, where he can also break away and not be at risk of being reported for holding Sharples up, which is always a risk when you try to unlap yourself for drivers who are on similar pace to you, in the fact that by the time you get ahead, was it really worth it, in the fact you've cost the driver time, and well, the rules would say you've cost the driver time, and you've also in reality cost yourself time, and also put you at risk of being given the steward's book in the steward's room after the race. Well, as the Englishman versus the Danishman make the way in towards turn number 1. Meanwhile, we look to Guy Kylie chasing after Andy Skinner as they head in towards the common chicane, and well, as they do so, going through the chase chicane, it's more properly known. More the Luxembourgish driver still in the chase after his rival in the battle of the 2 Porsches. Neither driver right now finding a way to get an upper-hand on the other as they head on to the next lap. But Kylie out as we ride on board the dashboard here of the 17. Well, he's looking to try and take on that P7 in the AM class. And both of these drivers are racing for some valuable points, there's no doubt about it, and a good little battle developing. As they head on through the left-hander, Skinner looking a little bit more comfortable at apex approach there, and in fact gaining some speed on corner exit, again about 2 miles an hour. But Kylie Out will now start to mitigate that and offset it with the slipstream here. But I think Kylie Out at this point relying on the tow just to bring closer and closer, and then over the mountain. I think it's going to be more about just backing the car off and just taking his time with that approach as he makes his way through Griffiths Bend and in towards turns 3 and 4. Wipers on there to try and get a little bit of debris off of the windshield. No rain forecast for this race, the rain not forecast for this season, but it definitely will be on the cards for the next season of the GT3 League, with rain coming to iRacing in the next big season update. But right now, looking at those canals off in the distance, it's an overcast day, albeit with quite a bit of brilliant sunshine as well. And was Kylie Out continues to chase after Skinner, gap down to 4 tenths, and definitely we're seeing here Kylie Out enjoying the run over the mountain and able to keep his rival right in his sights. As he heads in towards Skyline and over the crest he goes and down on hill, and well, when the sun is rising, more the corner, given the name Skyline in reference to the fact that the sun does rise over the Skyline corner, and therefore you essentially look into the sun in the early hours of the morning, and it makes an absolute spectacle. Or a bit of a spectacle there for Skinner to rub against the wall at turn number 17. Managed to get away with it, however, and Kylie not in a prime position to capitalise. In fact, a bit of a slow run now for Forest Elbow, and both drivers sensitive of running too far out towards the exit wall, but Kylie really taking it carefully through there, and perhaps right now not feeling confident enough to go full attack, as he's got John Eddowes closing it bit by bit in the BMW M4 behind, as we do see the Tiki Supersport Pro machine getting closer. As they head their way down in towards the chase. Meanwhile, we do look here to Marvin Cruz in P6. Prime leader being chased by P4 Prime driver. Well, not Prime driver, Pro driver, I should say. And was your Pro Championship leader of Ryan Davies, who right now is looking for another place. Do keep in mind, of course, the overall finishing position has no bearing on the points our drivers take from a given round of race, and it all comes down to class position. But right now, Ryan Davies, I think, eager to find his way past Cruz, so that way he can go hunting after his 3 rolls in front of Hill, Rice, and Ramadan. And we're speaking of Alex Hill in terms of his delta to Rice and Ramadan, not really closed up at the moment, and in fact still trying to find a way to close down a 7-second gap, but Ramadan has broken away from Rice to the best part of what is 1.8 seconds, and the gap is continuing to surge outwards, and well, it could be a sign of Khalid Ramadan right now really does seem to be the driver to beat, as the drivers wind their way on and down through the dip here with Cruz right now for Old Dudes and Cars Blue. Continue on his way, as meanwhile we do look to Khalid Ramadan, and there you can see in the rear of the picture that's Nicholas Rice, who's still trying to follow him in the battle of the 2 Ferraris. Gap of 1.6 seconds, an error coming out of Forest Elbow for Ramadan has cost him a bit of time, but then again he has got plenty of time to play with, and that's always going to be an accolade he'll be more than happy to have up his sleeve. In fact, he's bought himself a gap, and therefore he can manage this race little by little if he feels comfortable enough to do so. But as he makes his way down towards turn number 23, and Rice right now, I think the Destino Motorsports driver still looking for an opportunity to go on the hunt here, and it is a long race. We're only heading towards the end of the first third, and we'll plenty to talk about in at the second and final third of this race, no doubt about it. But I would say the Destino Motorsports driver now matching the pace of Ramadan on that previous lap, albeit arguably what was half a tenth slower, albeit not too visible there, unless both drivers are making a bit of an error over the course of the lap. But the gap has come down from 2 seconds to 1.8 seconds come the end of lap. But Rice right now keeping his rival well and truly and firmly in his sights. But I would imagine here it's going to be just as much around strategy, and perhaps Rice right now is trying to set up a pit stop, but he's going to need to take less fuel and gain the race time there by just bleeding a little bit of time out of the race distance as he heads in towards the cutting. As he does so, we meanwhile look to Stephen Andre Livingston, your second place Prime driver, who continues to keep starting on Sani behind, and well, after the two of them got very close a couple of laps ago, that seems to be the way they're keeping the story between them, with Sani not really having an opportunity to look through, and indeed 3 tenths the difference. And again, this Ferrari, as we talked about earlier, very powerful around the Bathurst circuit, both in regards to the corners and also the straights. Not quite able to match the BMW in the long term, but for the most part, and I think that might be what's costing Sani the opportunity to go hunting. As he makes his way on through turn 67, and he gets in very close this time as we ride on board inside the car of Norwegian, chasing after his fellow countrymen, and the Racing Lab Esports pair right now working together for their championship in the Teams Championship. I think both eager to try and take this P2 result off of one another, but they've got a long way to go and leverage. You can see there in the rearward TV camera inside Sani's car what objects may appear closer than they seem, as they say, but on that TV screen we can assure you that lever is very close as the UKSimRacing Stuart driver gives chase. They're making their way down to Forest Elbow onto the brakes, and Sani right now really having to be so careful with the approach to the apex. And the thing is as well, when you're running this close into a corner like Forest Elbow, it's a downhill braking zone with dirty air put over the top, and that changes the behaviour of the car 2 ways. Firstly, being downhill, well, the car naturally wants to creep away from you, but the dirty air means you'll struggle to turn in, so you've got to brake even earlier for the corner. But Sani here gets close in the toe, again not looking for the move. In fact, a small lift there, it was noticeable as he made his way through the kink, deciding to lift off the throttle slightly, keeping the throttle on in order to steady the rear of the car down. But Sani not looking for the move when he did have the overspeed to potentially consider it, so it might be the Race Lab Esports team who agree they're going to run like this and will give Sani the opportunity to jump ahead after what will be the pit stop, or at least battle for the right to go ahead. But right now with Marvin Cruz almost what is 11 seconds, in fact almost 10 seconds clear I should say, of the pair, continue to open up that gap. It could be argued here they're only losing more and more time versus Cruz, should Sani feel as though he's got the pace to go hunting. But meanwhile, we do have into the pit site Anstey, I do believe. In fact, no, it's not. That was a bit of an error on our timing tower screens. But meanwhile, as the drivers continue the way on up the hill, we look a little bit further back behind to Rob Selby as John Davies is into the pit lane in the McLaren MP4 12C, and I do believe it is going to be for our first strategic pit stop of the day. And well, for John Davies, he's not had an incident, so therefore he's definitely coming in to make a pit stop of some description, whether it's the fuel and also the tyres or just fuel. I have to wait and see, but I can tell you that the McLaren driver is in, and will that start a chain reaction, which will see more drivers to come in, and we'll have to wait and find out. As we do look to Rob Selby, it's still racing after what is Leather, his teammate. Well, this is the battle for P2 in the Prime class from Wes Livingston through to Sani, Leather and Selby. And right now, Rob Selby just holding back here, and I think giving himself all the space to work with. Meanwhile, No Use Sabas would like to be part of that battle, but between him and his fellow Prime drivers is none other than Mark Collicott. As the drivers make the way on through the dip, we take a quick sip of water. We'll make the way on in towards Forest Elbow right now under the sweltering sun of the Australian sunlight. Well, we do look to what is our dashboard here in terms of our weather on the right hand side of your screen. And as you can see, that track temperature and also ambient temperature have both come up. The ambient's come up a little bit less compared to track. We've now gone to where it's 24 degrees centigrade compared to 21 at the start of the day. But track temperature up by 7 degrees to 38 degrees centigrade. And that is going to make this circuit very prickly when it comes to driving on it, when it comes to tyre conservation, particularly those rear tyres with a number of traction zones over the mountain, such as coming out of turn number 4 at what is the cutting, and also coming out of the dipper, and that may just be starting to have a bigger and bigger impact on our drivers in terms of how much tyre life they've got left over the course of the stints available to them. And as they roar their way onto the next lap, a bit of a run wide there from Collicott, and Saras will be looking to try and seize upon that. He is within 2 attempts. They make the way on the start finish straight in towards Hell Corner, but can he find a way in the Lithuanian? No, he cannot. Indeed, having to wait once again. It's been on Chris round into the pits for his scheduled stop from what was P19 overall, or what was P8 in the Prime class. Some more pit stops playing out here, and more of our drivers looking for an opportunity. As Savas exactly trying to do so as well, as he looks around the outside to inside, and well, going to the outside in the end, and he's going to go all the way round. Collicott's going to make it very, very late. A small tap between the two of them, and having to go up into the apex curve to Collicott, but no, Savas just getting it done, and well, that could have been tantamount to disaster, but not so. And the 32 driver then doing it precisely right as he makes his way on through the cutting. I think Collicott there will feel a little bit aggrieved with how fine the margins were between the two of them, but you could not have asked for a closer overtake between the Ferrari driver and the Porsche driver as they now make the way over the mountain. But as they do so, we take a look back at exactly how that pass was made. And we'll make the way up towards the braking zone here. And Saras on the outside in after indicated to the inside, and under braking, having the stronger braking run on that outside line. And you can see there Collicott giving it everything to try and stay with him, and in the end having a bit of contact on the rear, almost sending both drivers around, but not to be. They kept it under control. Brilliant race between them. And now Saras getting the move done in the end for what was P12 overall, and what is right now to go chasing after what is the rest of the top 5 of the Prime class for his P6 position in class. As they make the way onto Conrad, already you can see how much of a gap Savas is open up, and that Ferrari doesn't need to be asked twice in terms of where it'd like to be, as being, well, Casper Brotner here trying to unlap himself at side by side with Darren Sharples, but behind Lawrence Marsh staying one step ahead of what is Cy Anthony, or is he? As Anthony's going to be looking to the inside, as being, well, Sharples covering off Brotner, but Anthony on the outside now trying to go for position here for P16. Onto the brakes they go, Marsh defending inside to outside, and Anthony then having the door shut firmly in his face as the battle of the two Porsche drivers goes the way of the 222, and the Welshman right now holding on versus his fellow countryman as they head in towards turn number 23. Meanwhile, off camera, I'm hearing there's been a tow to the pits of Matt Edmondson in what has been a turn of drama on this 15th lap of racing. As the drivers go on to lap number 16, just behind all this is Jack Barker in the Ford GT, still P2 in the AM class and pushing on overall. And well, can he find a bit more time out there to go hunting after Conley? In the fact that James Conley has opened up his advantage to what is a gap now of 4 seconds, but again Barker will be hoping that if he doesn't win this race, he just takes the P2 and he keeps himself as close as possible versus Conley going into the season finale, where every point matters, and that's where you can't afford a retirement. As we look from our second place AM driver, we're going to take a look back at what exactly happened to Matt Edmondson, a fellow AM driver who's had to be towed to the pits, and here's the story. So making his way in towards McPhilly Park, coming on in, rear of the car, looking a little bit dicey, but none more so than what was a bit too much speed cover for the corner, and immediately turning to the pits, and Edmondson's race ending in arrears, and we ride on board here. Let's listen in. And and you could see there as he went for the apex, straining the steering wheel slightly to avoid the inside wall, but too tight of an angle. It led to what was the car understeering wide, hitting the exit curb on the outside, and in the end that was enough to upset the car and end Edmondson's run there in what was a comfortable run inside the top 5 of the AM class. But as we return to your live racing pictures and look to the overall standings on the left-hand side of your screen, well, right now all of our drivers intermingling against one another. Once again, slight anti-amps and connectivity issues it would seem. Surely he's not going to be retiring from the race, though. He's still P17, but the car disappearing into the internet ether for some time. Meanwhile, this is not your Sabas, who's got Mark Collicott right behind him in this ongoing battle for P12 between the two drivers overall. It's between the Prime and the Pro behind him. And right now, the Pro's trying to come back here, or at least stay so close in that tow. That way he can capitalise on the straight mode speed advantage the Ferrari has, because the Porsche's got the lowest top end speed that we've normally seen, unless you take all the rear wing off of it. But the problem is, of course, you take more and more rear wing off of that Porsche, it's going to make that rear end absolutely unstable over the mountain. And will that can leave you very quickly making your way to a barrier. But as they come out of Murray's corner and on towards turn number 1 they go. Well, right now onto another lap, and Collicott again pulling out to the inside. I think that's more to bleed off the speed into the opening corner more than anything. I think he's just trying to gauge when he needs to be in the tow versus when he doesn't. And I think also a degree of frustration that he might feel as though the bar and straights he is the faster driver, but the problem is the straights are so fundamental to the success of your lap time around here at Bathurst. And well, right now Collicott just having to wait, watch and listen as he heads in towards Griffiths Bend. But as they do, meanwhile we look to your race leader here, James Armstrong. We haven't talked about the Bradman Esports driver for some time. Right now in complete control of this race with a 12-second advantage almost over Haroldas Jotautas. The Bradman Esports 47 just continues to put in lap after lap and lapping comfortably, it should be pointed out, in the mid-203s, whereas everybody else is in what is the mid-204s or higher. And well, that just goes to show you what Armstrong is bringing to the table as Bradman Esports driver makes his way on down the Conrad Straight. But as he does so, here's Haroldas Jotautas, your P2 driver overall for Absolute Motorsport Acelev. And well, he's only got what is a 2.3 second gap over your pro leader, Khalid Ramadan, as Jotautas makes his way on down Conrad into the chase chicane. And I think right now he'll be feeling as though this race is more about just being in no man's land and trying to bring home the runner-up spot, as the pro leader Khalid Ramadan is closing. In fact, on that last lap he took 3.5 attempts out of Jotautas. Could we see a battle for P2 overall play out here, as the new fastest lap of the race goes to James Armstrong? It's a 2:03.292 off camera, and Armstrong showing no signs of slowing down, and Ramadan the same here as he crosses that timeline. And when he does so, putting in another strong lap in the pro class. Nicholas Rice, it's a personal best, which is 4 tenths faster almost versus Ramadan. So Rice now starting to get into the flow here in the second half of this opening stint. And with the Destino Motorsports driver knowing that he's got to take his time to whittle away the lead that Ramadan has built up. But meanwhile, as they make the way up the hill, we look to drivers coming down from the hill, and this is Weston again versus Dave Robson. And well, these two have been in the battle between one another previously, and Weston right now looking for a move on the AM driver is the Pro DCW Racing driver for P20, but can he find it? No, he can't at this time. Meanwhile, off camera, I should tell you the Matt Edmondson has just gone underneath my commentary booth window and was made his way back out onto circuit in P30, 2 laps down after that nasty incident, but he's still in the race, which is always great to see. Only one retiree so far. It was with a brake issue. Joe Dutton had to retire what was 2 laps into the race, going straight on that turn number 1 and just about to get the car stopped in time before hitting the exit barrier. But right now Tom Weston here all on the rear of Robson as they make the way on the rise and up towards Griffiths Bend. As it's the battle of the 2 6-cylinder machines with the turbo-assisted Ferrari versus the flat 6, or what is at the Porsche. With right now Weston close, but I don't think close enough to consider a move here, given the straight line speed delta in the end. And whilst the Porsche's got strong brakes, that Ferrari's no slouch either. Meanwhile, looking from them, we do look to what is here, Simon Andre Livingston, and well, still holding on to P2 in the prime class and P8 overall, as Steinar Sunny continues to sit behind him as they weave and wind their way down into the dipper. But as they do, all of these drivers right now keeping it close together, and Leather still there, Rob Selby still there, but no use Saras in fact falling a bit further back to what is the best part of 3.5 seconds off of this battle now. So I think his altercation with Mark Collicott has cost him some sizable time, and with that in mind, has just opened up the race to a degree here With regards to our prime drives, we did have 5 all running together within the best part of what was 3 seconds of each other. Now it's 4 within 2 seconds, and well, this might be giving the Race Lab Esports try a little bit of hope that now they're just racing against the UKSimRacing Stuart drivers, and they'll be feeling confident they can keep them at bay for a big points haul and disrupt their lead in the championship and the team championship, should be said. But they make their way left into right. Livingston still absolutely nailing every line as he makes his way on past the pit lane entry, and none of them pull into the pit shed. Indeed, the only driver who has made his strategic pit stop that has not been forced by what has been an incident. In fact, 2 drivers, Chris Round in the Prime class and John Davies in the AM class, they're running respectively P25 and P26 overall, and will both drivers wait to see how they fit into the equation. As meanwhile, Lawrence Marsh comes on in for his first scheduled stop, and we could be starting to see more pit stops here in what is the run towards the midpoint of this race, but as he makes his way on down at pit lane. Meanwhile, looking from what is Marsh, the prime driver is going to fall down to what is P7 in the prime class, P19 as a minimum overall, where he parks up, and from him, Mark Collicott here being battled up by James Connolly, as Connolly looking for a way past the DCW racing machine. Onto the race they go, in towards Griffiths Bend, and Collicott's going to go deep. It's an impact to the wall there in the number 5 driver's favour, and will not in his favour at all, in fact, as that is going to be an incident that's going to cost him very dear, as Lakari is limping, and will everyone going around the outside of him into the cutting, including Si Anthony here, who's going to try and stick it all the way around the outside, and well, I think he'll feel as though he needs to, and Collicott there, with that impact, it's peeled away quite a bit of the bodywork over the left front tyre, and what you can see in the fact he's losing the pace in the car, and well, with that now, it does mean that Mark Collicott's race has gone from good to bad to difficult in a very quick period of time. But meanwhile, as Lawrence Marsh leaves the pit lane and comes out ahead of John Davies, but behind Chris Round, and in fact I think they've come out very close together, it should be pointed out. Well, in fact, not too close together, or have they? This is Andy Skinner versus Guy Kylie Howe. They've been fighting for position. Meanwhile, well, there's Round and there's Marsh. In fact, Chris Round going for the early pit stop has retained P7 in the prime class versus Lawrence Marsh, but Marsh very close. And the Leroy Jenkins Audi here deciding to go for the undercut, and it has worked in his favour, but Marsh right there with him and looking to go on the offensive. Should he be able to get his tyres back up to temperature as soon as possible as they make the way on through what is Corey Corner and onwards towards turn at number 7. Round in control in this battle, no question about it, as he heads over the mountain. As they head in towards McPhillamy Park very shortly. Meanwhile, Marvin Cruz here battling side by side with Ryan Davies. Davies on the inside, Cruz on the outside, coming out of Murray's. And well, I think Davies here is just going to make a classic move. Meanwhile, Simon Andre Livingston is into the pits off camera from what was P2 in the prime class. And well, Cruz, meanwhile, will now use Davies to pull him along. And well, I think just deciding to use the Pro Championship leader as a bit of a pace car here in terms of determining exactly where he can gain a bit more speed and running the toe to save some fuel. And he won't be too upset by that. But Racing Lab Esports splitting their strategy. Steiner Sunny has been released from the rear of Simon Andre Livingston, and now we'll have to wait and see what he can do in that BMW. We believe he's got quite a bit of pace pent up in this car. He's been saving some fuel behind Simon Andre Livingston, and therefore the fellow Norwegian driver now might just be able to leapfrog his teammate through the pit stops, whilst also at the same time the two of them coming out ahead of Lever and Zelby, who sit behind Sani as they head in towards the cutting. As they come out the left-hander and now into the double right of Corey. One of the points we're coming to much earlier on is the fact that this is a race just as much about attrition as it is about pace. And given the fact that a single mistake here could see a driver have to toe to the pits, and when you're leading, we saw exactly what happened earlier on the season at Road Atlanta with Matt Edmondson leading the AM class comfortably, and then on the penultimate lap, the car going into the barrier on what was the start-finish straight, only to see him lose, will look to be a guaranteed win, and all of our drivers will be wary of that. They'll know not to make mistakes, exactly like a mistake of which is Steiner Sunny has just made, going very deep there into turn number 13, catching the car in time, but knowing he can't afford to make major errors as he makes his way through Forest Elbow. I believe we've had a toast of bits for Noya Sabas, who's had it go wrong over the mountain. We'll try and get a replay of that shortly, but meanwhile, in the chase here, going down Conrad, it is going to be Lever versus Sani, 2.5 cents to the gap, with Sani struggling over the mountain this time around. More pit stops unfold. I think this could be pit stop season now, ladies and gentlemen, as they make their way in towards the braking zone for what will be at the chase chicane. Lever close, Sani goes defensive here offline, but it's going to be a bluff from Lever. He backs it off and then brings it in nice and close under braking, and well, Lever right now trying to be a little bit unpredictable, trying to get into his rival's head as they make the way on in, but they're all going to be pinned into the pits, or are they? Well, Sani comes in, but not so for Alan Lever, who goes on here to go for the overcut, or just running long as they used to refer to it in the olden days, and when he makes his way up towards turn number 1, will right now lever here, and I think when is Rob Selby behind, they're going to be both given the call over the radio from the team principal at UKSimRacing shirt, which is it's go time. This has got to be a qualifying lap before you come into the pits. It's for the simple reason that they've got an opportunity to leapfrog Racing Lab Esports so they get this right. But meanwhile, coming out behind was your race leader until he pitted James Armstrong from Brabham Esports. But he comes out P5, he's bought himself 3.5 seconds gap to the two prime drivers, Lever and Selby, and he's going to be feeling confident. Meanwhile, Khalid Ramadan leaving the pit lane. He was your pro leader, Mark Kolokop, has stayed out, and so has Ryan Davies, but there you can see Ramadan, and behind him Nicholas Rice, and the gap is now up to almost 4 seconds. So Ramadan gaining what was a second in the pit lane, in fact 2 seconds in the pit lane to be confirmed, and now that gap has been doubled, and Rice has got to work double time if he wants to bring it down and go hunting for the win, unless there's more to come should there be another pit stop. Although the Fat Mark drivers have been able to run the best part of what's been about 40 minutes before their first pit stop. It goes to show this could be a Marshall one-stop race, although if we do the mathematics properly, well, we're looking at the second pit stop around the 80 to 84 minute mark with what is 10 to 6 minutes to go. So a two-stop is likely the standard strategy around here, and anyone on a one-stop is going to bleed a lot of pace out the car in order to do so. But meanwhile, we've got a drag race playing out here between what is, I do believe, Conley versus Round. It's going to be Round on the inside. Meanwhile, your Am leader before he pitted the Conley on the outside as they head into the right-hander. And what they do, so Conley on the outside going deep, just missing the wall, but in doing so, it's going to cost him a lot of time. And meanwhile, whilst all this has been playing out, Jack Barker's strategy is now leading in the Am Class the Ford GT. And that's because Conley took an extra 7 seconds in the pits. And I believe that might have been for an extra tyre change, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, well, Jack Barker is now your leader in the Am Class strategy, and will could it be the Ford GT driver here? Could he be on to making his second win of the season? Well, it's a long way to go, but we can tell you that with Conley having that battle with Round and also was Marsh in the end and cost him time, well, he knows he's got the championship lead by 14 points going into today, so he doesn't need to win this one to be championship leader going to the Circuit in the Americas, but he won't want to break that run of absolutely phenomenal results, and he'll want that consistency to continue to shine on through. But meanwhile, we've had an instant for Barker. As soon as we said that, he's had to be towed to the pits off camera, so it sounds as though drama's unfolding here, as meanwhile Chris Round defending versus side anti-dancer for his elbow, and as they make their way out the corner, well, it's now going to be the battle of the two German power plants, but which one is going to be the superior here, as it's going to be Audi on the left, Porsche on your right, and it looks like Anti's gradually getting the overspeed here, and I suspect there might be a little bit less rear wing on that Porsche by comparison with the Audi. He's also going to have the inside following the kink, and will Round tucks back in, but he's got Marsh right behind him, and then Conley right now, your Am leader, looking to get involved here. Onto the brakes they all go, and when the inside Anti moves up to P14, Round holding P15 versus Marsh, but as they head in towards the next lap, definitely it's been a dramatic lap to talk about, and well, let's talk about some of the drama, including what happened to Jack Barker only moments ago. And the Ford GT driver making his way over Skyline, car bounced this way on down, looking good initially, but then on the brakes, gets it stopped in time, but the rear of the car just letting go on downshift there, turning the wrong way, and well, the rules are the rules, he has to tow, and well, with that, the privateer out of the way just before the whole line of cars came on through, and the 163 driver, the frustration right now, I can only imagine what is going to be going through his mind, and we're immediately jumping in the Twitch chat there to clarify first gear, and well, the wrong gear selection, kicking the car to go around, and well, it's Chris Round right now who continues to push his way around with Marsh and Conley behind, and James Conley here now on the offensive as we ride on board with the Ferrari driver on the dashboard here as he looks to try and find his way past the square paint sponsored privateer machine on Lawrence Marsh. As they make the way on through Quarry Bend and up towards turn number 7, Conley 9. He's got Collicott and Sharples behind, but his nearest Am rival now is John Davies, who is 3 seconds back, and Davies has gained in fact from that early pit stop, and in fact that's one of the things that's gone understated from him taking one of the earliest pit stops. In fact, he was the first driver to take a strategic pit stop, is he has gained 5 seconds overall in the race with Conley, albeit it should be kept in mind that Conley having the longer pit stop on top of that, but right now John Davies definitely finding a way to get into the mix, and I think Conley, well, the fact he feels like he's been impeded here by the ponies in front of him, albeit they've got a right to race. It's for overall position on track. Conley right now, I think, has got a lot of pace at his fingertips. He's just not quite able to find a way to make things happen. As they power the way on down the back straight, in down corner they go. Rob Zelby's coming to the pits, that's going to put him down the order. And with that in mind, where exactly has Lever come out? He's come out in between Sunny and Livingston, and Livingston is behind Lever. So Sunny did get the jump in the end as expected, but Rob Zelby still being serviced off camera. And in fact, we can try and take a look at where they all are. Well, here it's Dino Sunny with Aaron Lever right behind, and then that is Simon Andre Livingston. Rob Zelby's leaving the pit lane meanwhile, and where is Zelby going to be in all of this? Well, it's going to be very close as he heads out of what is the pit lane entry point onto the circuit, and as he does so here, Rob Zelby has made it. My goodness, he's taken 3 places in the space of a single pit stop. What a brilliant piece of strategy from Rob Zelby. And in terms of the pit stop time as well, Zelby having the longest stationary time, but the quickest entry to exit time of the quartet of drivers. And well, the UKSimRacing Stuart driver of that is why your championship contenders, for the simple reason, if he hasn't made the overtakes on circuit, he's made them happen in the pit lane. And a brilliant piece of strategic work there with Steinor Sani now behind him, and then Alan Lever and Simon Andre Livingston watching on at the back of the quartet, interrupted by what is in between them all. I do believe Cy Hartley, who's a lap down there in the Tiki Supersport and machine, but right now knowing that he can't really respect the blue flags too much because there's nowhere for him to go. And will Livingston, as much as it's going to frustrate him, will also know that Hartley's just trying to do his best here to get the car over the mountain before respecting those blue flags. You can see Livingston flashing his lights, and well, Hartley might have an opportunity to steer aside here, but I don't think he's going to risk it, and understandably so, just simply because coming off of racing line, going over the mountain in itself is risky enough when you're not having to let somebody go through, alternatively having to try and find your way past the back marker. As they head down into Forest Elbow, right now Livingston has lost already 2 seconds to Lever in front, so it's definitely been a punishing run here. But now the Ferrari driver will tuck into the toe of Hartley and just gradually overspeed his way in through. We should keep in mind that, of course, unlike Formula 1, the rules here say that the blue flags wave. You don't have to let the driver behind the lead lap driver go. You've just simply got to make it easy for them to find their way past you. But the impetus is on the lead lap driver to make the overtake. So therefore, right now, Livingston's going to be made to dive to the inside. You can see that Hartley lifting off into the chase chicane, and well, now Livingston's going to have to work overtime to close that gap up, knowing that with the way this race has gone so far, that opportunity to potentially finish on the prime podium is slipping out of his grasp. But meanwhile, we look down the order to Connor Craven as he fights a P25 overall here versus Andy Skinner. And well, as the two of them fight on here, both involved in incidents early on in this race. Craven looking to the inside. That's going to be very bold, going to an intimate Philly Park. But in the end with James Armstrong behind, and Armstrong right now, your race leader in the elite class and overall, will be watching this and thinking surely they're not going to try it. Well, they did, and they've made it work, and Craven in the end coming on through. Skinner deciding to back off, and Craven doing the same there as they come out of the dipper. So Armstrong in the end being given the best possible opportunity to make his way on through. But I can imagine there might have been a bit of a clenching moment inside his heart for the simple reason. Oh, going to spears into the wall, coming out of Forest Elbow. That was Andy Skinner as we saw the Porsche make its way to the barrier. We've been able to keep it going, but at what cost will that impact have had on the car? That'll be the question that we'll have to get the answer to when he makes his way down. I mean, well, from him, we look back to the 2 Pro-Am battles of Chris Round and Lawrence Marsh, albeit Marsh right now is battling, but not with a fellow Pro-Am driver, because behind him, he still has James Conley, who is constantly hounding and hassling him as they make the way up to, over and down the mountain. And well, the Welshman here in at the 15th place overall Porsche, right now just trying to keep the AM leader at bay as they make the way into McPhillamy Park. And as they do so, we do look into what is the class standings on the left-hand side of your screen, and indeed you can see some of the notable gaps that are emerging. But Marsh right now just holding his ground and making sure that Conley is made to wait for his opportunity. Well, meanwhile, with all of this playing out, we do have Alan Lever getting the better run out of Forest Elbow. On it down the back straight they go, and this is going to be Lever taking what is potentially P3 in the prime class of the Steiner. So he's trying to get the car across in time. He does so. They're just out dragging Sani on the run on down. We'll have to get a replay of exactly how this move has been made, for the simple reason that he's had to really push the car in order to be able to do so. But Alan Lever has taken what is P3 in the prime class, and well, that is a huge moment, not just for his championship, but also for what is the team's championship for UKSimRacing Stuart, in the simple reason that right now they're looking for an improved result. Whilst Marvin Cruz is the best part of 13 seconds up the road, well, right now a P2, P3 combination for the team would very likely keep them as championship leaders going into the season finale. But how exactly was that move made, I hear you ask? Well, here's a replay to explain. So coming up through Forest Elbow, and there was a run wide from Steinhoff Sunny. Lever having to react to it, but that's what it led to the drag race between the two of them. And as we look to the helicopter cameras, the helicopter followed them on down. You can see at first Lever getting ahead, but then the BMW started to enter 6th gear and getting closer and closer. But in the end, Sunny not having enough to potentially outdrag his rival and opted to take the safer approach, which was just to tuck it behind and let Lever have the place. As we return to your live racing pictures, we're in the halfway point of this race, and just beyond it, we've got 40 minutes or so to go at the Australian circuit of Bathurst. And as they make the way on around here, it's only a time before we potentially see the circuit perhaps claim another driver to its infamous rules. But of course, nobody will want to be taken by the walls around here if they can help it. But as our drives wind on, we do say hello there to UKSimRacing at Chris Eddersford in the Twitch chat. Good evening to you, Chris. Hope you're doing well. And also Charisma ZA saying, will there be argy-bargy? Well, right now there could potentially be between the UKSimRacing Stuart teammates as they make their way through. And meanwhile, was that Steinhoff Sunny to the wall? I think it was into the dipper, because that car is crabbing. Or to put it in layman's terms, the car is not going in a straight line when the steering's being pointed straight. And right now Sunny is limping. He's been able to avoid having to tow as he's made his way off the mountain. The car was pointing in the right direction, so he is allowed to try and get it off the mountain if he can. But look at the way the car's handling, and that tells you all the story you need, which is this is going to put Sunny a long way back, but less so than what could have been. And you see Sight Anti there having to pick the right place at the right time to go around Sunny as he struggles his way down towards the chase chicane. But this is going to hurt. Chris Round will make his way through. Then it'll be Lawrence Marsh, Sunny trying to keep himself on the outside. They're trying to get out of everybody's way as much as possible, but he's struggling there, doing well to do so as they're sharples. Then it's going to be John Davies coming around the outside. Meanwhile, John Dole's going to be made to wait, and Dole right now, oh goodness me, it's gone wrong there for Sunny as he tries to get the power down just to carry some speed out of turn 22, and John Doble in the end will P3 in the AM class right now, trying to chase down John Davies for his best performance of the season for both of them. The two Johns are fighting hard, but in the end, Steinhoff Sunny turning around as a result, and well, not the way he wanted it to go whatsoever. But as we do see John Doe making his way in towards turn at number 1, what exactly triggered that instant for Steinhoff Sunny is he's made his way into the pit lane. Here's a replay that I think will explain. So we'll be right on board with Racing Lab eSports driver. The rear of the car letting go, and well, catched it, but in the end, I think, well, the car already damaged before then. Was there an altercation with perhaps the barrier going through the dip? We didn't quite see it, but the car was struggling before that, so I can only imagine he's had an impact wall somewhere over the mountain. Well, it's got to be on the left-hand side of the car, so it's got to have been into the dipper's inside wall itself. Alternatively, it must have been, well, no, it couldn't have been going out of what was Quarry Corner, because otherwise he would have lost the place earlier on. But that is a bit of a strange one there, because it looked so, in fact, missed the wall, but still, something's gone very wrong on that the front left suspension of Sunny's car. It has been repaired using the fast repair, but it's cost him time, and will mean, well, one driver right now is not having a happy time as Lawrence Marsh, for the simple reason he's having to keep James Conley behind him lap after lap, and he's been denied the opportunity to go hunting after Chris Round in the fight for P5 in the Pro class, because he's got a AM driver who's more and more eager to try and find his way on through. As they come on down in towards Forest Elbow here, and again, Marsh right now very aggressive under brake in there, I think. Right now, just trying to hassle and hound the car around the circuit as quickly as possible. Or we should say hustle, really. He is being hassled as he heads on down the back straight. Well, meanwhile, from him, we do look to always a little bit further up the order. And indeed, we look to Khalid Ramadan, your third place pro driver, as he disappears and rematerializes from the ether there. And well, I was going to say, I would be speechless if it was literally go to pan to him and he ends up having a disconnection that retires the car, and that would be the commentator's curse threefold as they make their way upwards in towards what is the cutting. And the reason why we're taking a look at this battle is, you may remember, after the pit stop, we did see the gap between Ramadan and Rice open up to what was 4 seconds, given the fact that Ramadan had a much faster total pit stop time and also already had a 2-second gap to play with. He doubled his advantage. Since then, Nicholas Rice has actually chopped this gap back down to 2.2 seconds, and Rice's pace right now, on average, is a 10th to 1.5 tenths a lap faster, and the Destino Motorsports driver from America does seem to feel a little bit more confident in the car in this second phase of the race. As he makes his way down into the dip, and 9 from lap to lap, he's got to maintain this pace, and that is going to be absolutely difficult to do, given the fact that just running around here at a consistent pace is hard enough. Will mean, while we do look here to Chris Round, has had a poor run coming out of from Griffiths Bend, and that's going to be Lawrence Marsh, who finds his way through but goes very deep in towards the cutting, and he's going to defend it inside here, turn number 5, but he does so going through Quarry, and well, that's going to be round now behind into P6. But it's P5 in prime for Lawrence Marsh as the Welshman makes his way onward towards McPhillamy Park. As he does so, Connie, Mark Collicott, Darren Sharples and John Davis all queuing up behind it once again, with John Doble a little bit further behind and trying to get into the battle, into the mix if you will, as they make the way on down over Skyline and in towards the dip. But all of these drivers right now in the long train, you see Conley there almost going very deep and having to be very careful not to make his own contact with the wall there. And I think right now for many a driver, patience is running thing, and tyre life is also starting to come at a premium. But as they head on for a left-handed round, going a bit wide, just missing the wall. Goodness me, you couldn't cut it closer than that, could you, Chris? As they make the way out of what is turn number 18. And well, you can't hear me in the commentary booth, but I get the feeling he'll look back at that one thinking, okay, I may not want to cut it that close next time around. As the simple reason the Ford driver there could have almost seen that Audi have to retire from the race if it had been an impact. But as he makes his way on down through 21 in towards through 20, I should say, it was 21 22 at the chase now. Will Connie back behind another prime driver then, but it's a different one in the form of Round rather than Marsh. And will he have a little bit better fortunes find his way on through? Well, he won't have to in the end, as Round makes his way into the pits again. And very interesting here from Chris Round, the Leroy Jenkins driver opting to come in well before the scheduled time for many a drive. We have had Cy Anthony come into the pits, but I do believe that Cy Anthony's been involved in a bit of an incident, given the fact he is a lap down at this point in the race. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Cy Anthony. In fact, we can get you the story on that very shortly. I do believe that as Round parks up, he decides to pit early, and well, that is the first of our second strategic pit stops of the day, but perhaps he knows something we don't in terms of getting track position by simply going for the undercut, much like we saw from John Davis much earlier in the race. And in fact, Cy Anthony's team had to retire the car. Simply Esports have put the car in the garage, and I believe it is due to an issue, or in fact no, he's back out on circuit. It's late to see. Again, ladies and gentlemen, apologies for that, and I do believe he is going racing out there. But meanwhile, as our drivers continue the way on through, James Conley right now carrying his way on through at Quarry Corner with the UKSimRacing at Mansell Drive, knowing he has got a bit of a gap to John Davis of only 2 seconds. It's not a gap he's going to feel too comfortable with, as we do look back to the overall standings with 30 drivers still in this race, of which 21 are in the lead lap. But James Conley here right now holding on well, but he knows that John Doble and John Davis are closing, but it's John Davis in particular who is the faster of the two runners here and looking to try and chisel away into James Conley's lead. But the wrong stuff driver makes his way on downhill. Meanwhile, on the run in towards the chase chicane, as John Eddowes up the inside of Marvin Cruz, making the move for P7 stick. Albeit I think going a bit deep then, Cruz looking for the cutback but not able to find it, and Eddowes into the pits as we see, I think there, a flash of lights from Marvin Cruz. I think what he's practically mouthing, albeit through the Morse code of what is his front headlights, is what was the point in that if you needed to pit? Will the old dudes in cars blue driver getting his frustrations out of, I think, there, and carried on? And to be fair, you do have what is a 12-second gap to your second place prime rival of Rob Zelby right now. I think the number 90 driver here, he'll very quickly realise that actually, you know what, I'm in full control of this race. I perhaps don't need to be as resilient versus the pro drivers around me as he carries his way on up the hill. But then again, it's a racing spirit, of course. You want to fight with everyone out there. You want to try and get the best possible overall finish, particularly when you're a prime. To put yourself inside the top 10 is a huge achievement, even in a slightly diminished field such as what we're seeing today. And was Eddowes being serviced in the pit lane. Well, right now, Marvin Cruz carrying on his way here and looking very comfortable for what could be his second win of the season and back-to-back wins with it. As he makes his way on through Quarry Corner. Meanwhile, we look to Rob Zelby as the UKSimRacing Stuart driver continues to hold on to P2 in the prime class ahead of teammate Alan Lever, with Connor Craven a lap down behind them, and Will Craven running with P26 overall but P9 Pro-Am. And meanwhile, from them, James Conley has found his way past Lawrence Marsh in was the run up through Griffiths Bend. Up into P11 on circuit, and the UKSimRacing Mansell driver, knowing the amount of time he's been cost by running behind primes, Quinn Marsh and also Round. But now will we see some better pace from the AM leader, and could he potentially start to put John Davis a bit further behind him? We'll have to see. As meanwhile, drag race here in the battle for what is at P6 between Jack Barker and Andy Skinner in the AM class. Barker on the inside there, Skinner in the end, no overspeed for the Porsche driver, and the Ford GT salves its way on through and up another place here. And Barker right now on a recovery drive, and knowing the next gap he's got to bring down is the Guy Kyliao, who is 28.5 seconds ahead of him. But as Barker makes his way down in towards turn number 23, there's still life left in this race with 29 minutes plus the final lap to go. Well, we are now into the final third of racing here, ladies and gentlemen, and there's still plenty on the clock to talk about. And we're still waiting to see how this battle for the Pro lead heads into its final stage, with Khalid Ramadan matching the pace of Rice. Now they're both lapping in the 204s. In fact, that last lap, it was Ramadan only was 100 slower than Rice. Such is the pace that these two are putting on versus one another, and as they make the way in towards turns 3 and 4. To put that in perspective in terms of the time delta, and we'll show you the lap time history between the two drivers over what has been the last 5 laps. And here it is in the bottom centre of your screen. You can see, look how close they have been. The laps have been back and forth, and it's only on lap 28 when we have seen Ramadan actually get what is a bit of a fast lap versus Rice, but otherwise it has been all in, all around for Rice, no doubt about it, as he continues to try and bring down the advantage of his rival. As they make the way on through. Well, meanwhile, we do look back to what is the battle of the drivers a little bit further down the order, and we'll look into the battle box there on the right hand side. Still, that stays permanently on your screen. I do believe we've had John Doe find his way up into P2 in the AM class, or P15 overall, and I'm hearing in my ear John Davies has had a bit of an instant, which has led to this change of places, and we have a replay on standby as to what's happened. And without further ado, let's see what happens that caused the change for second place in the AM class. So this was John Davies in the McLaren MP4 12C, heading down towards Murray's corner. Doe in the rear of the pitch there, a bit further back, so I think it's going to be of an own volition mistake. And John Davies coming into the corner, a little bit deep under braking. I think missing his braking zone by about 5 metres, and that was enough to send the car around. Almost end up in the pit lane, in fact, as he turned it around. But the wrong stuff driver catching the car in time and getting it righted, and only losing 1 place, and a little bit of pride as well, and perhaps some tyre life if he overheated the tyres. But as we return to your live pitch, John Doe will then on course to potentially his best result with the season there, and it goes to show that sometimes all what you've got to do is survive, and this race is all about survival, as we have had a retirement from Connor Craven off camera, from I'm hearing, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that's unfortunate for the Olympus esports driver, but as one falls, the others remain. 29 drivers still in this race. Chris Round is into the pits again for his 3rd pit stop. So Round has not had it go right on what was his 2nd pit stop, and the Leroy Jenkins driver now knowing that this race really is in arrears, and that's only going to promote more drivers up the order. And as James Conley carries on in the AM lead here, P11. He's broken away from Lawrence Marsh. He's 2 seconds clear. Marsh, you can see in the rear of the picture, and Marsh has got the company of Mark Collicott just behind him as they make their way down in towards turn number 23. All through Murray's they go, and all of the drivers right now, I think, starting to feel the pinch of what is tyre life, also feeling the pinch of their respective stamina as they make the way on through the corners still. And it's all going to come down to fine margins, and who's still got the energy to hold on here as the clouds have come over the Bathurst circuit. That's going to help bring the track temperature down somewhat, or prevent it from rising too much further. But still, it's a hot circuit out there, and as we show you on the right hand side of your screen, that track temperature has dropped by 2 degrees centigrade to 36. Ambient temperature still staying at 24. With the amount of clouds we now have over the circuit, well, that's definitely making sure the tyres can last a little bit longer, and for our drivers here, that may just be giving them the opportunity to feel a little bit more comfortable in the car before this race is said and done. But as Marsh here continues to frustrate what is Collicott and Sharples behind, we jump on board with Darren Sharples, the old duty Cars Blue driver, as he continues his pursuit for P5 in the Pro Class on the circuit. And we'll through at the left hand as he goes. The triple header of turns 8, 9, and Philimy at 10. And the 777 driver here looks to charge on. Lucky for some, other numbers 777. And right now he'll be feeling lucky if he can try and take that 5th place finish of the Collicott for DCW Racing. But you can see the Audi driver there not close enough to really get into the mix at the moment. And I think just having to wait and see what's going to come over the course of the remainder of this lap and those which follow. As he comes down into Forest Elbow, notable how Sharples there, very gradual to the apex, not really pushing the car too hard. I think right now, just saving at the car. Perhaps the tyre life is a bit of a premium in this Audi. We do know that it's very sensitive to tyre wear on its rear tyres, and once the tyre wear gets up to a certain point, the Audi becomes a very difficult car to drive. So right now, I think Sharples just making sure to keep the tyres in a very comfortable place and keep Collicott just within arm's reach, and in doing so, it puts some pressure on his rival, but it also means he's not putting himself in any pressure to perform and overdrive the car. And overdriving around here, we've already seen it from multiple drivers where they've overdriven themselves to disaster, and Sharples will not want to fall into that pool of drivers. as he makes his way on through turn 23 and up towards turn number 1 he goes. Right now Colocott and Marsh separated by only 2.5 tenths as they go on to another lap. And even more so with Doble just behind, and Edo's a little bit further back as Matt Edwardson sits behind Sharples, albeit a lap down in P28 and what is P9 in the AM class. Last of our AM runners, and last of our runners out of the circuit at the moment, with Chris Ryan in the pit lane, still being serviced as is my understanding. Perhaps they're not going to be able to get the car back out there. We'll have to wait and see, but from them, we do look to Robert Zelby here, as right now Zelby and Lever have pulled away from Livingston. And indeed, it seems as though UKSimRacing Stewart have been able to find a gap to RaceLab Esports over what has been the last 6 to 7 laps. And as he makes his way in towards McPhillamy Park, all good to be, I believe, we had a bit of incident for Lawrence Marsh and Mark Colocott on the mountain. We'll get an update on that very shortly, because I know that Lawrence Marsh has already towed to the pits. I can see him out my contact booth window, but I'm not sure about Mark Colocott. We'll find out very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. There has been some more drama here at Bathurst, and well, that drama coming later and later in the day now, and nobody will want it to befall them before the very end. But what exactly has happened to Marsh and Colocott? Here's the replay to explain. Making their way upwards in towards the cutting, then Marsh ahead, going into left-hander, goes on in onto the brakes. Rear of the car starts to let go, they're under braking, and well, the camera a bit obscured, but I think Colocott involved in a bit of a head-on impact with Marsh's rotating car. We'll have to take a look back from Colocott's perspective as we ride on board here with the DCW Racing driver, and we're in towards left-hander he went, and what exactly happened? So it was Marsh losing the rear of the car, and in the end the car just parking itself right in front, and well, Colocott absolutely helpless to respond. Everyone else going around the outside there with the yellow flags immediately being brought up, and well, Colocott just in the wrong place at the right time to get impeded and losing a place that he gained effectively. And the fact he's dropped back to P6 in what is the Pro Class versus Darren Sharples, who was able to go around the incident. A very unfortunate moment there for Mark Colocott, and for DCW Racing it has definitely been a frustrated day both for Colocott and Weston as they carry on around here, and neither driver right now I think being very much lucky on the mountain. As we look from the battle for P8 on circuit, always P2 in the Prime Class here between Zelby and Lever, the two UKSimRacing Stewart teammates. We've seen Andre Livingston a little bit further back, and then in towards what is turn number 2. As they make the way onwards towards another run over the mountain. Meanwhile, we look to your race leader here of James Armstrong, and right now Armstrong just completely in control of this race with Dad Rob watching, and I can only imagine the pride of the father for his son as the Brammer Esports driver makes his way on down in towards turn at number 23 and looking at firmly control of this race, still lapping in the 203s. The only driver whose pace has just remained in the 203s throughout the entirety of this race, and the only driver whose fastest lap of this race is in the 203s. Everybody else, including Haroldas Jotautas, is a 204 or higher, but Armstrong just in a world of his own right now and delivering this race in what is going to be, I believe, his 5th win of the season. And as he powers his way on the start-finish straight and onwards up the first long stretch of the run in towards Griffiths Bend, right now feeling absolutely confident here that this race is his to take away. Albeit he won't take anything for granted. Of course, it only takes one spin over the mountain to see him towed to the pits, and it will end in tears immediately. But of course, we won't be wishing that on anyone, whether it's Armstrong or further down the field, as right now the Brammer Esports driver just keeping his head down and carrying on. Meanwhile, from one class leader to another, this is Khalid Ramadan, who continues to manage a 2-second gap to Nicholas Rice just behind, and Rice still there in the rear of the picture as both drivers make the way through Griffiths Bend. And well, for every lap that Rice can give, Ramadan can match it. They're both matching each other to the nearest 100th. Time and time again, lap after lap. That previous lap, it was Ramadan who was 100 faster in a 204.57 to a 204.58 for Nicholas Rice. And well, this is race at its finest here. These two drivers, whilst they may not be close to each other on circuit in terms of batting side by side, the amount of concentration that's going in here, and right now it is really a game of cat and mouse, whereby Rice is the cat chasing the mouse of Ramadan, and over the mountain here, Rice on his own terms is having to push harder and harder every lap to stay close, but at the same time as well maintain a degree of consistency in the battle between the two Ferraris in order to be able to bring that gap down. And well, over the lap so far, he's brought it down by half a tenth, but then again it will come from corner to corner and run to run, and Rice getting a slightly better exit there out of Waters for his elbow. But also we can see that Ramadan's going to have the toe of Cy Hartley, who's a lap down in P26, and that's going to help Ramadan be able to open that gap right back up with the slipstream. As they power their way down towards the braking zone for the chase this time. Ramadan here will know he's got the tow at a distance. He won't put too much pressure on Hartley to respond immediately or have to deal with him, and I would imagine that Ramadan will most likely look to move here into Murray's corner, as Hartley being a bit obliging there and letting Ramadan go. And will the Somsport driver making his way in towards Murray's, albeit we lose him and have him rematerialise from the ether, and well, as he does so, again, hopefully not a sign of something to come, as meanwhile now Wright will be looking to try and get a similar advantage in order to mitigate what Ramadan was able to get by having the tow on the run up the mountain straight. As they make their way out of Hell Corner, some of you may be wondering right now, why exactly is turn 1 known as Hell Corner? Well, there's a number of stories in folklore with regards to where the circuit has got its name from, but the one that always sticks in my mind is with regards to when racing in the early days of the Mount Panorama Circuit did occur here. Particularly motorcycle racing, it was quite common. If a driver got it wrong at turn number 1 at Hell Corner, it was very likely they would end up in a race-ending incident, and particularly for motorcyclists back in that era, it could be a fatal incident. And the idea was that if you got it wrong at Hell Corner, or just turn 1 as it used to be known before it took the nickname, and you ended up passing away as a result of an incident, well, you would be going straight to hell, and that's exactly where Hell Corner got its name from, or one of the folklore stories, if you will, albeit I haven't quite verified whether that is the true folklore story, but that's one of the ones that's available when I've researched it online, and it's the one that always sticks in my mind. But if you know any other stories as to why Hell Corner is known as Hell Corner, feel free to let us know in the YouTube or Twitch chat. But meanwhile, one driver has come into the bits and out of it and has left Hell Corner behind is Alex Hill for TG3 Kimmy, as the 276 driver makes his way on through after taking his second and final pit stop of the day, and right now looking for what is a P4 finish here in the Pro Class the minimum, but hopefully a P3 in his mind ahead of teammate Ryan Davies, just to try and bring the gap down going into that season finale. We take a quick step towards that and see Andrew Skinner stepping aside on the run through Quarry Corner and being smart about it. The TG6 teammates there being coordinated and rolling on through. Well, speaking of Andrew Skinner, as he makes his way in towards turn number 10 at Murphy Park here, right now running in P7 in the AM class, and well, after a difficult start to the race which saw him towed to the pits, due for one more pit stop before this race is said and done, as we do believe it. But the driver running in support of Dementia UK today in memory of his nan recently having passed away, and it will great to see the 82 driver still here for it all, and indeed the emotions must be behind the cockpit of that Porsche, but at the same time as well, keep his head down, and with the battle of Casper Brotner here, albeit the old duty car's black driver right now up the inside there through the King of 19, and I think the pro driver is just going to gradually pull away. Albeit as they drag race their way down towards turns 20 through to 22, going in towards the kink before the chase. Right now Skinner will just try and take the toe off of Brotner there to give him a little bit of an overspeed. And I think Brotner will very quickly realise that Skinner's not really in the hunt for a move here and just staying close behind in order to save some fuel. Well, from then we do look back to what is the battle of P2 in the Prime class. Well, the battle for P7 overall, with more pit stops playing out. Simon and Jay Livingston's now into the pits, and well, as they come across the timeline, we update to the class standings there, and we can see in the Prime class it is still a gap of what is 12 seconds between Cruz and Zelby, followed by Lever and Marvin Cruz in a world of his own, but the two on camera here working together right now, the two teammates, and staying in their own little race. But speaking of Marvin Cruz, well, here he is. He makes his way in towards what is the cutting for what for him is the 36th time of asking, and the German driver here absolutely unstoppable. And I would imagine that right now feeling very confident that a second win is on the way, and well, it was a story of the day. It's going to be for the number 90 driver. He pulls this off, and well, it's definitely another overall top 10 as well, and with 15 minutes to go. Can anybody stop him other than himself? That's the big question. As he heads through McPhillary Park, elsewhere on the circuit, most of our battles have calmed down for the briefest of moments. Albeit Casper Brotner has recently found his way past Jack Barker for P23. And we'll speak of Jack Barker following after what is the pro driver now is the Yam driver in the Ford GT. And I think he'll be aware of the fact that Brotner is the fastest driver on average, and therefore will not want to be trying to get in the way of him. Indeed, letting him go to avoid any potential pressure being applied. And well, as these drivers make the way on around Barker, we'll know that with that extra visit to the pits, he'll feel as though he's got enough fuel. In fact, he's had to make a third stop afterwards the tow to the pits. I think that has been just to give him a little quick splash and dash of fuel to make sure he can get to that checker flag. Well, he still does have 5 drivers in front of him in the AM class, and well, he'll be wondering whether any other AM drivers will have the same fate that befell him in terms of a mistake that could prove very costly right at the end. As he carries on a lap down, indeed only 2 AM drivers now on the lead lap. one of whom being John Doble, who's on course for his best result of the season by a considerable margin. If he brings this on home, P2 in the AM class, I don't think he would have believed it if you told him going into today, given the way the results have gone this season. But right now, the Canadian driver, UKSimRacing Kibbe, feeling very confident in the car and carrying his way on down the Conrad Straight. And whilst he may not be on the pace of James Connolly, the gap between himself and Connolly standing at what is 9/10 of a second. In fact, last lap he did match the lap time of Connolly to the nearest 10th, albeit by the thousandth. They were by the 100th, I should say. They were separated by 100th in the favour of Connolly. But the point is, John Doble does have a bit of pace behind him at the moment as he makes his way down on past the pit lane entry, so not deflecting into the pits this time. But meanwhile, it's going to be Mark Colocott into the pits. This is front bumper. Now, I'm not quite sure where he's misplaced that, but Colocott's lost his bumper somewhere on circuit, and while nobody else has picked it up, I can see the GT3 driver is missing the key part of the car, and right now as he makes his way into the pits, that's going to be some repair work there in order to get some straight line speed back of the car, but that's going to be a little bit of a confusing one. And again, the Australian circuit really not liking DCW Racing today, it would seem, but meanwhile, as he heads on down, well, we talked about John Doble, and meanwhile, James Connolly on course for another win. And the UKSimRacing Mansell driver still waiting for that final pit stop of the day if he needs it, but I suspect we will see him coming to the pits within the next 7 to 8 minutes, if not sooner, just given the fact the first pit stop was around the 41 to 42 minute mark, and well, if we use that as a marker, then the fuel tank can only go a maximum about 45 minutes, and it would leave him essentially gasping for fuel going on to the last couple of laps if he decides to turn this into one stop. Then again, never say never. Our drivers are always willing to gamble on strategy. But meanwhile, speaking of an important part of strategy here, Nicholas Rice is in from P2 in the Pro class. And this could be a pit stop that brings him into the Battle of Ramadan. He needs to nail this, as otherwise if he doesn't, then the fight with Ramadan, I think, will go one way. And it'll go the way of the SomSport driver. But as Rice makes his way down pit lane, meanwhile, Ramadan stays out there onto another lap he goes. And will now knowing, given the fact he won't be seeing Rice in his rearview mirror, that this is the lap that matters more than any other lap out there. This has got to be, if it's an in lap, it's got to be perfect, because if he does so, he'll be able to maintain what was a 2-second gap when Rice deflected his way into the pit lane. He could even increase it a little bit further. But Rice has had to stop it. It was 8.13 seconds, a quick splash and dash of fuel. No tyres being changed there. I suspect the same for Ramadan here. Albeit he's been able to go one lap longer, but I wonder if Rice feels as though he could get outside of traffic. And in fact, he has, albeit interestingly, Ryan Davies has yet to come into the pin. So Davies is the head of Rice on circuit, but is Ryan Davies potentially looking to go all the way? Well, surely not, given his race pace has been quite similar to Rice's. So therefore, on paper, that would predict that Ryan Davies is into the pits in the next lap or two. So Rice will have some clear track in front of him. He's got a 2-second gap to Davies. He'll be hoping he'll perhaps close it down over the mountain, so that way he'll have the toe down the Conrad Straight just to gain a couple of attempts at the end of this lap. And then again, we'll have to wait and see what Ramadan does when it comes to when it comes to that pit stop, in terms of whether he was able to have a faster stop or whether it'll be slow or the same, or will be the same, he'll maintain the gap. But as we can always predict in motorsport, nothing is going to be quite predictable or the same from pit stop to pit stop. And well, as Rice makes his way on down in towards the dipper this time, giving it everything here, attacking as much as he can as he heads in the pursuit of Ryan Davies. Now within, well, it's 1.8 seconds, he'll get a very small sniff of the toe as he makes his way out of Forrest's elbow. And well, meanwhile, what about Khalid Ramadan? Does he come in this time around? No, he does not. He goes another lap, does the SomSport driver. He stays out here, pushing the fuel tank to its maximum threshold. And, well, as he gets a little bit closer to some traffic in front of him, that's John Davies in front, 1.7 seconds away. But he's going to be able to use the toe of the McLaren on where's the mountain straight in order to gain some race time. And this is going to be an important game for Ramadan, albeit he won't be aware of the fact that Rice right now is getting the toe for Ryan Davies, and vice versa. Rice will not be aware of the fact that Ramadan right now has stayed out for another lap just yet, until he'll find out once he crosses the start-finish line. He won't be seeing Ramadan just in front of him, which will be the big indicator. But what's important here is that both drivers are trying to gain the toe of other drivers in order to gain some lap time, and well, Ramadan not quite close enough to Davies at the moment. He'll be pushing more and more as he gets closer. But meanwhile, from them, we've had Tom Weston had to be towed to the pits off camera, and I do believe Weston been involved in a bit of an incident over the mountain. Well, we're not quite sure what exactly has happened, but we do have a replay to explain the story, and well, here it is. coming on down into the dipper by looks of things. I think there was an impact with the wall well before that because the car was struggling, and well, in the end, parking the car up and deciding to tow to the pit. So I think there's been an impact over Skyline for Tom Weston, and the DCW Racing driver deciding he just could not get it home. And well, I think that summarises exactly the difficulties the team have had with the circuit today. As meanwhile, Ramadan making his way on down in towards Forest Elbow. As we return to these live pictures here, given the pursuit, meanwhile, Nicholas Rice now 1.2 seconds over the back of Davies and continue to close here, inching closer and closer, and now starting to experience more and more dirty air, which is not going to be helpful to his cause, no doubt about it. As he makes his way into the dipper, meanwhile, Rob Zelby and Alan Lever, they're now 2.5 tenths separated from each other. And in fact, Lever is now really starting to put some pressure on here versus Zelby. And I wonder whether the Lamborghini driver is perhaps trying to get himself as close as possible to leapfrog in the pits. We'll have to wait to see, because Lever would arguably like to finish ahead of Zelby in order to give himself the confidence that with another second place finish, indeed he's got more second place trophies than I think any other driver on the grid has added together right now. Oh, I can tell you one thing, that with that in mind, Lever would be taking another point advantage over Zelby going into that season finale. 8 minutes left on the clock, and well, as we have confirmation that Chris Round and Lawrence Marsh have both had to retire their cars respectively over what's been the last few laps. Well, meanwhile, Khalid Ramadan, has he come into the pits? No, he's not. He's got another lap as Ramadan. Well, he's sure he's got to be coming in within the next lap, because otherwise that Ferrari fuel tank is going all the way for a one-stop. Well, so that would be absolutely incredible to see a one-stop pulled off here. Ryan Davies' personal best lap of the race at 204.924. Meanwhile, Nicholas Rice at 204.428. So Rice is closed at half a second a lap. Is anybody trying to go for the one-stop? As we see there, Lever thinking about it, almost putting himself on the grass in fact. Now, was the UKSimRacing Stuart driver trying to get into the head of what Zelby, or was there a bit of an error there in terms of the call to bring him into the pits? Well, that was a bit of an odd one, but Lever almost ending his race as a result of it. And was he heading in towards Hell Corner right now? Well, he's lost a lot of time towards Zelby. With 7 minutes to go plus that final lap, it's mistakes like that you can't afford at this late stage of the race. But I wonder if a lot of drivers are being told to stay out and just see if they can eke that fuel tank in and gain track position. Because if so, it would mean that Rice right now, chasing after Ryan Davies, only 1.4 seconds behind, is going to have to find that move on circuit. And well, with that in mind, it also means that Khalid Ramadan has brought himself a 27-second gap as a minimum to Davies and Rice, and that is going to be a huge gap to work with. Although as soon as I say that, James Armstrong is coming into the pits. I look out my commentary booth window, and I think that is the indicator that the fuel tanks can only go into the 84th minute and no further. And I don't think we are going to be seeing a driver pull off the infamous one stop here unless somebody right now has been fuel saving an incredible way indeed, and they've just been able to find a way to make that fuel tank absolutely huge. But as Rice dances his way down, just grazing the exit wall down the rear right tyre. Will get a flush hit impact the wall, a very light one as well, so that's not going to frustrate it too much. But now, here's the big story. Khalid Ramadan is in, and this is going to be for the lead of the Pro Class. The Son Sport driver makes his way down pit lane. Noya Savas in front of him, who's a lap down in P16. As he heads on through, we look to the overall standings, and well, as he gradually saunters towards his pit box, where is Davies? Here he is. I believe he's going to be pulling into the pit shortly, but Rice is the one we're interested in the most. But Davies right now stays out another lap. Well, he's only taken one pit stop as Davies. What's his plan here is the big question. As meanwhile, Rice makes his way into the final corner. Ramadan right now still being serviced here as they make the way through, but Ramadan lead with his pit box is going to be close between them. That's the blimp view. It's a bit too far away, but I think we can get the helicopter cam, and Ramadan is back out ahead as they make the way onto what is the mountain straight. And here is Ryan Davies. He's only 6 tenths behind, and Nicholas Rice is a further 1.2 seconds back. Well, in the end, that is the delta between the three drivers. And Khalid Ramadan has nailed this little strategy, and he's maintained that gap to what is 2 seconds to Rice, and Ryan Davies right behind him right now. And surely the Tiki Supersport Car Marte driver has got to be coming in soon. And meanwhile, James Armstrong taking that pit stop. He's come back out ahead of Haroldas Jotautas, who has not come into the pits as yet for his second pit stop. So Armstrong is a second ahead of Jotautas and still carrying on. My goodness, the gap he's been able to pull out with that. And meanwhile, James Conley's into pits, so it's Darren Sharples. But I think some drivers surely are going for the one stop here, because we're running out of time in this race. And well, in doing so right now, if Davies pulls this off, he will have leapfrogged his way into second place in the Pro Class, ahead of Nicholas Rice, and that is going to be a surprise and a welcome one to be sure for UKSimRacing. And Ramadan right now, I think we look at this rearview mirror, I think he's dodged the biggest bullet of this race so far in terms of a car which has just gone what is one extra mileage in terms of the pit stops versus its rivals. As he heads on down, we do see Tom Weston saying that's me done in the YouTube chat, put the wrong setup on, was against him right from the start. Oh, sorry to hear that, Tom. Indeed, it's been a difficult day for yourself and Mark Collicott, your teammate, who we do see there in the YouTube chat, says I was on for a one stop until I clipped the barrier and broke my suspension. It was fuel saving all race. So the one stop being confirmed there in the YouTube chat by a DCW racing driver as possible. And well, now we could be on where's the threshold here as Matt Edmondson has had to be towed to the pits after an incident. That's going to put him down in P26, and I believe that might be a retirement of the car. So is anybody else here on where's the precipice of running out of fuel? Well, Davies says so. He's into the pits. He comes on in with only 2 laps to go. But Cleve Ramadan now retakes the lead of the pro class and was allowed to run away with it with what is Nicholas Rice only 1.6 seconds behind. There's traffic in front of them. It's the former Cy Hartley and Nuya Sabas, and more the 2 drivers separated by 4 seconds in total in terms of the traffic cars. And will therefore Ramadan will feels like he can take them one at a time, and he'll want to try and close on them at the best possible time. But I think he's going to close Hartley here over the mountain, and if so, that's going to be tantamount to disaster for the advantage he's been able to build up. But then again, that's the way it goes. Ryan Davies leaving the pit lane as he does so. Where is Alex Hill? There's Alan Lever, but Hill is nowhere to be seen at the moment. But there's going to be Hill at the bottom of your camera, and the camera turns around, and Ryan Davies has made his way back ahead of Hill, holding on to what is P3 here in the pro class behind Lever and Zelby. And well, Rob Zelby is now ahead, and Marvin Cruz in fact has taken a second pit stop. Rob Zelby and Alan Lever have not, so suddenly the lead of the prime class exchange hands to Marvin Cruz, who looked to be all in towards the win today. Well, right now the UKSimRacing Stuart Perry are going to make this a 1-2, and they're going to make it happen on a 1 stop where they've got this lap plus 1 more to go based on where our race leaders are at the moment. That would be our guess that we're going to see what is a 43rd and final lap here at Mount Panorama today. If we see a 44th lap, albeit I don't think we are going to see a 44th lap, I'm going to put my money on it now. Well, that I think would scare the life out of most drivers here. But meanwhile, Rob Zelby right now, I think we feel as though this is a strategy well done. He's just got to hold on for 1.5 more laps, and the same for Lever here. As meanwhile, Marvin Cruz 8 seconds behind is going to give it everything right now, and I think the penny's going to drop at some point for the old Dudes in Cars Blue driver, that the one stop has been used by a whole variety of drivers here. And well, as he makes his way down, he'll have all the speed in the car, but will he have any tyre life here to be able to rip into that gap? And if so, how much of it can he rip down before the race is over? That'll be the big question as he makes his way into what is Forest Elbow. And as he does so, your race leaders are onto the final lap. As the drivers make the way on down and through. Well, meanwhile, we do look back to Ramadan versus Rice, and Ramadan is under threat now from Rice. The gap between himself and what is his rival has come down to only 4 tenths. White flag is waving. This is the final lap between these two, and well, we've been waiting to see this all day today, and finally Rice has found his man. But will he be able to find his mark on the final lap of racing in our final endurance race of the season? Power oversteer for both drivers there, costing them the run out of what was held corner, and Lever's into the pits. He couldn't go the distance. Lever has fallen, and that is going to give Marvin Cruz P2 back in the prime class. But can Rob Zelby go the distance and take the win on the one-stop strategy? We'll have to wait to see. That's off camera, but we're right on board here at Rice as the Destino Motorsports driver, giving it everything here to try and stay close. But the thing is as well, both drivers have taken that second pit stop. They'll both know they've got the fuel to get them to the end. It's now all down to who is going to be more daring, who's got the pace to hold on, and who's got the tyres that are going to be agreeing with them right to the end of this race. Was they make the way through right into left here. The gap between them and the leading elite drivers is 35 seconds. So the elites will cross the line and will be coming back to this battle in due course as they make the way on through and in towards McPhilly Park. You see it's 5 attempts right now, and Rice needs to be closer. By the time he gets to Forest Elbow, this gap needs to be 3 attempts to run down the Conrod straight. He's going to give it everything here over the rise, but what else can he give as he makes his way on through the dipper? But as he does, we need to look back to your race leader, ladies and gentlemen, for as he makes his way down towards the final corner, he's going to add another win to the record books. And as James Armstrong takes Murray's corner, the checkered flag waves, and it is a win that sees him on his destined path to become champion at the Circuit in the Americas in a week's time, it would seem. Haroldas Jotautas will take P2 on the one-stop strategy, which didn't quite pull off the surprise he needed in the end. But meanwhile, we come back to the battle for P3, and what is the pro lead battle between Ramadan and Rice. as they head down in towards the braking zone here. Left into right they go. The SomSport driver under increasing pressure. But right now Rice is there, but he can't find a way through. Will he look for the lunge? Will he try and go for it right at the end? Ramadan covers it off. He's going to be offline here for the braking zone, but I think Ramadan may have done it as he makes out the final corner. He's going to take his first win of the season. And Khalid Ramadan, take a bow. You're a race winner at Mount Panorama in the Pro class ahead of Nicholas Rice, who takes P2 in his best result of the season as well for Destino Motorsports. Rob Selby will shortly be coming on through. He's got the fuel, and I think he's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for UKSimRacing should. He's going to be taking a win in the Prime class today in the 57 on the one-stop strategy. Well, he's made it work. He's made it work a treat. Ryan Davies P6 behind P3 in the Pro class ahead of Alex Hill. Marvin Cruz will come home P2. In Prime P8, they're denied the win on strategy for Old Dudes in Cars Blue, and then Alan Lever will sit a further 17 seconds behind as he comes on down towards the final corner here on what was a forced two-stop, and then he couldn't quite make the one-stop work compared to Selby, and the Lamborghini drank all the fuel, but still he'll drink up the champagne on the third spot of the Prime podium today and continues his unbeaten run of podiums. John Eddowes P10, Stephen Andre Livingston P11 behind P4 in the Pro-Am class, and James Conley, well, if we had any questions today about whether he's going to extend his championship lead, there was some heartbreak early on when strategy went against him, where Barker's misfortune and toe to the pit. Connie will become your winner in the AM class here and will go into the season finale on a major advantage, and he will take the win ahead of John Doble, who takes his best result of the season for Tiki Sport Kimi, P2 in the AM class, P13 overall, and a fantastic drive for the Canadian. Ahead of Darren Sharples, and then Stein Orsani will be your last lead lap finisher, and a huge shout out. He's already finished his race and towed to the pit, but John Davies for third place in the AM class, the wrong stuff driver, getting it right and putting himself on the podium for, I believe, the first time this season in the AM class. We're P3 in class. But meanwhile, as Khalid Ramadan right now makes his way on down what is the Conrad Straight, the SomSport driver, I don't think he's going to quite believe it. It's taken a long time for him to pull it off, but at long last, the Somalian driver has found his first win of his UKSimRacing at GT3 League career, and he has done it in style today, fending off the charge of Nicholas Rice, and the two of them were not separated by more than 4 seconds over the entirety of the 90 minutes, and in the end it came down to what was 4/10 of the finish line. But as James Armstrong does some celebration there, burning the wheels and the final rubber off the Audi, turn it down to the rims for the Brabham Esports machine. And we're there, happy indeed with the fact it's another win on the cards, albeit he won't have taken the championship after today, but he'll head into the season finale of the Circuit of the Americas, feeling as though it's all looking good. Will we come from the elite winner to Rob Selby, your Prime winner, and well, how that car has got any fuel left. Well, here comes Alan Lever up behind. I think Alan right now will be on the radio to Rob to simply say to him, well, congratulations, you pulled off what I couldn't do. And well, Rob Selby will claw some gap back to Alan Lever in the championship, and he'll be between the two rivals in the season finale at the Circuit of the Americas as the favourites as they come into the pits, and will a 1-3 on the podium for the Prime class. UKSimRacing Stuart will go into your season finale as teams championship favourites. As meanwhile, James Conley just taking a sedate stroll down the Conrad Straight. And as he does so, the UKSimRacing Mansell driver has been in control for the second half of this race, albeit having to negotiate some rather challenging rivals in both what was the Pro and the Prime class, but in the end the 46 driver not coming unstuck and bringing on the home another win, and well, now definitely the favourite going to Kota in a week's time in terms of taking that driver's championship crown. But as he comes into the pits, that brings us nicely to coming on to the results of the race as we take a look at the scenic view. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we start off with the overall results, subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. And after 90 minutes of racing in the UKSimRacing GT3 League Season 12 at Round 7 here at Mount Panorama Circuit in Australia, James Armstrong, your elite and overall winner for Brabham Esports by 2.8 seconds over Haroldas Jotautas, with the Absolute Motorsport Ace-Liv driver trying to get the advantage on the one-stop versus the two-stop of Armstrong, but Armstrong in the end just running at full tilt and full pace all the way to the end and showing no signs of giving away that lead. Khalid Ramadan finishing on the overall podium, indeed a limited number of times we've seen a pro take an overall podium this season. Ryan Davies the only other driver who's done so, and Ramadan adds his name to the record books there and taking his first ever GT3 League win for SomSport by what was 3 attempts in the end over second place pro driver was Nicholas Rice and Destino Motorsports driver there, knowing that the first win of his season could have been on the cards, but in the end he was beat to the distance by a fellow Ferrari driver in a thrilling encounter. Rob Zelby completing the overall top 5 there for UKSimRacing Stewart, but more importantly for him, taking the prime win by a second over Ryan Davies, who rounds off the pro podium for TT Simsport Car Marte, and his championship lead will not confirm in terms of his championship status. His championship winner status until that season fly. He will need to finish what will be the race at the circuit in Americas to confirm that, as he won't have got enough points from today, with Alex Hill finishing just behind him, P7 there for TT Simsport Kimi, and then Marvin Cruz rounding off what was a run to P2 in the end in the Pro-Am class. Looked to be a comfortable leader all the way through, but the 2-stop not enough in the end to outdo the 1-stop of Rob Zelby, with the old dudes in cars blue driver just finished ahead of Anne Lever taking third place on the Pro-Am podium at P9 overall, and the UKSimRacing Stewart driver being followed up by John Eddowes, a further 3 seconds behind, who completed your overall top 10 for TT Simsport Toa. Simon Andre Livingston at P11, best of rest there for Racing Lab Esports, and a difficult day today for him and the team versus UKSimRacing Stewart. And then James Conley at P12, your AM winner for UKSimRacing Mansell, bringing on home the win, 5 seconds clear of John Doble, second place in the AM class of TT Simsport Kimi, with Darren Sharples for Old Dudes in Cars Blue separating the AM top 3 in P14, and also Steinar Sani doing the same, P15 there for Racing Lab Esports, and then finishing a lap down at third place in the AM class, John Davis for the wrong stuff in his first AM podium of the season. Your top 20 meanwhile was rounded off by what was Dave Robson, Noya Sabas, Guy Kyliao and Cy Anthony, and they all finished a lap down, as did Davies. We've also a lap down for Casper Brotner, Jack Barker and Andy Skinner. 2 laps down, it was Cy Hartley, and then as we can see there, 5 laps down at Tom at Weston, but classified as a race finisher due to completing over half the race distance. The same for Mark Collicott and Matt Edwardson there, albeit in the opposite order, P26 for Edwardson ahead of Collicott, and well then we do see what was Lawrence Marsh 11 laps down in the end with that unfortunate retirement, and well Chris around 14 laps in the end he retired. Conor Craven 15 laps from the end. They all be classified as race finishers for completing over half the race distance of what was 21 laps, and then Joel Duton, the sole retiree, that'll be a non-finisher for retiring with a brake failure 2 laps into the race. But then coming on to what was our class finisher positions, and this is where all the points will be scored. Here we can see in the elite class, out of our 3 drivers today, it was 3 seconds that separated Armstrong versus Jotautas, but the Bradman Esports driver taking the win over the Absolute Motorsport Ace Lift driver, and then a lap down the end for third place finishers from Symphony Esports, Cy Anthony. Coming on to the pro class, and here we can see the sum of that thrilling encounter between Khalid Ramadan, who in the YouTube chat there, I believe that's Satora, who says, let's go, and we're absolutely happy with that, and hopefully we get to hear a word from Khalid in the post-round interviews today, if he's available, and the Subsport driver, they'll be absolutely savouring this one, head of the Destino Motorsports driver of Nicholas Rice. Ryan Davies P3 there for TT Simsport Car Marte, knowing the pressure's not in him to win races now this season, just finish them, and then we can see at P4 for Alex Hill for TT Simsport Kibby, ahead of John Eddowes for TT Simsport Tower. From the 3 TT Simsport drivers, it was Old Dudes in Cars Blue and Blacks. Darren Sharples ahead of Casper Brotner, who was a lap down at the finish. 5 laps down for DCW Races, Tom Weston, and a further was 2 laps down for Mark Collicott, his teammate, in a difficult day for the team. And then coming to the prime class, and the third of our classes, it was Rob Zelby, who took what was the win by 8 seconds for UKSimRacing Stewart over Old Dudes in Cars Blues Marvin Cruz, with Alan Lever a further 17 seconds behind after that late forced pit stop for the UKSimRacing Stewart driver. A 1-3 for UKSimRacing Stewart, being followed up by the Racing Lab Esports pair of Simon Andre Livingston and Steinar Sani in a good start to the race, but it wasn't to be in the long haul. They still finished inside the top 5 ahead of Noya Sabas, who was lapped down, and then we did have the retirees, who was Lawrence Marsh, Chris Round and Conor Craven, who will all be classified as finishers, and then the non-finisher of Joel Duton at P10 there for the wrong stuff. And then lastly, coming on to the AM class, and as we can see here, James Conley taking the win for UKSimRacing Mansell, one of only 2 AM drivers to finish the race on the lead lap, ahead of TT Simsport Kimi's John Doble, with John Davis third place, a lap down for the wrong stuff, but he won't mind that, as he will have taken his first podium of the season. Dave Robson, P4 for TT Simsport Kimi, ahead of Guy Kyliao for the wrong stuff, a good top 5 finish there for the number 17 driver, ahead of Jack Barker and Andy Skinner, both lap down as well. Cy Hartley 2 laps down in P8 for TT Simsport Car Marte, and then 5 laps down, to put in his own words in the YouTube chat from Medmo, what an awful race for Matt Edwardson there for UKSimRacing Stewart. Not to be his day today, a P9 finish, but it will count towards his championship total. But that concludes our rundown of the fixture positions, of course, all subject to stewards' inquiries, ladies and gentlemen. What a race we have had here today. And just before we do cut away for the post-round interviews, we'd just like to remind you that if you have been enjoying the races today, and if you have enjoyed the show, why not subscribe to the YouTube channel or the Twitch channel you're tuning into today, so that way you can stay up to date with all the latest broadcasts brought to you here at UKSimRacing, as we have weekly broadcasts for the GT3 League and also the Porsche Cup, and plenty more we've got planned for the remainder of 2024. But also we'd like to say, if you have enjoyed the racing and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to support UKSimRacing on top of subscribing to the media channels, well, did you know there's a quick way to do so via our affiliates? For UKSimRacing is affiliated with multiple sim racing and real world motorsport companies, including Swelling and Meta Sim Racing Coaching, Race Anywhere and Demon Tweaks. And if you do head to our website, that is uksimracing.co.uk today, website appearing on screen now, well, there's a link to our Discord in the top right corner. And why would you want to join the UKSimRacing Discord? Well, firstly, if you ever want to be on the grid for any of our series, it's a mandatory requirement to do so that way you can attend the pre-race driver briefings, and also make sure to stay up to date with all the latest information regarding your chosen one-off event or series. But more relevant to this conversation is the fact that on the UKSimRacing Discord, there are a number of discount codes only provided by our affiliates. If you use one of those codes as part of your purchase, well, it puts you in pole position to receive what is a discount, so it's a win for you. But as we receive a kickback from your purchase here at UKSimRacing, it's a win for the wider community, because we are a non-profit organisation, and that means every penny and pound we make from our affiliate purchases we've put into funding future series of the UKSimRacing community, including the ongoing GT3 League, the Porsche Cup, and plenty more we have planned for 2024 and onwards. So there's never been a better time to join the grid at UKSimRacing, and there's never been a better time to be part of the Discord and make the most of those affiliate codes. So do remember, a little purchase can go a long way in supporting UKSimRacing, but a little bit of a breather can go a long way in giving us an opportunity to get set for our post-round interviews, of which, ladies and gentlemen, they'll be coming up in approximately 12 minutes time. Don't go anywhere, we'll see you very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews. And today we're going to be hearing from a driver in each of our classes. Start with the elite driver James Armstrong from Brabham Esports to hear the story of what was his phenomenal pole lap, backed up by phenomenal race pace to take the win. And then we're going to be hearing from Khalid Ramadan, the SomSport driver, who put in an absolute flyer of a race today in order to be able to deliver on the top stage, before coming to Simon Andre Livingston from Racing Lab Esports in the Pram class, and then what was Andrew Skinner from Tiki SimSport Tire in the AM class, racing for a higher cause. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me my great pleasure to have joining me in the interview room none other than James Armstrong. Good evening to you, James. And well, your run of wins this season seems unstoppable. And what a driver yourself today. I mean, a pole position, being the only driver who set a 202 in qualifying, and in the race, never dipping out of the 203s compared to anybody else. You couldn't have asked for a more perfect day in Australia, surely.
Yeah, it was a really good race, really fun. I really enjoyed Bathurst, a bit like Atlanta. It's one of my favourite tracks on the service. So yeah, really fun, and the Audi was quite nice around there today.
Well, the Audi definitely looked hooked up from the outset, and with regards to the qualifying lap in itself, I mean, a 202.666, I mean, some would say it's the number of the devil in terms of the attempts through to the thousands, and the devils are in the detail at Bathurst. That was your banker lap. How did it feel for a banker lap? I mean, it must have been perfect.
It was pretty much, yeah, I think my optimal was a 0.5, so 1/10 maybe, but yeah, it was good. I mean, I went out thinking first lap it's just going to be quick, quick out lap, quick lap, just because I was like one of the first ones out on the track and I didn't want anybody in my slipstream. So yeah, I just went quick lap, and then it was a really quick lap, and then I came in the pits, got more fuel, and then I tried to do like a 2 slow laps, because that's sort of what the meta was, and obviously it didn't work. I was a 10th down, and then the other guy spun in front of me, but it didn't really matter because I was already a 10th down.
I see. A bit unfortunate we couldn't see what you could do with the more standardised approach or the more optimal approach, but still, taking that lap and one of only 2 drivers in the end to set a 202, the other being from your second place front row starter of Haroldas Jotautas. But then coming on to the race, when we went green, we saw you controlled the start and decided to go quite late. Was that all part of the plan?
Yeah, I looked at the start zone before and I was like, I don't really want to go at the start. But I didn't want to go at the end because it's quite easy to predict at the end. So I sort of went late-ish, but not right at the end.
I see, and in doing so, holding on to the lead into the opening corner, and it looked as though from there it was really a story of yourself trying to run away and Jotautas giving chase, but very quickly we saw that gap open up more and more, and by what was lap number 7, the gap was already up to 5 seconds. Was there any point where you decided to start backing off the pace and instead of trying to control the race a bit more, given the fact you're the only driver who set a 203 in the course of the race distance?
I think my first few laps were not very good, so I was really pushing to to just get away after my first 2 laps after they weren't very good. But I mean, most of the race it was sort of pushing a bit, but then once the gap side opened up, I was going a little bit slow, but not too much slower, because I feel like if you slow down too much and go like 90%, then you've got a higher risk of crashing than if you're driving at 100%. That's, at least I found that with me, so I kept the pace quite up. I didn't realise though that you didn't have to pit twice. So I wasn't like saving fuel or anything, and that nearly came back to bite me at the end.
Well, indeed, you predicted what the next question would be. So we saw you on a 2-stop stay, and a few drivers managed to pull off the 1-stop, including your close rival Haroldas Jotautas. And when you emerged from the pits the second time around, the gap between the two of you was 6 tenths, but you got out ahead and were already pulling away. But I get the feeling that was a little bit of a shock to the system when you came out the pits and saw a Porsche that was a lot closer than it perhaps should have been.
I mean, I knew that he was gonna come out near me because obviously he went a lap longer than me in the first stint. But I didn't realize until after the race that you didn't have to pit twice. So when I came out in front of him, I was like, it's fine. He's going to pit at the end of this lap and be 15, 20 seconds behind me, so I don't really need to worry. But then when he didn't go into the pits, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's going to the end now. I better actually go a little bit quicker.
Well, that's absolutely fair. And well, we saw you run away again after what was that second pit stop. But dialing things back a little bit, over the course of the race, being our race leader, you would be the first driver to have to come up behind traffic. And we did see a number of instances, particularly over the mountains, such as in the run to McPhillamy Park, where it looked as though you got very close and personal with a couple of battles that were ongoing. From your perspective, negotiating traffic over the mountain, I mean, what was it like for yourself?
To be fair, over the mountain, actually, I think quite a lot of people sort of knew that, I mean, if they didn't get out the way, I was going to be on their bumper for quite a while, so quite a lot of people just let me go. Even some people were like a second in front, and coming out of T2, they just lifted off and waited that 1 second for me to go in front. So really, really helpful that they did that, and it's I'm glad to see that they took a good initiative and realised that it's probably not the best having my Audi on their bumper the entire way over the hill. But yeah, it was really good. I don't think I had any issues with the traffic. They were all really sensible and choose to get out the way at good times, and no issues really.
Well, that's absolutely fair and working out quite nicely for yourself, and it's good to hear the traffic was quite obliging. And on top of that as well, as the race went on, and with regards to coming back to strategy, we saw you put fuel in the car, of course, but what were tyre changes like today?
All 4 tyres at the first stop, and then no tyres at the second stop. I feel like I should have probably put a little bit less fuel in on the first stop, so that on my second stop I could have took 2 new right-hand tyres. That would have been probably a bit quicker, but I didn't really want to take the 1 tyre at this track like I did at Atlanta, just because if I took a rear left, then I'd have quite a lot of understeer going over the mountain, over the 2 left-handers, and I wasn't really fancying having understeer there. And if I took a front right, then I would have had a lot of oversteer in like the Forest elbow and the cutting. So I just went with no tyres on the second stop.
Well, that makes sense indeed. Getting the car as comfortable for yourself was that final stint and pushed it all the way to the end. And well, James, taking another checker flag for the entire field and the elite class means you go into our season finale now 18 points clear of Haroldas Jotautas, albeit, of course, our season finale being undroppable, so therefore every point counts. How are you feeling for a visit to Texas in a week's time?
I've literally never driven Circuit of the Americas. Like, I've driven it once. I'm not a fan of it. I don't really like how it feels in a GT car. It feels clumsy and lazy. So, not really looking forward to the race and just hoping that I can just about quick enough to keep in front.
Well, we look forward to seeing whether you're able to pull that off and bring home the championship, as you are a favourite going into the finale. But just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
I think my dad deserves a really big shout out. I had an issue with my wheel before the race. One of the cables came detached from the steering wheel, and my dad managed to get it all apart and solder it back together with 1 minute before the server went up. So that was really good timing, and yeah, really good that he got the wheel repaired and ready for the race, and it survived the race as well. New cables coming tomorrow, thanks to Will Goulbourne for getting a new cable out to me so quickly. I'm really happy about the customer service with my new T1 design steering wheel, and then obviously the team and my mum and stuff. Yeah.
Well, goodness me, I mean, your dad, Rob, definitely put off a brilliant piece of quick engineering, no doubt about that. And well, a big shout out to Robert, like you say, and also to the wide team who are backing you all the way. Well, with that, James, congratulations on another phenomenal drive to victory today. And whilst it did have its moments where it looked so you might be beaten the strategy, it wasn't to be. We look forward to seeing you in a week's time in the US state of Texas to see if you can bring home the championship crown. But until then, savour the moment. Thank you once again, and have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Thank you. See ya.
So hearing it there from our elite class and overall winner today, James Armstrong, and very interesting to hear his thoughts on a number of aspects of today, starting with qualifying, the fact that the bank lap was a strong one, he was happy with that, then opted to switch to what was the 2 out lap situation, whereby taking the out lap from the pits, then a further warm-up lap, but talking about the fact that by the time he got to the end of that second lap, ended up with a degree of traffic and also having the lap start spoiled for him, which we did see when we were about to ride on board with him for a flying lap of the circuit. So deciding just to hedge his bets on what was that one lap, and it was enough by 3 attempts in the end to take pole position. And then going racing, having a bit of a difficult start to the race, saying his first couple of laps were not as what he wanted, but putting his foot down and going all in and not focused on fuel saving at all, and will be caught blindsided to a degree by the one-stop strategy, particularly as he emerged from the pit stop to see the second pit stop to see Haroldas Jotautas close and not say 15 to 20 seconds away as he expected based on the gap that had ebbed and flowed between them over the race. But still, having changed the tyres in the first pit stop and no tyre change in the second pit stop to give himself the most comfortable car, he was able to comfortably open that gap up one more time and bring it on home. A major result. And while he's not fancying the circuit of the Americas, he doesn't feel as though it's a circuit that fancies GT3s. And while I've never heard somebody refer to a circuit as lazy before, but that's definitely a new spin on things, and I can see what he means. But will he be able to avoid the laziness of the circuit and bring on home what being a tentative win in order to be able to bring home that championship crown? In fact, he doesn't need to win technically. All he needs to do is finish the race, given the number of elite drivers currently racing in the series. But we'll have to wait and see whether the Brabham Esports driver can make his favourite status his destiny in a week's time. But now, ladies and gentlemen, coming on to our second interview, we've spoken to James Armstrong, and now we're going to be coming to none other than Khalid Ramadan, your pro winner today. And as we get ready to hear from him, we're going to be getting the story of what was the brilliant battle between himself and Nicholas Rice all the way from start to finish, and also that move that saw him take the lead of the race in the very early stages. And we'll be hearing his thoughts on that and plenty more as we just wait for him now to join us in the interview room. But also on top of that, with regards to the drive, also his first win of the season. And well, he joins me now. Good evening to you, Khalid. What a race from yourself. I mean, it's your first win of the season, your first win in the UKSimRacing GT3 League. How do you feel to have achieved it?
Pretty good. It's a feeling I'm not too used to, I guess, within like leagues, especially one like this one where it's like pretty competitive. But yeah, as ready as I could have ever been given the 12-hour yesterday. So nice to see it's paid off.
Oh, absolutely. And well, we did talk about earlier on in today's broadcast with the fact that a number of drivers, well, yourself included, as you point out, will have competed in the official 12 hours of Bathurst and iRacing, and taking that experience into today. I mean, we saw in practice, it looked as though out of the pros, it was going to be you or Nicholas Rice who would be leading the way today. So the two of you are putting in phenomenal times, and that extended into qualifying as well, but you just missed out on pro pole in the end. How was qualifying for you?
I think I tried to, in the 15 minutes whilst the Ammon Prime guys were doing their thing, tried to just plan out, oh, how do I want to do this? And then I was like, screw it. Just field for like the whole session and just have at it. I think I did my best lap on lap 2. And then it was just the uphill struggle, well, uphill and downhill, I guess. Just trying to match that time and slightly improve. And then on the last lap, I think I was like 3/10 down on Rice. And I just did the best I could, I think. And it ended up being 3/10 down on my last lap. So I was like, yeah, you know what? He deserves it. He's got pole. Just see what I can do for the race.
Well, speaking of seeing what you could do for the race, I mean, like you say, you were 3/10 down in qualifying, but you weren't 3/10 down at the start. And going into turn 1, we saw yourself and Rice battling side by side, and it was a drag race all the way up towards Griffiths Bend at 2, which saw you took the lead of the race. I mean, it looked as though there you weren't going to back out. It was either going to be you leading out of turn number 2, or both of you were going to have a Senna Prost style moment through the opening couple of corners.
Yeah, honestly, 100%. Like the moment I saw I was on the outside for the rolling start, I was like, that's 100% the plan. Like from my Bathurst 12 prep, I felt turn 2 was kind of like, because it's really cambered on the inside, it's almost impossible to kind of swing around the outside, especially if like even if you're somewhat ahead, if the car on the inside kind of has some overlapping, can get to that curb, it becomes a massive advantage. So I was like, from the get-go, whatever you do, make sure you're on that right side on that run down to turn 2. And yeah, you saw it was like I was just watching James to see when he bolted, and then just tried to bolt without hitting Jotautas ahead of me. Run as close to Nicholas as possible, just to make sure that I was next to him. And then I think thankfully he kind of backed out, but had he not, I would have literally just stayed on the inside, commit to as strong as I could, and then go from there. And yeah, that was kind of the race, because after that, I was like, you know what, the rest of the race, just keep your head down, like kind of zone out whilst racing, if that makes sense. Just don't worry about anything. I guess strategy was a thing, but lap to lap, just do my thing and then go from there.
Well, indeed, I mean, the way you've summed it up, I think many tuning in right now might have their jaws on their desks, if you will, alternatively their chairs, and the fact that just being able to zone out like that, I mean, the gap between yourself and Nicholas never went beyond 4 seconds at any point bar the pit stop window. It just shows how hard the two of you are pushing, and it looked as though on that first stint you were able to keep building open the gap, but the second and third stint it was almost as if roles were being reversed and suddenly the pace wasn't quite there anymore. Was there perhaps something in the setup of the car, or was it just you were managing the gap? Just take us through how the gap sort of swayed back and forth in your opinion.
So it was definitely like, I think when I, like from that turn to lap 1, it was just, okay, just do my thing. If I have to defend, it was relatively, I say, kind of easy, because we were both Ferraris. Setup wise, I think I was running a G&G setup, so it was like, it wasn't like the crazy low wing setups that you might have seen from other places, but the long and short was I was prepared to defend, and then when the gap started growing, I was like, okay, just, I know that the pace I'm doing is like my comfortable 90%. I'm not doing quali laps. So then as the gap started growing, I was like, okay, just no mistakes. I did biff the wall on lap 6, which was like 9-second optionals. But after that, it was just keep going away. And then I think in the rear view, I think I noticed he was close to hitting the wall on the exit of like Forest Elbow. So then I was like, okay, just keep going. And then, like you said, pit stop time, I forwent optionals, just tires and fuel, just go as long as possible, because I knew really both of us had the pace, so it was just a case of not getting caught up in traffic, so just go as long as possible. And then the second stint, yeah, like you hit it on the head, really, like that gap was closing. I think in the shuffle, there was like some blue flagged cars as well that managed to keep that gap at bay, but I think you probably saw like kind of towards the end, I think I held up like once or twice, which is in the Bathurst T's and C's, like it's going to happen. But yeah, it wasn't outright like gap management. I'm not going to pretend it was that. It was just straight up, you know, just do the pace that I can, and then if I have to defend, I'm comfortable with it. So yeah.
Well, that's absolutely fair, and really do appreciate the insights from yourself with regards to the gap management. And on the strategy, we did see a number of drivers gamble with the one stop today. It worked out for some in the prime class in particular, but it looks as though you always had your heart set on a two stop, as did Nicholas as well. Was that always the plan, or did you ever consider a one stop?
I think the thought crossed my mind when I think it was Andy Skinner. Like he was piping up in chat of like, oh, I'm saving. And I was like, okay. Then when crew chief told me, oh yeah, you need to like put in 89 liters or something, which I think is like a few laps beyond another full tank. I was like, oh, I guess fuel saving was a thing. But like if Nicholas wasn't doing it, I wasn't doing it. So the moment we ran the tank dry, I was like, I'm not going to do anything else. I was kind of pretty much dead set on just doing the 2 full stints and then the splash.
I see, and then coming into what was the later stages of the race, tyre wear at Bathurst, much like many of the circuits this season, has been a big factor. Did it become a factor for yourself in terms of how much pace you had in the car?
I think if I was going to use the driver's excuse of, oh yeah, it was the tyres in the second stint, yeah, sure. But I think tyre-wise, it wasn't like any crazy wear that I wasn't used to before. And again, like, if I was going to have any problems with tyre wear, I definitely would have if it wasn't for the Bathurst 12th. Like, I felt I knew what to expect from the car, especially like later on in the stint. So I think, like, again, Bathurst 12th prep just helped me just drive within the limits and just do what I could comfortably do, despite whatever the state of the tyres was at the time. So yeah.
I see, and then just coming on to the last 2 laps of the race, we saw that gap come down and down, some traffic as well intervening, which brought it even closer, but it never got closer than half a second than that final lap. It looked as though going into the last couple of corners there might have been the opportunity for Nicholas to take a lunge to the inside, particularly into the last turn, but I get the feeling you were under control at that point.
Yeah, I think I definitely felt like I was the last two corners, like, obviously like the chase and the final corner, like I was just taking it really easy. Didn't want to like just bounce straight to the wall on the final corner or anything like that. So I knew that my braking was a bit more easygoing. But yeah, when like you saw like that last lap, kind of like having been held up, the gap was close, and then I was like, if he was going to send it, maybe it was going to be the chase. Uh, and then yeah, when he kind of closed it up, I was like, okay, well, I'll take my racing line as normal. If he goes for the move, then I'll defend as need be, and then I did. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm on the apex here. Just take it first. Just ease it out of there. There's nothing much that can be done. It's a very tight corner. And yeah, like I like to think I did what I did. As like that was the plan always if I had to defend, and thankfully that was the only time I needed to defend, and it worked. So.
Oh, it did, and in the end, bringing on home your first win of the season, your first full 40-point score as well, and it couldn't come at a better time, because with it as well, it's your first podium of the season, if my notes here do serve me correctly. I mean, it's come to promote you as well to P3 in the championship with only a round to go. I have to ask, how was that feeling when you crossed the finish line, seeing that checker flag, and knowing you've not just taken your first win, you've also taken your first overall podium. You're one of only 2 pros this season who has done that, the other being Ryan Davies.
Yeah, I think I was kind of surprised, like especially I think a week ago or the week prior, where I was kind of always on the cusp of like, oh, I'm pretty close, but I'm not outright getting in terms of the points. But I think I never pretended like I had like outright pace in the previous rounds. It was just okay. I'll just try and finish it cleanly. And then yeah, I think the moment qualifying happened, I was like, oh, I'm on for something. So it feels really good. Like you said, those accolades are. It's nice to have at the end of the season, I guess. Like kind of okay, well, I wasn't quite podium placement kind of driver, but now that we're here, it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling.
Oh, most definitely. And well, we've still got one more round of racing to go. What with the Circuit of the Americas playing host for our season finale. All points are on the table in that round. What can we expect from yourself in the US of A?
I think the same prep as always. I think it's just kind of stick to doing the VRS, doing a bit of prep, do the VRS endurance. I'm not gonna lie and say that I've driven the track a lot because I bought it and then maybe only raced on it like a handful of times, if that. So, yeah, I'll be as surprised as anybody else when it comes to practicing for the race. So, yeah, nothing prepared, but something will be prepared. That's the hope, really.
We definitely look forward to seeing what you're able to do in a week's time in the season finale. But Khalid, just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
I didn't have a list prepared or anything, but I guess if it was going to be thanking anyone, it would be again everyone involved at UKSR for putting the league on. I think I kind of joined the UKSR for like the P-Cup League a few seasons ago, and just yeah, it's just kind of been a blast, kind of just being around, racing with like a really good group of people, and yeah, I guess if I was gonna like highlight anyone, it would be kind of I guess Nicholas in the race. Like it's kind of weird to like not directly fight anyone except for like a handful of corners in a endurance race like this, but it's good racing, and yeah, like I said, just everyone in the UKSR community really. Those are the kind of the main shout outs, I suppose.
Well, that's absolutely fair. And Khalid, thank you very much for joining me in the interview room. A brilliant way to bring in the closing statements of your championship campaign. We'll win today in Australia. A superb drive, and we look forward to plenty more at our season finale. But until then, savour the moment, enjoy it, and have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Yeah, cheers. You too as well. Bye bye.
So here and there for our pro winner, Khalid Ramadan for SomSport in the number 80 Ferrari. And I think he right now is just having it settle in, just what he's been able to do today. Absolutely uplifting and cheery speech from himself with regards to what his performance was today, no doubt about it. And interesting to hear his thoughts about the qualifying session in the end, and taking what was P2 3/10 of Nicholas Rice's pole lap, and then settling in for it and recognising, okay, I'm starting the second row of the grid, and we're using all his practice in the build up to the official 12 Hours of Bathurst on iRacing, which was played host this weekend as well, and then by being on what was the line starting P4, tucked in by Haroldas Jotautas, he'd have the outside into turn 1, but the inside into turn number 2, and that's exactly where he wanted to be. And in the end, that full commitment into turn 2 saw him take the lead, and it was all about just trying to hold the gap open. But interested to hear his thoughts as well with regards to the fact that whilst the tyre wear was a consideration, he felt as though towards the end of the race it was more and more the pace just slipping away from him to a degree, more a problem in car, not the car itself, and as a result they're losing a bit of time, but also some traffic intervening, and we did see it in the closing stages, that gap come down, but not under major threat in the end, with the gap holding around half a second, albeit going defensive into the last couple of corners. But it did seem as though Khalid was always in control, and with that taking his first win, I'm very happy to do so, and explain there that he originally joined UKSimRacing for the Porsche Cup Series, but extended his talents to the GT3 League, and we're more than happy to see him extend those talents. In fact, he's picked up his first win of his UKSimRacing GT3 League career, and it couldn't have happened at a more challenging test of metal than the Mount Panorama endurance race of this season. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our third interview, and very shortly we're going to be hearing from Simon Andre Livingston in the Pro-Am class in what has definitely been a bit of a difficult day today in terms of the racing going his way and then not. But as he gets ready to join me in the interview room, we're going to be hearing the story of what has been the Racing Lab eSport Drivers evening of racing here. As he gets ready to join me in the interview, and we just asked him to join that, and he does indeedly do so. Welcome, Simon Andre, and what a day of racing it's been from yourself at Mount Panorama. Early days say it looked as though it was going to be a podium on the cards in the Pro-Am class, but as you went deeper and deeper into the race, it looked as though the mountain had it in for yourself and your teammate Steinar Sani, and things started to gradually fall away for Racing Lab Esports. But how was it from your perspective?
This one was a tough one, Paul. From my perspective, I will say pace was there. I felt comfortable, but I did like a big mistake going into Forest Elbow. Broke a little bit too hard and hit the inside wall of Forest Elbow, and then took the exit of Forest Elbow, and then had no forward momentum, so John Eddowes hit me in the back, and he unfortunately spun, but I don't think I had any chance to avoid that contact. And after that, I felt like the car was struggling. I was struggling with it the whole first stint, and then I managed to keep the guys behind because they couldn't really pass. But Steinar was telling me through all the first stint that he might have more pace, but we couldn't find any good way to switch up. And when I finally said, okay, enough is enough, I'm going in trying to undercut you guys, because I think that is the good strategy. And then when I come out of the pits, I got to look down at my relatives instead of the racetrack, and drove straight ahead in turn 2, so I got some wheel damage going on there as well. So I was driving the first stint with damage and second stint with damage, but I could keep just the pace with Alan and Rob on the second stint. And then when Steinar went off, I lost a lot of time because I had to avoid his crash, and I lost a little bit on the back marker, and then I managed to fight myself back, and then I was like, okay, I need to do something here to mix it up. So I tried to undercut them early and was hoping for my pace to get it, but I missed my pit entry, and everything today has been the race in itself has been good, but I have managed to do a silly mistake, which in the end cost me. And on this level I think I ended up 3 seconds behind Alan in the ending of the race, and those small small mistakes there and there where you think it's like, okay, I lost a tenth there, a tenth there. In the end, it turned out to be 3 seconds, so that was why I didn't get my podium today, unfortunately. I felt I had it, but I gave it away.
Oh, indeed. I do appreciate the assessment, and well, it was unfortunate you missed out on the podium, but at the same time, there were plenty of positives at the early stages of the race, and even in qualifying, a P2 in class in qualifying and a P8 start. I mean, Marvin Cruz seemed to be in a slight class of his own in qualifying, but you in turn were able to put quite the gap between yourself and teammate Stein Arsani. How was qualifying for you?
Oh, where should I start? Oh, sorry for laughing, but like my first qualifying lap, my first push lap, I did like the same thing I did in the race. I hit like the inside of Forest Elbow. I thought I had less grip than I had on the cold tires, so I hit the inside, hit the outside, ruined one guy's qualifying lap because he came behind. I couldn't pass because if you do something, there is nowhere to go. So he just had to give up his speed, and the next two pushes I kind of like yeah, the new traction control. If you try to push the throttle too hard going up the cutting, it kicks in and then your momentum dies. So I had that going on for the two first, so I was quite upset with the first, and I got into the pits, new tires, refueled, went out, and then set my lap that turned out to be the lap I got, and I wasn't satisfied with that. So I was going into the first corner already 2 tenths up on the delta and managed to get an off track. So I was quite mad after, but when I saw like, okay, it's a P2, it's P8 overall, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. You need to just acknowledge that this was a good qualifying lap, even though you felt like that was a safe lap. You need to acknowledge that it was a good lap. So I don't know if I could have beaten or set a fast lap, but I felt like that lap I got my qualifying on was quite a safe lap in terms of like not doing too many risky stuff going down Skyline and into the S's and the Dipper and all of that. So, but Bathurst is probably my favorite track. We had like the nationals here last season in the Norwegian Championship, and I looked at the back catalog, like I had 800 laps of it on it last year, and I didn't do the 12 hours, and I only had one, or like the practice session here to prepare to the race. So with that in mind, like this race results today is amazing. That just shows myself where I've come in my process of becoming a faster sim racer.
Oh, without a doubt, and that pace continued to show. And in the early stage of the race, in that first stint, before things started to go wrong with the contact with the inside of Forest Elbow and the subsequent contact with John Eddowes from behind, we saw you leading a pack of 10 cars for the best part of what was half an hour of racing in the Ferrari, and it looked so everybody was itching to find a way past you, none more so than your teammate Stein Arsani, but you just managed to keep everybody behind in one of the longest trains. In fact, I think we could refer to you as the Jarno Trulli of the GT3 league.
Yeah. Oh, I think you're not mistaken. The straight line pace, I think Steiner was catching like 3 tenths almost, even though it's sometimes worst exiting. So like my car wasn't at the pace it should have been, but yeah. What can you do? Like if I would have raced at Monaco and knew I had the track position, I would have probably done the same thing here. So for me, it was just to keep it on the track, and I already noticed like Marvin had gone with Ryan. So for me, it was just like trying to keep them behind. So that was my strategy going, but I was really concerning about them having the ability to fuel save a lot. So in the end, I saw like Rob got the victory on the fuel saving. So I hope maybe he sends me a postcard, because I know that he had lifting and draft all of the first stint, which managed to give him a good position to only one stop. So I hope I get a postcard one day.
You'll have to let us know if you do get a postcard from Rob, because like you say, the amount of fuel saving that he and a number of the drivers behind you are able to do might have been the way they managed to get their one-stops to work at the end of the day. But still, when it did go wrong, you didn't give up in the subsequent stints, and you held on the end to bring home what was a P4 finish in the class, P11 overall. One of your stronger results of the season, albeit not quite on the podium. And we've still got one more race to go, and it means you're still fighting for what is the top 5 finish in the championship standings.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, Paul. That's why I wanted also kind of, if it was ability to get into the interview today. I will unfortunately not attend the last race, so this is my last race of the season. So I let you down, didn't get the podium or even the win this season, but I might come back another season to do it. So that's a shame. I feel like I let you down there.
Not at all, Stephen Andre. You've never let me down, because you always have turned up every week you can with some brilliant racing. There's no doubt about it. I'm sure everyone tuning in would agree with me in the fact, seeing you lead the trainer cars in the Ferrari and keeping your head down, and even bringing the car home in P4 when it all went wrong at certain points. That's the racer spirit, and that's what we love to see. I definitely love to see that. And whilst you're not on the grid next week, I mean, you still, with the Racing Lab esports team out there, can we expect Steiner to be on the grid flying the flag one more time?
Yeah, I think Steiner will have to do a solo run on the is it Kota next? Yeah, it's Kota next. I have to do a solo run on Kota. So I know for sure he will be racing. I think I don't know if he surpassed me or I've surpassed him in the standings, but I think like he has a better shot at a good final result overall in his class. So he will for sure race at Kota.
Well, we do look forward to seeing him there. He's 2 points behind you currently in the standings, and only a further 3 off of Jeff Griffiths in P5. But we look forward to seeing him pick up the mantle, which you won't be carrying forward into Kota. But still, Stephen Andre, it's been a pleasure having you on the grid all the way through the season. We'll miss you in the season finale, but I'm sure we'll see you back on the grid in the near future. And just before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to do a shout out to all you guys in UKSimRacing, the admins who have done a great job this season, the stewarding, and to all the racers, or yeah, the community, and also to you, Paul, for great work throughout. Doubtly the best sim racer commentator I know to date. And finally have to thank our sponsors, RacingLab.no, CarX.no, and Asatec, and thank to all my teammates who are making me a faster driver, and I hope to be back next season. I don't have the schedule yet, but we will see. So hopefully it will match my schedule, so I will be back next season, I hope. And thank you all.
Oh, and likewise, a big thank you to you, Stephen Andre, for joining me in the interview room. We'll miss seeing you on the grid in a week's time, but I'm sure we'll see you back for another season in due course, whether it's season 13 or after that. But until when we next see you, take care as always, my good friend. Have a great rest of your evening, and the best of luck to you in your future endeavours.
Yes, you too, Paul. Good night.
So hearing there from our prime driver, Stephen Andre Livingston, and what a bit of an emotional interview for him today in the number 23, and you can understand why. In fact, he's been targeting at bringing home at least a podium at some point this season, and what has been his final round of racing, not being able to deliver that, and was saying he feels as though he's let us down in the interview room and also in general, but he hasn't really, in the fact that we've seen the race he's brought to the table round after round. It's been absolutely fantastic, and that qualifying lap for P2 in class, even though the lap he delivered was more of a safe lap, a banker lap, rather than his outright lap, well, there's always a big what-if question. Could he have taken pole off of Marvin Cruz? But that wasn't to be. But we also got to see him lead the long trainer cars all the way around for the best part of 30 minutes, and that in itself was absolutely brilliant racing. And well, in the end, there was a small brush with the inside wall of Forest Elbow, and that's led to the domino effect, which did start to dispel his chance to finish on the podium. But still, It happens, he's accepted it, and as per his explanation, he didn't give up, he kept in it to win it and took a P4 in the end. And whilst he may feel down at the moment, I think he'll look back on this race fondly in the near future and think to himself, you know what, we still brought it home inside the top 5 and brought that Ferrari into the points, and that's what it's all about. And while the Racing Lab esports driver, will definitely see him back on the grid at some time soon. I will put my money on it, ladies and gentlemen, because there's one thing you can guarantee about Racing Lab esports is Simon Andre Livingston, is that he never gives up and is always looking to take a step towards the top step of the podium. But now we come to our final interview of the day, and we're going to be hearing from our AM class driver of Andy Skinner, who gets ready to join me in the interview room. And as he does so, we'll get to hear his story with regards to what he's been driving for today in terms of Dementia UK, and as well as that, also his drive to a P7 finish in class, as he does now join me in the interview room. And well, good evening to you, Andrew, and well, very happy to have you with us tonight as our final interview. Appreciate your patience. It looked tough out there on the mountain today, but how was it for you out there with a P7 finish in the end after what was a bit of a dramatic start to your race?
Yeah, I mean, Bathurst is always tough. Yeah, did have a tough start to the race. I think I got starting at the back. The field did get bottlenecked, and then obviously there was a little bit of incident going up the actual mountain itself on the first lap. Luckily, we managed to avoid it. But yeah, that second stint, I was one of the ones that tried to do the one stop. Being at the back, I've got nothing to lose. I thought, let's just try and get home from here. And in the end, I think I was very close to Jack. I think he just put me on the line, but it was worth trying.
Oh, no doubt about it. Like you say, when you've got nothing to lose, you can go all in on a gamble and strategy. And of course, coming into tonight, racing for a high cause, representing Dementia UK today in honour of your nan who recently passed away. And well, I have to ask, of course, with regards to the cause, I mean, Dementia UK is such a big charity and such a big concern in modern day life. But how's it meant to you flying the flag today for the charity?
It's meant a lot. Obviously, my nan got diagnosed with dementia, and about 8 years ago, and it's been tough. Obviously, this was a charity that we chose for guests attending my nan's funeral. That if they wanted to donate money to, they could. It's a charity that means quite a lot to the family, and I'm just glad that I could run their colours and their logo on the car today.
Indeed, and we were all the more glad to see the wonderful livery being represented on your Porsche 992, and I'm sure many, when they saw it, and we did see a couple of comments in the Twitch chat in particular from the likes of Cy Anthony, same regards to livery and the cause you're running for, and well, a cause which in the end motivated you to take what was a P8 in class in qualifying. I mean, how was qualifying for you out there? Because this Bathurst circuit does seem to be one of those ones where you've got to be absolutely committed to delivering a qualifying lap.
Yeah, I mean, I always find Bathurst tough. I know there are some drivers who are really confident going over the mountain. I'm not one of them, so it was pretty much, if I could get a safe banker lap in, and then I can just start pushing and pushing and pushing a little bit more. I mean, I'm surprised I pulled out the lap time I did. I've been running 207s pretty much all week. To get into the 206s was pretty ideal. Ryan Davies did help me out last minute with the setup. I was struggling with the initial setup I was going to use, and I was pretty much running a race set. I was pretty much running my race set with quali fuel, but I'm happy with the P8. Obviously next week is the last week, and I'm gonna be trying to see how far I can go.
We definitely do look forward to that. We'll talk a little bit more about the Circuit of the Americas shortly, but coming on to your race, obviously there was the question of the open lap instance, as you mentioned there, which did lead to a little bit of argy-bargy in amongst the field. But as the race went on and the field started to stretch out, Obviously, not perhaps being in as much battling traffic in the early stages, but we also got to see you intermingle amongst some drivers of other classes who'd had to toe to the pit and then try to carve their way back through. And we also got to see you battle with some fellow AM drivers, including the likes of what were Jack Barker later in the race. How was it for you in terms of just the race pace around the Bathurst circuit? Because many drivers, I think, at certain points were on the edge of putting it into the wall, but for yourself, it looks quite composed.
Yeah, I mean, as we all know, Bathurst is one of the toughest tracks on the calendar. My aim was simply run my race, keep it clean, try and keep it out of the wall as best I can. I had a few moments, obviously, where I dipped tyres into the grass. That second stint where I was literally having to fuel save, I was just telling guys, listen, get past me, I'm saving, you know. But the key thing here was keeping out of the wall, and to be honest, not only yesterday when we ran the 12 hours, today as well, keeping that out the wall was absolutely, vital. But as I said, this is a tough track. Accidents will happen, and I'm surprised that I didn't get caught up in any of the early accidents, I should say.
Well, indeed, you managed to avoid most, if not all, of the drama around you, and in the end, gradually coming through for what was a P7 finish on that preferred strategy, which you made work. Albeit, like you said, it was marginal right at the end between yourself and Jack Barker, but still taking a P7 in a highly competitive Anfield. It's been one of your best results of the season.
Yeah, until 2 laps ago, I wasn't even sure if I was going to make it. As soon as I saw on my fuel calculator go to 3 litres, it was like, how far away is Jack, and can I catch him? And I think Jack had some issues on the last lap, to the point where I think it was like half a second, but as I said, that second stint was all about trying to make it, and luckily, gamble didn't quite pay off, but we made it.
And that's the most important thing, to get to the checker flag and bag at those points. And whilst you weren't quite able to make it P6, still a P7 is nothing to be upset about. And well, with it being, as I double check my notes here, your strongest result of the season, in fact, given the point scores, we've got one more round to go. You're currently sat in what is P10 in the AM Championship, not too far behind Guy Kyliel. Is it possible we could see you take a P9 at the end of the championship?
You never know. Kota as well is a tricky track. I'm gonna have to get practicing for Kota next week. It's one of those races where anything will happen. It's quite a tight, twisted track. If I can catch Guy, great. If I can't, I'll still take a P10 in the championship.
We do look forward to seeing how you perform at the Circuit of the Americas in a week's time in our finale. But Andrew, just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Well, tonight there's a list. So first of all, thank you, Paul, for everything that you do with all the streams and everything. Great job as always. I'd like to thank everybody from UKSimRacing, everybody from Tiki, everybody who's actually reached out to me over the last 3-4 weeks, to make sure that I'm okay, to make sure that, is there anything they could do, general well wishes. Thank you to everybody who's sent their love to not only me but just to the family. Thank you again to everybody who's made the last couple of weeks bearable and somehow pulled me through.
Well, Andrew, no, we are all here for you in the sim racing family, UK Sim Racing, because at the end of the day, racing may be a sport, but it's also a big family that's behind it, and we're so happy to have you here in the interview room today to be able to talk not only about your race, but also about how you've been feeling, and also the fact that you've got the support around you. And that's so nice to hear. And with that, congratulations on the P7 today. It's been a blast seeing you bring together your best result of the season. We're looking forward to plenty more at the Circuit of the Americas in a week's time. But until then, have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Thanks, Paul, and I'll catch you next week.
So here and there from Andrew Skinner, and well, emotions running high today, but at the same time as well, the tensions on the circuit just as high, and what could have been a challenging combination for the TT SimSport Corporate driver worked out to be one of his finest performances of the season, his best result, a P7 in class. After a P8 qualifying session, his best lap that he's done around the Bathurst circuit, expected to be in the 207s but in the 206s, and just staying out of trouble was the key theme today. But really, the big focus today for him was running in honour of Dementia UK and getting the car on through, not putting in the wall or making any mistakes. And well, he'll have done the charity and also the memory of his nan proud, that's for certain. And well, it's so glad to hear that he's had all the support behind him over the last few weeks. I'm sure you'll all join me, ladies and gentlemen, in wishing him all the best as obviously he comes to terms with things, but also in congratulating him on the fact that many would not have raced given the circumstances. But he's got his head down for a absolutely vital cause, and on top of that as well, absolutely do it on the big stage. And we look forward to plenty more from him at the Circuit of the Americas to wrap up his championship campaign. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it does bring us to the conclusion of our post-round interviews. And we just heard from Andrew Skinner from TT SimSport Corporate in the AM class. Previously, we heard from the prime driver of Simon Andre Livingston from Racing Lab Esports in his final race of the season. We heard before him from the pro driver as our second interview and first-time pro class winner from SomSport in the number 80 of Khalid Ramadan. And our first interview was no other than Brabham Esports' James Armstrong in the elite class, who picking up another perfect score today with a pole position in qualifying, the race win, and also the fastest lap in the race. Congratulations to all four of them for their fantastic performances today at the Mount Panorama Raceway, and we look forward to seeing them all on the grid in a week's time for our season finale. We'll bar Simon Andre Livingston, but we'll see his teammate Steinar Sani from Racing Lab Esports representing the team to the very end. Now, speaking of the end, before we do get to the end of today's show, it's only appropriate we give you an update on the standings after what is 7 rounds of racing. Keep in mind these are provisional, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And well, we start off with the Elite Drivers' Championship, and here we can see with another win in his pocket, James Armstrong now moves to 243 points. He is 18 points clear of absolute motorsport ace list Haroldas Jotautas, and the Brabham Esports driver right now he's in a position where all he needs to do in a week's time is bring the car home, and he's almost certain to take the championship crown. Meanwhile, in P3, Jack Taylor on 214 points. He holds on there ahead of Alex Millward, with Reece Saunders completing your top 5. And then from Saunders on 164 points, it's a further 6 points to Daniel Shilcock, with Simon Anthony moving to P7 with the third place result today. And we're looking to try and break into the top 5 before the season is over if he can get a perfect score, or at least the win. But the aspirations will be there. And then Eric Rosev, Helder Gonçalves and Aidan Neat completing your top 10. From then P11 it's David Sabero with Gavin Garner and Yanis Albert completing your championship standings. We then come on to the pro class. In the second of our classes in the Drivers' Championships, it's Ryan Davies who leads the way on 35 points over what is Alex Hill. And well, the TT SimSport Car Marte driver right now will be feeling confident that the championship is his, and all he needs to do in a week's time is turn up and make it to the checkered flag, and he will be your champion given the relative size of the field. But of course, that's easier said than done. Hill, meanwhile, be looking to make sure he cements that P2 finish of the championship. 3 points to give Khalid Ramadan, who has leapt his way into P3 after the win today. A huge points haul to take him into that third place, with Nicholas Rice now into P4 for Destino Motorsports, a further 15 behind, and 6 clear of Casper Rotner for Old Dudes in Cars Black, who had a difficult today on the mountain. John Eddowes, P6 for TT SimSport Tar, another strong showing, moves him into the 6th place position on 170 points. 24 clear of Mark Collicott with the DCW Racing Drive, 6 clear of Krista Halsoy, and then we have Matt Hesley and Tom Weston completing your top 10. Behind the DCW Racing driver, Darren Sharples P11 for Old Dudes in Cars Blue, ahead of Joshua Pratt, with Casper Tunstead, Daniel Pays and Pete Cox completing your top 15. And it's Ollie Pimney, Leaking McGee, Kev Eilert and Rachel Conkley who complete your championship standings. We then come on to the Pram class, and in the third of our classes, it is Alan Lever who holds a 12-point advantage over Rob Zelby, continuing his run of endless podiums, albeit yet to pick up what is a win this season, but with his third place of the season to add to what has been his run of 5 second places. Well, right now, Alan Lever arguably is the favourite to take the crown. Zelby still has a chance, however, as does Marvin Cruz at Old Dudes in Cars Blue, with a second place finish plus also that pole lap, doing him in good stead instead to stay within the hunt there. And indeed, it's going to be a finely poised championship battle to the very end, with Chris Round meanwhile P4 for Leroy Jenkins on 189 points, now in a bit of a no man's land and just looking for a last hurrah at the end of the season. From him, it's Built Visible Racing's Jeff Griffiths, who wasn't on the grid today, using this round as his drop score, but holding on to P5, only 3 clear of what is Simon Andre Livingston. And with the Racing Lab Esports driver 3 points ahead, well, in fact 2 points ahead of his teammate, but not going to be on the grid next week, it's going to fall to Stein Arsani to try and take the fight to Jeff Griffiths. But he's going to have to watch out, because behind him he's got Chris Constable, also Simon Oldfield and Stefan Albanese, with Stefan Albanese in P10 128 points, 6 clear of Rob Armstrong, who we hope will be on the grid next week after not being able to make it this week. And then it's Matt Whitefoot behind the best of the rest driver, P12 ahead of Noyo Sabas, Steve Hughes and Lawrence Marsh, who complete your top 15. Connor Craven sits P16 after a difficult day today ahead of Chris Bates, with Satinder Deensa, Joe Duton and Ed Frazina completing the championship standings. And as we come to the AM class, when our 4th class we see here, James Connolly with another win up his aces. We can now see the UKSimRacing Mansell driver has moved to 27 points clear ahead of John Davies, who takes his highest position in the championship standings with a round to go. And the Wrong Stuff driver right now is the leading candidate to try and take that P2 finish at the end of the season. Keep in mind, Connolly has not won, and if he should experience a retirement in a week's time or is not able to make it to the grid, any one of Davis, Smith, Barker could win it, albeit the challenge will be that they will all need to bring home that win, or at least what will be a podium finish, and for Connolly to have an absolutely dismal day of racing. However, the fight for P2 is only going to be a 3-point width gap now between Davis, Smith and Barker, with Smith not being on the grid today, Davis having his best result of the season, and Barker struggling, it would seem, under what was the challenge of the mountain. But all 3 drivers have had their strengths, they've had their weaknesses, and right now they'll all be looking at for what will be at the ultimate end to the season. John Doe sits P5, making his way on to 204 points after that brilliant second place finish, and well, that keeps him in the hunt as well, and he is now 9 points clear of Matt Edwardson with another difficult day of racing to add to his woes from what was the rounds earlier on in the season from Road Atlanta and also Okayama. And then Cy Hartley holds P7 168 points, not really close enough to contest the top 5, but far away from the rest of the top 10, as being completed and rounded out by Neil Jack, Guy Carliao and Andy Skinner. Dave Robson sits P11 ahead of James Bostock, with Shaminda Deensa, Jonathan Tighe and Frankie Kine completing your championship standings. But now we come onto the Teams Championship Top 20, and well, here we can see UKSimRacing Stewart have moved to what is 12 points clear of UKSimRacing Mansell with a round to go. But of course, all the points will be counted as of next round, so therefore nobody is safe inside that top 2 battle. Tiki Simsport Carl Marte, they sit a bit further away, 37 points away, but still within arm's reach of the top 2, as do Tiki Simsport Kimi a further point behind. And it's the third of our Tiki Simsport teams, Tiki Simsport Tour, who sits in P5 on 370 points, and right now having to keep an eye on Destino Motorsports, who are 21 points behind and closing. Racing Lab Esports, Track 6 Racing, Old Dudes in Carlos Blue, and Brabham Esports complete your top 10, and the rivalry between those 4 teams for what will be the last of place inside the top 10 could not be closer, with the Wrong Stuff in P11 at best the rest on 296 points, and looking to keep DCW Racing behind at the close. P13, it's Old Dudes in Cars Black, ahead of what is Absolute Motorsport Ace Live, with Tiki Simsport Corpa completing your top 15. And to round out the top 20, Sommersport moved to P16 after their win today, ahead of Effect Simulations and Leroy Jenkins, with Symphony Esports and Built Visible Racing completing that top 20. And from the 165 points of Built Visible Racing, only a single point behind is Altitude Esports in P21. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the UK sim racing community in terms of what we do, the series run, and everything in between, we do firstly recommend you check out our official website. You saw it earlier on in today's broadcast, and that being at uksimracing.co.uk. However, if you don't want to go to our website necessarily, you can also follow us on Twitter. It's the best place to do so on social media. And our Twitter handle is via the URL twitter.com/UKSimRacing_. We'd also like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our affiliates, and those do include Swello Meadows Sim Racing Coaching, the creator of the Motor Racing Checklist. Swello Meadows Sim Racing Coaching can help take your sim racing driving to the next level. Whether you're looking to gain a 10th, I should say, improve your approach to the racing line, or develop your consistency, Swello Meadows has a coaching course to meet your needs. Plus, with Swello being a multi-time champion of official iRacing series, which do include the 2021 PSCC, you know, your receiving coaching from the very best in the industry. We also have Race Anywhere, the provider of curated sim racing equipment, aimed to only stock products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. Demon Treats, the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide, so no matter what your level or discipline, Demon Treats will help drive you to realise your motorsport ambitions. SimLab, leader manufacturer of high-quality sim racing-related hardware. As a proud partner of Mercedes AMG Petronas Esports, SimLab aims to enhance virtual racing experiences with uncompromising solutions that push the boundaries of esports and make SimLab the go-to brand for quality sim racing rigs. Amazon, the company striving to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, the Earth's best employer, and the Earth's safest place to work through the position of concepts pioneered by Amazon, which do include, but are not limited to, Amazon Prime, Amazon Fire TV, and Amazon Alexa. And lastly, SRC Driver Academy. Elevate your sim racing skills with SRC Driver Academy. The team of experienced professionals is dedicated to helping you reach your full potential without compromising quality. But why choose SRC? Affordable, quality coaching is the reason. They have experienced coaches who provide valuable insights and a competitive edge. They make high quality coaching accessible to all at an affordable cost tailored to your needs and goals. Whether you're looking to learn race strategies, precision driving, and much more, they offer virtual coaching sessions at nearly all hours of the day, every day, ensuring flexibility for all. So join SRC Driver Academy today and unlock your true sim racing potential. Visit their website and learn more and accelerate your sim racing career. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, will we reach the precipice? We have made our way through 7 rounds of racing, 7 weeks of racing, and as of next Sunday, it's our season finale, round 8 of 8. Save the date, Sunday the 3rd of March 2024, we'll be heading stateside to the United States of America and the Texan State Circuit of the Circuit Americas for what will be the concluding sprint round of the season. Many love the circuit, many dislike it. It's a Marmite circuit, but it brings together some of the best elements of circuits around the globe, and with the best elements of our grid taken to the circuit, who will be our champions. No one has been crowned champion yet. With all the points on the line in the season finale, well, you're going to have to be there to find out. You won't want to miss it, and we'll be bringing you all the racing action as it unfolds. But until then, we've been UKSimRacing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.